Oh, rickety, rickety, rickety. Right, let's get down to it.
Welcome to Birmingham. We are here live at Resorts World Arena
chat.
and excited to see the journey continue that started last year in October. Through all of the events in London and around the world, the competition from EMEA, South America, APAC North, APAC
cool.
South, and
They did
in
Volcano?
the
Hell
end,
yeah.
it has brought us here.
Anyways, chat,
to
we're gonna be
see
live.
who will reign supreme. The championship, the pinnacle of Apex Legends Esports.
Until I got
is
lead for
about
Lil
to
Man's
begin. It's true knockout
baseball
moments,
later,
and you are here
teeball.
to witness it all.
And we got
Whether you're in
stuff
the
going on
stands or
for
watching at home,
Saturday.
welcome
We'll
you
be
here
live from
to
most
the
of winners
arena.
bracket
We are
here,
so
though.
excited to begin what is now the most important day of Apex Legends Esports history. 10 teams will sign up for the championship right now. We will also see 10 teams go home today, and 10 teams have a second chance at redemption to play on Sunday and hoist the trophy. But who will it be? That is what we are deciding. So get ready, get excited, get hyped, because I am so excited to see Tiff and Glitter, of course, joining me on the desk, how this transforms. This has been an epic journey for all of these teams, and now it feels like we're truly getting to the moment where they get to stake their claim.
It really has been, and I'm honestly shocked at how quickly we've flown here. We are already sending people home just yesterday, and 10 more teams will join them. It is
Dia
going
and
to
Tiff
be
to
yet
start
a
it off,
heartfelt
Onset and
heartbreaking
Gaskin
day, and for those teams
to
that are
wind
gonna
it
be laying
down
it all
for
down on that
our
stage,
winners,
I couldn't be more
probably.
excited to be here to support them.
Mixed emotions, but obviously focus, no matter what you say, Glitter, on getting the job done if you can today.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we see that the winner's bracket can be just as difficult as our match point finals. I mean, we have the top 20 out of that group stage playing here right now, so all of these teams have
No
had
way.
phenomenal performances, best of the best so far in the competition. I can't wait to see what happens, because I don't think this is going to be an easy road
Winners
for any of
bracket's
them.
almost
It's
as
been a great
hard
event
as
so
champs.
far. I know many
No
of you
way.
joining us have been walking around, meeting and greeting. For the players, though, it's been a day that definitely transitioned from a hard day for some. And that, of course, yesterday was our elimination bracket, where we already sent 10 teams home of the 40 who joined us at the beginning of the championship. Let's walk through the stories of yesterday's 8 games, Tiff. And I want to start with you, because you cast these first 4 games. What happened? What's the tale to be told?
Well, things started off really crazy with FC Destroy getting that first win with 11 eliminations, and that is how you want to start off your elimination round 1 pathway, because it's all about consistency. But then you double down for that second map, KCP, Surdell, them playing the entirety of Godrock, doing so well. You can see the happiness on their face. Nasty, they needed that. He was on social media saying he wasn't happy with the way group series went, and that's how to kick it off. But then after Complexity, Monsoon debuts an original song and then rides that momentum straight into a match 3 victory. But this is where things started to get interesting. I predicted Fnatic to go ahead and win, and just like this, it started in rounds number 4, but then they double down and go back-to-back victories, thus separating those points out even further in such a dynamic way.
All right, well, you're talking about that dynamic way. It was 15 kills on that back-to-back win. Fnatic looked untouchable at this point, continuing their aggressive streak regardless of which map they were on. But then we go into match number 6, and this is where we start to see some of those teams that needed to get a good showing in do just that. Okay, we end up with Enterforce 36. They get that win, followed very closely, though, by Complexity after we saw them find success a little bit earlier on. Match number 7 comes around. Onyx, another team that just barely squeak in, find themselves a dub here. That ends up really contributing to where they were in that top 10. But this last match of the day, this is where everything came down to the line, because Pulverex needed to finish high. They go out a little bit early. FC Destroy take the win, but by taking the win, they took out Go Next. That became the savior moment for Pulverex. They squeak through in that 10th position, even tied with Onyx, and we saw this picture on social media. Pulverex bowing down to FC Destroy, knowing that if they had not won, Pulverex would not be where they are, Rain.
It was an incredible moment for Pulverex to see, and sometimes you have those touching opportunities as a region to help someone else from your region. enter into what is surely a very important, not only statement to the rest of the world of what you're bringing to the table in the ALGS, but also as an individual, as a competitor, maybe a friend that you've known. On the other side, there is Go Next, though, of course, and I don't know if we wanted to jump back to those standings to see and just honor those 10 teams that now are not going to be with us, but they were one fight away, and that, unfortunately, is not how you are able to close it out. I talked to them, and I think I ended up saying, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out, Tiff, and that's okay. That could be what starts their journey next year. As you can see, 37 points.
I mean, can't wait till the last fight of Game 8, though, either. Like, you're already getting 2 bonus games.
I mean, what a moment, but that's what this esport is made
like,
of.
not the...
It really is. It will come down to one elimination,
like I don't
one
care,
point sometimes, and it was just that one fight, one Kraber making the difference, and the next thing you know, Go Next is pinched and unable to move from that, but disguised.
Yep.
They were performing so well on the second half of that series, I almost thought we were gonna live to dupe another day, but now we have to wait for year 4 to get some of that. In riddle order as well, you know, they went through group series, completely contested across multiple maps, Rain.
Yeah, and it was really just a story of a lot of teams, 100 Thieves as well, J-Links Esports, big names in our scene, not having the days that they wanted. Next year, of course, will be their opportunity to do so. But let's take a look at what we have today, because today, yes, there were some teams that a lot of people came here to watch that actually had a bye day. We have never done that in the ALGS thus far in our Split 2 or Split 1 playoffs, but in championships, we've extended it to 5. So the teams you'll see here in the winner's bracket were waiting patiently, watching, and excited to go. That will start off now.
Is it just me?
At 5:30 p.m., we will then do our second elimination round, which will include the 10 teams from yesterday who made it through, and the 10 teams
or is it
in this
strange
bracket
that
who are in the bottom
you earn your
10
way into
of the
winner's
standings.
bracket,
So essentially,
but
10
it's the
teams right
teams
now have a
coming from
chance
the
to book
loser's
their ticket
bracket
to Sunday,
that get the
20
advantage of not having a really long
Let's
day.
take a look at what those teams are right now as we take a look at those participants. Lauren, I'm going to start with you. What a group of, I think, not just performances, but teams that have made it to this championship winners final.
Yeah, this is going to be a very difficult lobby, like we were talking about before.
They haven't mentioned anything about it. All the APAC teams have
the
they?
reigning champs.
That's
You've got
fucking
so
disgusting.
many top squads. I mean, obviously TSM, DZ, XSET, but then you're also looking at Alliance. Blackhand has had a phenomenal performance here so far. This is going to be difficult. Optic, there's too many good squads to talk
Smallest
about.
region.
They're all so consistent.
Is what
so
tied
far,
for representation
combined
with?
what we've seen out
No,
of the
not
previous
tied for.
seasons.
There's a lot more
I can't
NA.
even call this
But they're the
One
second
of the
most
things
represented
that
region
is
here.
interesting to notice is the lack in Split 2 of South America representation in the championship. They now have 2 teams who have a chance to make it into Sunday, but one team in particular, Start a Fight, has been performing in such a way that we had to take a look at what they were doing behind the scenes to make everything happen. So we sat down with Lesquin and asked him some questions about how he's not only been preparing, but what he thinks about the meta and his team's chances representing SA.
This LAN, we didn't really have any confidence, but this LAN, we haven't really lost any fight. In the group stages, we went for the wins when we could, but mostly we just landed on getting points, racking points up, kills, placements, mostly that. We don't really want to contest because we just don't really have the practice on it. South America is just such a region that doesn't really have any good players, just people that have other jobs and play for more like the fun of it. So our only preparations are in scrims, which aren't really even that good. So we really have to focus up, like do better, always like check on our mistakes. Something that I think that really made our team better was removing Seer from the meta. I think Seer was just such a clutch for most teams, including ours, that when we removed him, like when he was off meta, we just got more game sense, we were better at fighting because like not every team had wall hacks and stuff like that, and that was the ability to stun with Seer, and that was really OP in fights. So we just were able to flow better as a team, like have better synergy, use our character abilities together better, and everything like that.
2-1 and start a fight. Clutch out match number 6.
If any South America team can get in finals, it's a win. South America region is really happy about that. Like a lot of my friends are just messaging me like, wow, how is this happening and everything. We're super happy. We're super stoked to play it. To win, it's pretty hard, but we just need to do our game. Be consistent, get our points, and just close it out. I'm completely confident that we can do that.
I think he hit up a really good point that like a lot of people just play it for the passion in the region versus like actually playing it
possibly
to try
the
and
hope
match
of South America start a fight. They have certainly started those, and they've
the
been
game
fighting
plan
quite
of
well
what
so far.
Yeah, it's been really impressive. You think
like
back
really
to the performance in
successful
Split 2 playoffs where they actually
ALGS
went
gameplay
out
looks
in
like, you know what I mean?
elimination round 1 from 16th place. So to already come into champs completely changed up, finding your path through the winners bracket, that's exactly what they wanted. Like I was talking to Dia in the green room and we were talking about how their defensive playstyle was throughout the group series, and they've been working on changing some of the positions throughout their teams, and now it's actually going to be Jinx being that shot caller while Sleep is more of a fragging, and that's how we've seen it throughout the group series. But even more importantly was impressive, right? Their coach, Dutch, is an Anglophone, so he speaks in English, and prior to champs, they had practiced learning their comms in English so they can work on improving the conciseness and the effectiveness of it, and now they go back to Portuguese for champs.
That is pretty impressive as well, and you have to not just say that. It's today they have an even bigger challenge. They got here to the winners finals, but they'll be landing near Moist as well, a team that is performing really well in APAC South, and now on a world stage 2
kind of crazy to think that they are
and
competing on like
champs.
Moist level.
Yeah,
Although
we
I
can
don't
see
think
that
Moist,
we've
other
got
than
the
their
stats
second
across the board here
like
between
lobby,
SAF and
have really been
Moist
playing up to
actually
their
pretty
game. I think
similar,
that would be
especially when
fair
it
to
comes
say.
the kills
Yeah,
and
I mean,
the damage, and if they are going to be landing near each other in that no-name area,
like, if
could
we're just being
potentially be
honest.
a little bit of a problem. But if we think all the way back to scrims, it was Sentinels contesting Moist in Overlook as well, and Moist pushed Sentinels off of that POI, made sure they claimed it for themselves. So if SAF are going to take the fight to Moist, it could be a risky decision. They might end up playing this
a
one
bad
little bit
thing. If
safer,
anything,
making
it
sure that
gives
neither
them
one of
room
these
to
teams really has to go
get
out
into their lane
early
by the
in
time
these winners
things
round
pop, like
matches.
Yeah, MT
today,
actually has
tomorrow,
more
when it
media
really
coverage
matters,
on
you
the
know?
entire event because of his 720, 1080 Kraber shot, whatever that
Bro,
was.
that
but
thing was
Moist
sick.
certainly have made themselves known on the global stage. They already had, but even more so now when it comes to Apex Legends. But as we head into this winners finals, it's almost impossible to talk storylines. We even hang out with these players and they go, why aren't you mentioning this? Why aren't you mentioning this? There's so many things to talk about. We're getting there, but today
I don't
think
know.
you've saved a few
Maybe if we
important
spend
ones.
more
So, Tim,
time like
who is your
recording
one to
that and
watch
having
heading
stuff
into
to talk
today's
about
winners
in
finals?
between
Well,
games
mine
instead
is
of
the team
replays
shall
for 45
not be
minutes.
named. No, I'm honestly just kidding. My team to watch is TSM, bro. They're on the screen. Verholst, Imperial Howl, Reps. Just such a dominating performance here. You think back to Split 2 playoffs, they were second in
Big
winners
E
bracket,
really
getting
turning
some of
into
those
a whole
advanced
nother
starting
monster,
points.
bro.
But honestly, we know Big E is clutch. We know Hal is a legend. But I want to talk more specifically about Reps. I will say that I think he's the backbone to that team. He's quite impressive. The ability that he has to get as much assists as humanly possible. Right now, Reps has the most assists in one map of the tournament.
I think
10
Reps
on
has the
World's Edge
hardest
playing
job in
Fuse.
Apex.
That's how adaptable he is. Now with Seer out of the meta, Reps isn't stuck on Seer. He can play Bangalore, he can play Fuse, he can have some fun. And I'm
hear me
excited
out.
to see what they do here in the winners bracket.
I mean, Les Quinn kind of talked about Seer being removed
You
from
have
the meta
to
and allowing other players to actually
the
have
consistency
more access to the mechanics
that allows
of
Hal to
an
have a
actual
bad
team fight,
day,
to flow
to
within
allow
the
Hal-
game the way they normally would versus
Big E
having
to
now
have a
be
bad
silenced
bad
for 10
day, and
seconds,
it
have
not
this
affect your
stunted type
team.
of approach. Reps is one of the best players in Apex. He has been for a
Yep.
very long time. So to see him now actually thriving off the Seer, that bodes well for TSM. But Glitter, I want to talk to you. There's another team that's been standing out from day one that I know you have your eyes on.
Listen, we've been talking about him a lot. I think we need to do it yet again. For me, I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Dreamfire. First of all, look at the stats coming out of 3MZ. 36 kills on the board right now. And that's not even counting the fact that they had one of the most dominant performances in groups that we saw in the very first
I don't hate it,
of
right?
the day.
I
And
just-
when we take into consideration that 10
I
of the
don't know,
names that
man.
they played within that lobby were 10 of the biggest names that we're now seeing here in winners, it proves that they can have that type of a performance here in this next stage of the competition. They had two massively aggressive wins with 10 and 15 kills apiece.
I don't
which
hate the
shows
pick.
that they can hang. Now, we've also seen that they've done a fantastic job when it comes to their positioning, getting in early, holding down terrain when they need to, and they are consistent. Almost 50% of their points come from each map, and almost 50% of their points between placement points and kills are even. It's 74 points from placements, 73 from kills. You cannot get more consistent than that.
And you're bringing up a great point, which for those at home, you got to know when you go into match point finals, which this is almost a preview of.
Yep.
And these
You
teams
have
are
to be able to
playing
get
like it.
points.
You have to
be able to
win. You
know,
can have 2 great
put
games
yourself
on
in
World's
position to win.
Edge,
Yep.
have the extra 10 points coming in because you're first. Be on match point, but you got to do it on Storm Point then because we switched. So that is the key. Dreamfire looking exceptional in the consistency category. For those of us, though, behind the scenes in the talent, we've had our eyes on most of the teams here. I'm sure we could pick anyone to win this, but we had to go ahead and give our selections of who we thought might take the top spot. We got a few Dark Zeros in there. I'm going Dark Zero as well. Spent a lot of time talking to the guys yesterday,
with
and I
the
think
black
the confidence
hand pick.
is
I
ringing
love it.
true. Tip, you're joining me there, as well as Genome, which is just getting ridiculous at this point. We already know he's going to do that. We don't even need to question it. But I want to go to you, Glitter. Black Hand, I think that's an interesting pick. Walk me through that a little bit.
Listen, I wanted to at least put my bets on the squad that came second overall out of groups. We saw what a bloodbath groups were, and when it comes to Black Hand, they just got better. They were consistent in the first 2 series and then kind of pulled a Dreamfire in the 70s for their points to close out the series when it comes to those group stages. For me, they looked so much better than what we've seen before out of them in the previous stage of competition that I'm excited to see what they do here today.
Absolutely.
A
TSM
dojo,
as well. Dojo from Zephyr, which I think would be a great story. LCQ team, it's Timmy. Obviously, those guys were feeling very,
Why
very
is there
confident.
a singularity logo for TSM?
I said, well, it'd be a good story. I would absolutely like to see it, but of course, they've got to prove it. X sets from Jayhawk and Peeps. I like that pick as well. And you got to mention Optic Gaming, because I think they have been playing their best all year long. The nice NRG pick from Bullet. You really could go through the list of the 20 teams and say they might win because they do have a chance. They are the best of the best so far in Apex, but 10 will put themselves into Championship Sunday. 10 will have to play later this afternoon, so stay tuned because that is about to begin. However, for those who want to know what they can get for watching all that action,
so Dan and
Twitch drops, baby. It is going down.
Onset, Onset and Gaskiner.
Just for watching 60 minutes
starting
of today, you will get an ALGS Championship.
Oh, you know what? That's probably because they're the only ones that are going to go twice. So they've usually been doing 3 duos. So they'll start it and end it. That makes sense.
How that's going to work tomorrow. But very, very excited to see you guys rocking that in game. I know I'm a little bit jealous. Maybe they'll give it to us because we've been working the event, not able to watch on Twitch. We are on Twitch, but it's just been a phenomenal, phenomenal start. We've gone through 3 days already, ladies, and day 4 is about to begin and truly tell us where these teams stand. And of course, I've got 2 guys standing by, ready to kick off this action better than anybody else could. It's Onset, it's Gaskin. Let's kick it off, boys. It's winners finals.
You can feel the excitement in the room, everybody. It feels a little bit different here in Birmingham today because we are about to go into the winners bracket. Yesterday, unfortunately, was about sending teams home in a way which
so we just didn't talk
so many
at all
of them.
about APAC South having 5 teams
We
here.
are sending some teams to the grand final tomorrow. And
all right,
starting off on
that's all right. Let's send 5 teams to Grand
Great news for the likes of Dark Zero, which the desk has already spoken of. Black Hand as well, one of our best performing Storm Point teams, and start a fight. Although a potential contest for start a fight on Storm Point, it's a little bit worrying for them, but certainly
no more contests for start a fight. Actually,
they'll be very happy with the first 4 being here.
They certainly will do. And speaking of contests,
they thought
speaking of teams who are going to be
start a fight was going to be contest. Oh wait, no.
That Dojo and TSM will
That's
not
right.
be
That's where they're
contesting
going.
when we flip over to World's Edge. So everybody going to have a POI to play. You would imagine when we flip over to World's Edge, maybe
because they were going to be at
1 or 2,
Oxygen,
still
and
might
now
have
they're
a little
going up
bit of
to
work
start a fight.
But focusing here on Storm Point, Dan, you mentioned Dark Zero. They have been phenomenal on this map. The outstanding team, without a doubt, they have been dominating when we've been on SP.
Yeah, they have. 63% of their points have been scored on Storm Point, an average of an extra 5 points per game on Storm Point over World's Edge. And even though they are a team who could definitely show consistency across both maps, the fact they can now lead the way here on Storm Point to open things up, get a confidence builder, get ahead of the curve, then you can relax into World's Edge a little bit, because we do find that World's Edge sometimes slows down that extra little element. You do get people trying to be a little bit more cautious about the rotations, whereas Storm Point can throw up some spanner in the works every now and then.
Let me go ahead. I forgot to post to real live.
Optic Gaming, Exit, understandably talked about, but there's also a few surprises who have come through and really impressed us. And Black Hand being one of those for sure.
Yeah, Black Hand, Dreamfire. I mean, every region at the moment is just putting 1 foot forward, and 1 team to be that difference maker who could maybe.
All right, let's get it, baby. Game number 1
at the ALGS Championship.
Well, you can already hear the crowd here in Birmingham. They are ready for the action today. We can see it right in the back of the rafters as well. It is a full house here in Birmingham. as we go into our
Oh,
winners
so we actually got
bracket.
everyone
Stormpoint gonna be
cranked
the place
into
we
there,
start.
huh?
Teams already finding their way down to their POIs. Dan, I am so excited for the action to kick off.
And you mentioned about World's Edge, there not being a contest between Dojo and TSM. The same here on Stormpoint. Dojo will be moving over towards the area of North Pad and just far west of the wall. However, we'll have to see whether we do see a fight going down now. Oxygen, they look like they could have a little bit of trouble on the horizon.
Certainly could do, and it's going to be Realize, I think you were trying to split the POI with them at the moment. Now, there's a lot of loot to work with here.
I thought Realize was dropping Start a
A lot of their
Fight.
Stormpoint performances and big games have come off at the zones that follow them here to Barometer. Being able to
That's
play
what
that extreme height and finding
Tempo had
yourself
posted.
contested early on, that's going to hurt because there might be a situation where you have that taken away and also Ascend find themselves here.
Yeah, we've got 3 teams down at
Was
Barometer.
that on the
Realize were
broadcast?
scheduled to drop at High Point with SAF, but perhaps seeing how good SAF have been
That's funny.
so far on Stormpoint, they said we don't fancy it, so they've tried to take a little bit of Barometer. Now, Realize, Ascend, and Oxygen all have found space to play here. There isn't a direct fight. They've all managed to get weapons, but it's not going to be a good loot path for any of them, really. Unless you get very lucky in a bin, they're all going to be pretty weak when it comes to what they have available to them.
Well, speaking of zone and speaking of teams who are going to be moving their way there, Checkpoint is a pretty good POI to be dropping at. The same can be said for North Pad, as you see the Dojo. They're going to be dropping over there. We expect to maybe go to the north side of Checkpoint in the trenches.
I don't know
here.
what it is.
Trenches
That's
is
funny.
probably where we're going to be finishing, so the likes of Optic Gaming already moving very fast. TSM, I imagine they will start to get on their way soon as well. They have a ring console to work with, so they'll get all of that information. As for Dark Zero, well, I'm sure they are set up and ready.
They're
I mean,
chilling.
we talk about teams who can move quick, teams who want to get to these trenches and how difficult these final circles can be, but Dark Zero might already be under a little bit of trouble here. It's Optic Gaming and they're on the other side of this.
Yeah, what an early fight this is. DZ versus Optic Gaming.
Doc's
Not
got
gonna be
the whip.
disappearing with the Trident. And speaking of the Trident, one of the big reasons why Dark Zero have so much success on Stormpoint, not just a great loot pool over at the mill as well, but having that Trident available kind of skips you ahead of a lot of teams on their rotates, and that's why Dark Zero find themselves in a great spot early on here.
Yeah, I mean, unsurprising that Dark Zero and Optic are very close, but it is surprising that Dark Zero got there first, considering it's mill going past down Beast. But we're going to see a lot of teams probably try the same thing. That western coastline, get a Trident, try and get out and around, try and take over teams, but now Dark Zero and Optic are both there.
Been
Teams
slacking this
may
morning, chat. My
struggle
bad.
a
Let me go
little
get
bit. One team I
scoreboards.
can see arriving
Starting
late,
deep breath.
Dreamfire, as now TSM also under some stress.
Certainly are, and the Prowlers are having a little bit of a scuffle here as well, trying to get involved. Looks like they will survive for now, but this is going to be TSM.
Ooh,
taking
TSM
on
with
NRG. In an early fight here. How is already down. Nathan gets that first knock, and now TSM got to think about retreating from this.
This is what happens over towards trenches because you try and position yourself early, but you're so vulnerable
Couple
to
big
several
dogs
different
taking
angles,
some
and NRG
damage early.
Catching TSM somewhat off guard. You could see Hal was separated from his teammates. He tried to cross to join them, but was unable to do so. And we get our first kill of the winner's bracket matchup with Nathan confirming it onto Hal.
So that's TSM having to play this one out as a 2. Not sure if they've got that banner, but for now, you can see the reps and Verholz, the plan is clear. We are going back to the wall, and we want to try, if we have that banner, to get Hal back into the game. Exet also already here, already inside that zone, and you're going to see a lot of this today. In this winner's bracket, those quick rotates are going to be vital to team success.
I was lucky enough to have a chat with Fun as well this morning in the hotel, and they said they went over a lot of VOD yesterday. They want to ensure when they get to some of these zones that maybe aren't their priority, that they know how to play out each zone, and they always have a backup plan as well, so they're not panicking in those moments. A very well-coordinated team. They were, at one point, the best team in North America when it was in the online season, but we haven't seen that same form necessarily impact on LAN, but you know full well they have it. You know they're capable of it, and Exet could certainly surprise us today.
I feel like they, like Start a Fight, could benefit from the fact of benefit from the removal.
LG, tough zone for them, dropping over at Fish Farms, but not a rotate that they're going to be surprised by.
Seer,
Sometimes they
you know
have
what I
to
mean?
travel quite away with that edge POI. You've got Ascend going back to Antenna, maybe just to do a little bit more looting and maybe a little bit more work before they head over. And somewhat interesting to see Ascend playing this playstyle. We know they have always been arguably
So
one
is
of
Hal
the
the only
rotating
player out
teams
right
we
now?
have in the ALGS. So to see them playing a little bit of a different style here, very interesting.
Kind of have to, I guess, when you've got 3 teams all at one POI. Ascend probably felt like they didn't have enough, even though I have seen Ascend before just traverse a map with only greys and what feels like pistols in their hands. They certainly see where that zone's going and feel like they had to get a little bit more equipment. Now, SAF have also found themselves in the trenches as it is getting very busy. Not much real estate to play with in the trenches at the moment. And as the circle closes, when we get to the later game, it means any corner that you turn, there is going to be a team there waiting for you. So it's about having a plan of attack, knowing when you need to push teams, knowing when you need to retreat away from teams. And sometimes you won't even have the opportunity to retreat. So if you do start a fight, you better believe you've got to finish it.
Well, look at this. TSM hold up at the moment. Not sure if they've managed to get Hal back in. I'm pretty sure they haven't. You can see that one player still eliminated in the top right-hand side of your screen. And they are being gate-kept at the moment for getting Imperial Hal back into this game by Blackhand. Now, this is where you wish you had a Seer. Verhulst knows they're coming, but what can he do about it? Blackhand want to take this.
There we go. Let's go, boys.
He's being singled out. He's trying to escape back to reps. But Blackhand, having crept up on these final remaining members of TSM, are trying to take this fight, and why wouldn't you?
You can see how awkward it is to fight against a Catalyst, though. You'd imagine in any other circumstance that player goes down. He will finally fall as TSM lose their second. And these are the games that can really matter for you as a team. If you can survive as a solo, if you can get 1 point, but I tell you what, there's more to the party.
There's more people coming.
Here come Alliance. Might be the party poopers here, finally moving in. Are they going to be able to catch him off guard, though? That's the question. Mozambique has been good enough to crack some shields.
Yeah, push him back.
Now goes down with strafing flame.
Oh, them boys are locked in. The boys are locked the fuck in. Let's go.
Blackhand dominating the wall.
Blackhand are playing out of their minds just as they did a couple of days ago and showing why they are a team that need to be respected. And you can see the hype from Strafing Flame knows how much and how important it is to take down and win those engagements. Amazing, amazing fight to just flip something on its head like that. Alliance would have thought they were comfortable, but the amount of damage that Hackers took as he entered that building, suddenly they were on the backside.
Just wonder if they thought the Blackhand was still fighting, if that fight was still going on and they were going to get the jump, but how quickly they turned that one around.
Go, boys.
I think we're going to have to start talking about Blackhand more and more as not just the winners bracket goes on, but potentially that grand finals as well, because how many times have we said that they've lost a fight that we've had them on our screens?
And this was always going to be a tough circle for Blackhand, coming from Stormcatcher, having to force their way a little bit further north, and they played it excellently up towards the wall. I think they had a little bit of information that maybe there was a team they could ambush. They got that one kill, and then unfortunately for Alliance, they couldn't capitalize. And now elsewhere on Storm Point, LG Chivas, who have had a great consistent tournament so far as well, particularly on Storm Point, they've looked very strong indeed. Looking to try and take advantage of the height that they currently have.
Yes, Oxygen Esports on the other side of this. You've got two of the best fighting teams in the entire world trying to go up against each other at the moment. Nobody getting the upper hand. Elsewhere, you can see the Reps is still alive here for TSM.
Huh. Trying to keep his life away, or keep his life up. I like it.
Game,
Can he even keep it up till where they get a placement point, though, bro? There's still so many teams left.
TSM, except we're trying to chase him down, trying to cut him down, but he still survives.
I mean, regardless, it is going to be a low-point game for TSM, but it's whether you can get a point. It's whether you can get a couple of points. They could be the difference maker when you start to look at who's going to be progressing to that grand final and who is going to be heading down to the elimination bracket. Now, this is going to be a tough fight, but TSM do get eliminated. You can see that in the kill feed. Reps finally falls.
Back to this fight then. Start a fight. Not involved in this one for once. It's Oxygen taking on ALGS.
Oh!
Great damage coming in from Reeds, but there's a cheeky player in the corner. Vayne gets one. Aiden the Destroyer gets another. It looks like Oxygen have the advantage here. It's a 1v2 for LG to try and overcome.
I mean, I would back Oxygen in so many 3v3s. We've seen what they used to be able to do back in Arena. Their roots, where they started everything, but can they complete this fight before other teams potentially get involved? They look clear. It looks very isolated. No one really in the area to join, as Vayne just continues to spray down with the car.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time, you would think, for them to finish this fight off. The zone is closing behind them, but not going to be doing too much damage, and they've got plenty of health meds to work with as well. You can see that, to be fair to Jaguares, he's doing everything he possibly can to stall this fight out. And I tell you what, if he pulls this off, it might be one of the biggest 1v3s we've ever seen.
Yeah, he's trying to use the ring to his advantage here, but unfortunately, Oxygen have got plenty of meds to work with at the moment. Syringes and medkits are plenty, and they're playing it very safe. Now, they've moved on over to the trenches, and they're being greeted.
This is where they're worried about the rotation in. Hold on, though. That might keep them off. They still got teams to the right, though.
These trenches is a difficult position to play, especially when you're having to play one of these 90-degree corners with teams who can poke you from both sides.
They're good. They're good. They're alive.
Surprise, surprise. Blackhand have managed to
Blackhand
find
looks
somewhere
so
to play for them.
good.
I mean, somehow, Easy has just managed to push back the entirety of NRG on his own, as Jaguares is still here, and finally now will get pushed. Oxygen said, we've had enough of you, thank you very much. But unbelievable what I'm seeing from Blackhand. Easy Flash literally 1v3'd NRG and was able to push them back because NRG knew they couldn't take the fight for too long.
Keep your eye on the kill feed, by the way, because Oxygen better hope they have some big meds and the ability to pop them and get out, because they are deep in zone right now as we hit zone 3. So that stalling in the fight from LG might just hurt them a little bit more than they initially thought. Elsewhere, we've got a fight breaking out here in his FaZe versus Ironblood Gaming. Ironblood going in here, a little bit of a melee, and FaZe will be eliminated. Only Ziki going down in this fight, and Ironblood Gaming, again, another team who surprised a lot of people yesterday coming through.
They're getting pushed on here from
surprise is going to be for
SNG.
Because Elysium and Singularity are arriving right on cue, but I don't think they're quick enough here. Black Hole has gone in, and also now the Grav lift to try and get some high ground, but it looks like Ironblood did get the opportunity just to reset. As you can still see, the ring is doing damage to Oxygen in their rotation. Vayne's just got knocked. Will get picked back up, but this is not easy for Oxygen.
I'm looking at Oxygen, by the way, on edge of zone, and I think they've decided that it might be a solo adventure forward for them. Oxygen Esports are splitting, and I think that they're just going to say, hey, one of us survives, we've got some KP, if we can rat our way to some position points after that, we'll be happy. Keep your eye on the feed, because I think you're going to see another Oxygen member going down pretty soon.
What's been insane so far is every fight feels like a finals fight already here in the winners bracket. All these 20 teams have played insane so far in this tournament and absolutely deserve to be here, as Realize up above and trying to use their height advantage, but looks like they should be okay for now.
It's going to be Ironblood Gaming who are surrounding them, though. They did get a knock. Sangyun picking up one with that scout. As we now move back over to the trenches, all these teams at the moment have got to feel
Apex
like they are in the
outfight.
trenches. Fights breaking out left and right, and it's Blackhand again who are starting one themselves. And they
God,
get
and they get
first
this
knock
spot
once
too.
more. Strafing Flames said he's been struggling under pressure. Well, it seems like the winners bracket, no pressure at all for him at the moment.
Yeah, these calls have been great for Blackhand. It's Tom Young-Kung they're going up against. They've got that initial knock. They are being a little bit cautious here. Don't want to push too far away from the trenches and give up their position.
Yeah, especially because they're pushing up into SNG. They got to
There
worry
is
about
not
Moist
much room
behind
to
them
play.
too.
Look,
They're gonna wrap on Moist.
Right next to Blackhand here.
Moist might be
Let's go.
Exit are moving up behind them as well, and even though they're kind of being forced to try and find somewhere to play here, they've ended up being sandwiched between Blackhand and Exit, and that might be an opportunity here, potentially for more KP going the way of Blackhand. Moist do manage to reset. The Catwalk going to be good enough to get them back on their feet for just for a moment. Oxygen Esports in the meantime have been eliminated. LG stalling that fight out really hurt them.
Really did indeed, and unfortunately the ring was their demise. 15 squads remaining, so everyone gets one placement point on the board. Moist still with their backs to the trenches at the moment, but it is Blackhand consistently pushing out and adding extra
Shapey,
layers
don't
of
overpush.
damage
There you
over
go.
and over
There
again
you
while
go.
they defend their position. The Watson's massive at the moment,
good,
by the way,
man.
for Blackhand.
Fusel goes in as well. Ascend eliminated. Ironblood Gaming eliminated as well in that little battle we saw.
Now
happening
Exet enters
just
into
a few
this.
moments ago, but here come Exet.
Yep,
they
they're
see
gonna
the
take out
damage,
Moist.
They see the opportunity, and Nocturnal does not need to be asked twice.
Yeah, that means on this eastern side, you've got Exet, NRG, Moist, and Blackhand with Dojo just above them, Tom Young-Kung just below them, and this eastern side is not going to be pretty as round 4 closes.
It's going to be a
Trying
fucking...
to press up on their
It's going to
advantages
be
as well.
a mess over
Great
here.
damage at the moment, great prioritization of shots here as they are working so well as a team, as another fall.
Great shots coming in here from Bin as well, but this is the battle to leave checkpoint at the moment. Team Singularity, Tom Young-Kung, the last players remaining, and Realize. Only one can leave, you would imagine, to force their way down. Well, of course, Blackhand and Exet will be waiting. Moist Esports have been eliminated, and here comes Blackhand as well
Let's
to clean up the final remaining players from Exet. They dominate this trench.
Blackhand are playing so intelligently at the moment and really making sure that Watson counts. So many kills already on the board. If they can get to the late game, Blackhand are looking very strong here in match number 1. But being on this eastern side, they are going to be held out by a
And this
couple
is
of
a circle
teams.
that was
LG
supposed
ahead
to
of
be
them,
tough for
as
him,
are
man. You got
SAF,
8
and right in
frags.
the dead center.
Almost top
Gaming
10.
One of the prime positions. Dreamfire also in a really good spot. And then Dark Zero on the northern side. It's Giants wherever you go here on the map. There is not an easy fight.
Well, just a little bit of calm here just before Everybody is squeezed together once more. That's Sentinels who are being fired on by Dreamfire and Roy. Not a lot of ammo to work with in this G7 Scout for now, but the flat line in the back pocket will be good enough to continually press that damage, and they've spotted someone out here. Martin will go down, and now you'll see Team Singularity find themselves under a bit of pressure, but Sandwich just
Ooh, Singularity might turn this around though.
Tom Young Kung eliminated in the meantime. Realize also fall as that battle for checkpoint starts to conclude.
I mean, the Rolling Thunder is doing so much damage at the moment, but look at this. I tell you what, the Prowler can hit different. Hammer to the back pocket.
Oh, Pizza.
Oh my god. As Dreamfire survive.
But for how long? Black Hole is a last ditch.
Bro, Blackhand is just fragging out of their minds right now, dude. They've been going off.
The Sentinels walk on in and clean up the pieces.
I think they're taking down NRG right now.
There, you thought he was just never going to die. He was going to take everybody back to the lobby himself. But for now, it's Blackhand still alive, and they've got a gold knock as well.
They've got 10 KP, 11 KP game 1, top 6, and they're still fragging.
I mean, 82% pick rate for Bang.
They know they've got a Horizon team down here. Just push it in, boys! Let's fucking go!
They are going nuclear in this game. They have 11 KP at the moment. The dojo eliminated.
14 KP.
We just simply have to jump into a listening now with the Blackhand
Come
squad.
on, boys.
Top 5.
Yep.
I think this might be clear.
I have an evac.
We might, wait, I think there's a Watson team right here. They're full armor, bro.
Maybe we walk right side.
They're feeling confident, boys.
Yeah, there's a team out left, though. There's a team out left.
We can kill this game.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. Do whatever you want, Mark. Do whatever you want. I have no nades.
I have one thermite.
I have the heart star left, I think. We can't get wrapped by left.
Check out this area.
I think it's like
Oh, boys, top 5, you're looking good.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, they got watch left. They're watching. Yeah, watch left. Watch left.
Full right, swing careful. Team on right.
Yeah.
I'm swinging left here. No, there's a team. There's a team right there. There's Jen right here. Jen right here, player.
I don't have it.
They're picking.
I'm telling this.
I love the comms.
I'm their hut.
Slow moving in. This is so good.
Do we have any nades?
No nades.
I have thermite.
Smoke me, Mark. They're double blue.
I got fucking.
Bro, there's someone on the roof.
Oh!
Flash.
Come on, boys.
I got
nade.
Yeah, they're shooting.
It's all good. It's a good game for him.
Well,
It's a
that
real
list
good game for him.
presented by
14
WD
kills.
But the gameplay was presented by Blackhand. Dark Zero made their move now, Dan. Look at this final few teams.
14 kills, top 5. That's great. Almost a 20-point game still.
Dark Zero, Blackhand, SAF, 3 of our best performing teams, but it's Sentinels who are wiping them out as now only 2 squads remain. Optic Gaming versus Sentinels. Here come Optic.
Optic take the height, but I don't think they have the
Remember,
armor
all you
advantage,
need
but
is
those
top 10.
shots do dropped. We'll get that first kill. Nocta's fallen though. It's a 2v2 here between the two. Skillcake's now left on his own, and Sentinels, not talked about enough, have to take him down to win it. Sentinels come through.
I see Arcan Warpants today.
And announce themselves as one to watch moving forwards.
Sentinels, like winds from the western side, they swoop on through, take down the remains of Dreamfire and slowly walk on into that zone and continue to push on those teams who had really held some strong positions for the entirety of that match. And then in the end, I mean, once they were able to get that position, once they were able to win that initial fight and take down the likes of Dark Zero, get rid of the likes of Blackhand, Sentinels looked so confident in any sort of engagement, really making sure they were all shooting at the same legend at the same time. Communication seems to be on point. What a way to silence any doubters as well, taking match number 1.
From the analyst desk to the mainstays, from having to watch from the sides to being involved in the winner's bracket, RKN leading the troops forward and saying, hey, enough talk about everyone else, it's time to talk about Sentinels.
Kind of crazy though that we have, we definitely get teams who are better on one map than the other, and we look at 3 of the top 5 were the top performing from group stages. And group stages always shows the best consistency. 18 matches are played on group stage level. And it's so difficult when you get into these lobbies because you saw every single engagement was against someone who has been like a champion at some point of their region or has won several matches throughout Pro League. but it was the Sentinels who were able to kind of come out of the woodwork a little bit. They were holding down the trenches for quite some time, but it was this push initially once they heard all the commotion that was happening on the western side.
Blackhand eliminated at this point, and they knew the damage had been done. They move and take this high ground, and high ground we all know is what wins you games. Also, having a Prowler in the back pocket certainly will help you out as well. It was Dark Zero just below them at the moment who were finished off. After start, a fight did fall. Dark Zero fall, and this is the 3v3, Dan, and for a second I thought the Sentinels weren't going to take this home as the first knock did go to Optic.
Well, Optic were able to, you know, get the high ground, they had the Horizon, but this is where things changed. The Black Hole and Horizon being available for Koiful meant that he could regain control. You saw there was spray from the R9 missed onto Koiful when he was up in the air as well. So difficult sometimes to kill that Horizon, but it was the R9 of Koiful was the one that did the damage. So Sentinels with an amazing points total, smiles all round, and quite rightly so.
Sending in Koiful to get those final kills, the young man who is fresh to the main stage as well, looking to be the name we're talking about when we get to the end of this winner's bracket. But I just think it's fascinating, like you were talking about, right? Well, statistically, we always look at things and we're trying to associate some patterns with teams who are good on certain maps, who might have been performing well in the groups. Well, like you say, that top 5, we have 3 teams who are the teams. When you look at the statistics when it comes to storm points, they're all there right again.
And what's interesting is looking at the compositions and what is making those teams get to those spots as well. Considering everything has been pretty much Bangalore, Cat, and Horizon across Storm Point, when you see a Watson in there, you're like, okay, well, where is this Watson going to be the difference maker? Blackhand holding down the northern side of that trenches for a majority of that match because they had the Watson gen, because they had those fences, and it is going to be a difference maker as we go on in this tournament with just those slightly off meta picks.
Interesting to see what the total points total was for Blackhand in that game as well, because there was a period of time, about 60 seconds, where they looked like they would take out anything and anyone who came in their way. A phenomenal performance from them, and it was all sparked by how they won that fight against Alliance, who were trying to move in third party.
Yeah, what a different game it could have been had Alliance have maybe been able to just get that initial knock and win that engagement, but to be able to turn a fight on its head like that shows
so
what
much
a threat
confidence,
Blackhand are going to be in this lobby. And whilst they are confident in their own abilities, we heard the interview as well with Straight from Flame saying, you know, maybe I get a little bit nervous here or there. That's the best way to settle your nerves. Getting into the top 3, getting a fight that you win where you should have been down and out. I think Blackhand are going to be a real threat here today.
You have to worry what he's going to be like when he's not nervous, because that looks terrifying. Anyway, game number 1 is done. It's Sentinels who are your champions at the start of our winners bracket. Game number 2 is just around the corner. We'll be back just in a sec.
Yeah, I don't. There.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
I think that, like,
Welcome back to Birmingham, everyone. Welcome back to the winners bracket. Sentinels, the team who are the talk of the town. Game number 1 going their way on Storm Point. But also there's a couple of sub-stories to kind of highlight here, Dan, before we get into our points totals and exactly who came out of it with what. Because I've got to talk about Blackhand. Boy, that was
they did stuff out the
Blackhand
stands.
showing that the consistency they showed in group stages was not just a fluke, it was not just a one-off, and they are going to be a real threat in this lobby because they would have already taken a significant lead over a lot of teams in this group who failed to get going in match number 1. It all started off when they were waiting at the wall. They were able to clean up the last pieces of TSM, or at least 1/3 of TSM, whilst then Reps was able to escape but eventually did go down. But then that fight against Alliance was massive, and how frustrating that on the flip side when we talk about Alliance and their opportunities and what they want to achieve in this tournament. To get into a fight where you think you're thirding and then suddenly just get turned on, that's not going to help your confidence.
I mean, the story for Alliance has been a very tough one in the build-up to this event. We all know that, and they've got some phenomenal support out in the crowd as well, who are going to be pushing them all the way, hopefully towards the grand finals as well. But, I mean, we were talking about how kind of elimination bracket run might have been good for them, but they were too good for that. They got into this winners bracket. They now have to find that consistency and that kind of magic that we know that they have in those team fights. That's a little bit of a confidence knock to go in and try and third someone and find yourself not just being turned on, but kind of
deleted, bro. They just got demolished.
Dropping on that kind of northeast side, there's always that risk when you try.
Honestly, Blackhand shit on a lot of their teammates, or a lot of the teams that they fought in that game.
Usually you might be thinking, well, it could be a TSM we run across. Unfortunately, it was a Blackhand, and it was a very on-fire Blackhand. And I think if they carry on playing that way, I can see them topping this group. I can see them making sure they go to the grand finals with those extra points and making sure they can get closer to match point early on Sunday.
Well, that's enough about Alliance. Let's talk about Blackhand, because my goodness, what a performance it was from them in that game. And we've actually got an opportunity to look back on some of those fights they were taking towards the end of that game, Dan, because they looked absolutely dominant. So many times we saw them involved in fights, and one thing I loved about it, I always talk about commanding space around a position you're trying to hold. When Moist moved into that trench, they were constantly swinging out, trying to fire through the bang smokes, making sure that Moist, if anyone else decided to get involved, that they'd be in a position to clear that space out themselves, pick up those free KP. XZ certainly helped them out in that situation.
And if they can duplicate that, and they're also benefit that they're starting on their,
you're
like,
not allowed to coexist without knowing
I would consider their stronger maps. Now that they're weak on World's Edge, I would say they're more consistent on.
The deal breaker for me was when they arrived at trenches and they forced energy back. Well, I say they forced energy back. Blackhand actually all faced separate ways as a 3 and tried to make themselves big. And I think it was Easy Flash who was able to force the entirety of energy back as a 3 on his own, just by putting down that damage, laying the foundations, and starting to set up in trench, making it so difficult. This is a little bit later on in the game after they'd already kind of secured their spot in trenches. But you can see the confidence that this team has. Someone is always prepared to be that first player to send in, do that damage, and take the damage, most importantly. You need a damage taker in your team, and then that's when the backup comes in, the bait and switch starts.
How much damage did they do?
One thing that's good about when you can control the southern side of these trenches zones, if you're the last
I think that's what, 41 between 4100 between Flame and
you can just fire down, and that's why that fight against the Dojo looks so comfortable.
Flash there.
Of course, the Dojo an incredible fighting team themselves, so that's the difference in height disparity. That's what it can mean in a team fight. But looking across the luminosity as well, I'm interested to know what
this is where it does that thing where I'm still alive though, right?
Oxygen with them essentially.
Yeah. Fish fire.
No. Maybe. Possibly.
More frustrating for Oxygen, because Oxygen would have been taking that fight and Jaguares was constantly just being an annoyance, a thorn in the side, staying alive in that building, hiding behind knockdown shields. And I wonder whether Oxygen should have just left it a little bit earlier. Say, look, it's one player, it's one KP, but perhaps we can pick up that extra set of points by just surviving here in this game.
Yeah, there is Oxygen Esports on your screen, and I'm sure when that fight started breaking out that they weren't expecting to be having a conversation about, anyone got a med kit at the end of it? Are we going to be able to make it to zone? Well, the answer was one of them could, but
Am I dying here? I think I'm dying here. Yep. Chat, I'm going to do one attempt at a restart, and if it continues to give me issues, man, I'm just going to stay offline and watch it because I'm going to be getting off at 11 anyways. Be back.
back up and refocus you ahead of what's ahead.
And just to give you an idea of how things are looking after game 1 as well, Sentinels, 22 points they were able to secure in match number 1, so that gives them
All right, let's
such
go,
an
let's
advantage
go.
now. I know it's 8 matches, so usually the bigger teams should be able to find that consistency to get into the top 10. For example, when I was speaking to Fun from XSET, he said, 8 games, I know we're getting into the top 10. We're going to be absolutely fine. If it was 6, maybe I'd be a little bit worried that we could have a little bit of a blip in the error, but no, they're making sure they can do what they get done best.
Well,
Are you winning,
points. Let's look at the
son? That's
results
so
from
fucking cool,
match
man.
number 1 there. Now that they've been tallied up, now the Abacuses can take a break. It's Sentinels who are on top with that win. 10 KP to go alongside it as well. Wow, what a performance that is from Sentinels. 22 points.
Sheesh.
And if you look at a points total, no surprise to see Blackhand up there.
14 KP.
Overall in
Golly.
placements, but 18
That's a fourth
points
of the lobby,
and
bro.
14 of those points coming from kills.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
imagine the mammoth game they could have had if Blackhand were able to survive that initial push that came through when they were taking it versus the likes of SAF and Dark Zero. Optic Gaming, 2nd place, 9 points on the board, but no kills. But that's not the end of the world. If you can be consistent and get to that final circle, kills will come in the next couple of games.
A little bit of a quiet first game, but nothing to worry about for these teams. We still have 7 games to decide who is going to go into that grand final and who will have to continue their story in the elimination bracket. 2 big boys down the bottom there. You can say that about any team, to be fair. Alliance and TSM, arguably one of North America's best and certainly one of Europe's best as well, alongside them in 19th and 20th, respectively. We did have a little bit of a technical hold-up on stage, but good news, everybody. That's been resolved. So we are now loading into match
More technical hold up for a game that's been
And I
out
think
for
that a lot
3
of these
years.
teams will have a little bit of a revenge plan set out as well. We'll, of course, you know, see what the circle's like, but I think at this tournament we've had a lot of similar circles. It seems like for you and I anyway, where they just seem to repeat themselves. But sometimes when you do get repetitive circles, it is the best way to try and replicate what's just happened and make sure you do better next time. Make sure you don't get ambushed, for example. Now you expect perhaps Blackhand to be waiting at the wall. There's all these things that happen in the early matches that teams will learn, they will adapt, because even those scrims, you certainly know where teams are going to be dropping here or there, but what their rotation is going to be like. How often are you going to see them competing with you at certain POIs? You learn as a series goes on, and certainly there were little things that happened in that match that would have given
Again, remember, that was a ring that they, circle that should have been tough for Blackhand too.
For now, though, it's all about
And now you've got all that
Legends. You can see
momentum,
the
all that
hope. You can see
confidence.
in the arena as well. Who's going to be playing
That's big,
who?
man.
I'd always like to see a little bit of fuse action, especially on Storm Point as well. Usually it's become a bit of a world's edge pick, but it looks like Fun, if not selected, certainly hovering and thinking about it.
Yeah, we had 10 Legends over a 10% pick rate yesterday on Storm Point. Fuse dropped down actually only to a 5% pick rate, so wasn't really as popular. I mentioned it in the last game. Bangalore, Cat, Horizon is our main 3 when it comes to a composition. But there are Cryptos, there are Bloodhounds, and as we saw, Watsons that can be the difference maker in certain scenarios. A lot of it's down to comfort, a lot of it's down to which Legends that people have been playing for quite some time. But now, match number 2, it's locked, it's loaded. The dropship is letting out all of these Legends onto the map. Can't wait to get into it.
Sentinels with a game 1 win. Can they back it up with a strong performance in game number 2 and be the talked about team when we come to the end of our winners bracket? For now, we're going to keep our eyes on Barometer though, because it was very busy last time around, down with multiple teams dropping in. Hey,
You've
look
got
at this
multiple
again.
teams
It
there
looks like
now.
high traffic once
Realize-
Well, it looks like Ascend are avoiding Barometer, and Ascend are just taking up the scraps and what are available in the middle of the map, but Realize are still going to take the fight versus Oxygen. Now,
Realize
with only
trying to
2
realize
teams
what
being
they
here,
realize.
You're more likely to see a fight happen. Because
That's
there was
sometimes the
3,
realize,
no
you
one
know what I
wanted
mean?
to start it because you'd probably end up dead. Realize do manage to sneak a little purple shield
Got
though,
him.
so this could help them.
Looks like Ascend realized that Jurassic was free, so they're going to take all of that POI, and I should say kind of half POI, right? And they're going to be able to play center map and look for those quick rotates, which is what we talked about they were slowed down doing in that last game. Oxygen, though, very aware of the position of Realize, who are contesting at the moment. Sangu picking up that purple armor, though, might just invite them to think about having a little poke at this.
And circle-wise, we are going to be heading down towards Barometer as well, if not between Shipfall and Barometer. The likes of Dreamfire, who are over at Cenote Cave, they're going to have a ring console, they'll be able to move very fast. Sentinels, our previous winners, dropping down at Shipfall, going to be in one of the priority positions, as well are Oxygen and Realize.
And we've got another pause. First of the day, baby.
You step on that wire again, Dan, didn't you?
Don't worry. It'll be unpaused soon.
Oh wait, I think it might be because Check's notes were on fucking Storm Point. Imagine.
We'll get this game back underway as soon as possible. Nobody contesting, no one really fighting, so it shouldn't affect the game whatsoever at this point, but it does give us an opportunity just to talk about where the zone's going down, because Sentinels, after that Game 1 win, dropping down at Shipfall, are going to be extremely happy, and with their composition as well and how they like to play, you would imagine that they should be able to at least be involved in that final ring or two's battles.
Yeah, I think our big teams that we need to be looking at in this game, Sentinels, Oxygen, if they can manage to win the fight against Realize, Dreamflyer, LG Chivas, and Singularity. They are going to be the teams that have priority to zone. Dreamflyer did have a ring console. LG Chivas also had a ring console to work with, so they'll get that extra info. And so did Sentinels. Yeah, so all these teams are going to be such a good position.
One thing to note as well, Digi out of the crafter for now, so those smokes will be even more powerful if you can find a Digi yourself, and we'll certainly encourage you to take some fights as we get a beautiful look at some of the beautiful people who are here in the arena as well. I mentioned how it is filling up here in Birmingham, and even though I tend to have my headset volume like so loud, I can still feel everyone. I can still hear it coming through and bleeding through the headset every time that one of these teams picks up a big team fight win.
Yeah, whether it's Dreamflyer, whether it's Alliance, whether it's TSM, I mean, there is support all around here in Birmingham, and it's only going to get louder and prouder as we get further into Sunday. And it is brilliant. As soon as we jump onto a certain POI and it's into a fight with the likes of Dreamflyer, for example, you can just feel that buzz. And I tell you what, there's some Dojo fans as well. As Timmy gives us a thumbs up as we still wait for these players.
I still think maybe they should have gone with a different like outline color on those black jerseys.
Count it down with me, everyone. 6, 5, 4. I'm on camera. 3, 2, 1. Thank you for the people who got involved. Here we go then, everybody. Game number 2 is back underway.
We can work on that, everyone. Next time.
That was a little bit of a kind of sprung on you. Don't
Next
worry.
time it will be better. It's okay as a group. I didn't get involved either, to be honest.
You left me out to dry, brother.
He did.
We're back underway, and we can start again focusing on this area, down towards Barometer.
Where you like leg
even
tap
further
the guy
south towards
standing
the
next to
beach
you. Come on,
towards
bro.
Shipfall is where everyone's going to be heading. Sentinels have first priority. Ironblood Gaming.
It's going to be another tough circle for Blackhand, especially because now they're going to have a lot of those teams that they just took down.
But for all those northern teams that
rotating in behind
that
them
might have had a struggle initially, Alliance, SAF, Tom Young Kung, they're going to have to now fight their way through the center of the map. So Ascend, who have changed their drop spot, could be one of those kind of gatekeeping teams at Jurassic Park.
Well, you mentioned the quick rotate of Ironblood. Well, where is the proof in the pudding, so to speak? This is where they find themselves, inside one of the buildings, right at the southern tip of this
Morning,
zone.
Ducky. How you doing,
Sentinels are going to be across
buddy?
from them in one of the buildings. FaZe also making a very quick rotate. As you can see, BR Demons, I will call them that forever, by the way. Oxygen Esports, of course, going to be playing down on the bridge, and no surprise to see Dark
So
Zero
Bang
keep that Trident
Horizon
from the middle
Cat
and trying to
being
get into
pretty
a
well
quick
the
position as
staple.
well.
Well, up into the sky, as well as the Trident, is Dreamflyer. Now, get hold of the building and make sure they can claim their own part of this map. The southern side is where everyone seems to be going. It is amazing to watch the mini-map, by the way, and see how quickly teams move as soon as they have that information, knowing that
I mean, teams know in this type of a lobby, like,
to the punch by the
if you're late in the circle, you're kind of fucked.
I think this is a really tough zone if you are on the north side.
How you doing today,
Storm
Ducky?
Point as well, because if you aren't here
Good
early,
morning,
it's
good
not like
morning.
you've got a lot of geometry to play, a lot of cover to play. It is just open water that you're going to have to try and cross, open land, essentially, especially if you're coming from that western side. So that's why you're seeing these desperate plays, essentially. And you're going to see some desperate fights breaking out later on of teams trying to force their way in.
A team I'm curious about how they manage to play this one is going to be Starter Fight from up towards High Point. As our best performing Storm Point team in this lobby from group stages, are they going to be one of those squads that is able to still make it work from the northern side? It looks like they've been able to get a Trident and they're making their way down. As for TSM, it's going to be a long old journey for them as well, currently passing through Command Center. But they do have an evac tower to make this journey a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficient.
Well, the evac tower balloon from Command Center probably lets you get across most of Storm Point the quickest way possible. You get such a huge height advantage and distance that you can cover. Tom Young Kung elsewhere.
Need coffee?
Stormcatcher are going to be kind of watching
I feel
TSM
that.
go past through the skies. But
I feel
interested
that.
to see what side of the zone they try and approach here, TSM, because if they go over to the eastern side of it, then they're going to have to work their way up such a difficult hill and through a narrow choke. If they go to the other side on the west, then that open water and that open ground,
TSM with a big old donut in game number 1.
Yeah, I think if you're arriving this late, you might have to just take something potentially in Barometer or on the northern side and then hope the ring pulls back up towards you, because the far southern tip is just far too congested.
The southern what?
About 10 teams already find themselves on the southern side, and even though the likelihood is it's gonna
the
pull
southern
that way,
tip.
do you take it as a risk? Do you bank on maybe a dodgy pull here?
Isn't looking like it to me from.
So Ascend, Moist.
Ascend.
And who is the third team?
In, but Looker can't quite get that knock.
Singularity, I think?
This battle taking place on the top of the fallen ship of Shipfall.
Start a fight.
And it's Starfight Esports, who are also taking a lot of damage themselves. And here comes NRG, getting a few kills on the board, make it 3. SAF 4.
Yeah, it was
the push of
SNG.
NRG.
Well, I said I was curious to see how their journey was going to go. Their journey ends very fast. First team to be eliminated, and NRG holding strong. That's what you've got to do. If you're one of these early teams who does take a building within zone, you just need to be prepared that anyone could arrive at a certain point to try and whisk it off you.
My guy. Let's go.
Certain compositions will do a lot better at fighting than others, but NRG making sure that they did not lose
priorities. I love it.
Being. Is now actually, I think, TSM are the next team to arrive close to NRG, whilst Ascend and still holding the top of Shipfall for now.
Ascend are going to be trying not to show too much presence at the moment. A few pop shots to level up some Evo armors, but the longer game is what they're involved in and interested in. How has to be careful here. Taking some damage on the cross, and you mentioned who that team is next to them. That is going to be NRG, and they should be safe for now.
Well, TSM almost mirrored what SAF did in terms of where they were trying to push. I think NRG are hiding enough that people think, well, this building might be available for us, and then wham! NRG comes out of nowhere and makes your day a living hell. But TSM were wise to it. They were able to escape. But unfortunately for TSM, they now find themselves on that eastern side that you were talking of, where there's a lot of open area. It's very difficult to hold. So we'll have to see and check in later how they manage to move in.
Who do the Giants play tomorrow?
Just holding the eastern side, but there are still 5 teams outside of this circle. One of them being LG Chivas, who dropping over towards Fish Farms did not have that ring console information on set. So
not been paying
they had to
attention to
wait,
sports,
they had to be
bro.
a little bit more patient before they moved.
Also, LG love to play edge. They're not a hard zone team. It's very rare that we see them play that unless we are seeing a zone pull all the way down to Fish Farms. We had a little look at Alliance as well, who are still crafting their loot pool up a little bit more over a storm catcher and having to work their way right from the northern tip of the map down towards this southern one. And I'm very interested to see if they run into Blackhand at the moment, because Blackhand are over at Launchpad, and we might get part 2 of the fight we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, Blackhand versus Alliance, I mean, it's a fight for the ages, and I will watch it game after game gladly.
The Buccaneers.
You know full well that Alliance can certainly act
for the
revenge,
Vikings.
because they're one of our best fighting teams as well.
Oh,
I mean,
you got the
every team in this
Cowboys
lobby
tomorrow
really is capable
night.
of winning an engagement if they can get that first knock.
To start off the season. Please
It's gonna
beat the
be rare, I
Cowboys'
think, that
ass.
you see a 2v3 turned around. We've seen a few though, even in the final circles, as Blackhand are more than happy to still be holding on and waiting over towards Launchpad. And I think you were right, with the movements of where Alliance are going, this could happen, although Alliance now have a Trident.
As I say, Alliance
Blackhand
now
once
going to
again
rotate
just
straight
crafting
in.
up, probably just leveling up the Evos, knowing that it's going to be a hard fight for them to get into zone, much like we saw from Alliance.
Although they did just separate
moments ago, so they're preparing to fight their way into zone for now. Elsewhere, you can see Xset.
Easy
Kinda
dubs,
creeping through. They did
says Ducky. Okay.
hit the armory on their way down, so that's another opportunity to not just level up Evos, but make sure that your attachments are looking all juicy.
Well, I like
They
the
will also
confidence.
realize they have to fight,
You know,
and here is Alliance. Now,
not get insane about
they've
it.
got
yeah.
antennae to themselves for now. But the rotate they have to make down, it's so treacherous. They'll probably just work their way in towards zone, out of antenna up the hill and towards the cannon spot. But
Yeah, I know.
from there, it's where the,
Know what I'm saying?
the real decisions have to be made, and the toughest ones you can imagine.
Yeah, I thought they were in a Trident with how quickly they were moving, but an evac tower is probably what they took. But you're right, when they do arrive to the northeastern side, there's not really any buildings to play, and the circle continues to pull down towards the southern side of Barometer and Shipfall. The dojo are still going to have to move from the western side as well, but at the moment they're comfortable and also leveling up the shields, but Timmy needs to dodge and weave, but he should be okay back inside.
I was about to say, you and I have very different descriptions of what comfortable means, because Timmy got absolutely melted. And the reason being there's numerous teams who are trying to rotate through, and I'm pretty sure that look at Xset here.
Optic looking at Xset,
why this fight was
and
taking place.
yeah.
And now they are in
Now they are
no man's
out in
land.
the
They've got
middle
wet
of
feet, they've
fucking
got wet
nowhere, bro.
ankles.
Oh dear.
And they're having to use that catwall to try and get past, but this is looking rough.
I mean, the catwall only goes so far. Now the entire lobby has got eyes on
Serpentine,
Exet.
Serpentine.
This is Duck Hunt at its very finest. But it looks like they
make
get
it.
behind the rock, and Exet's journey is successful. Now TSM still moving down on this eastern side and will be taking out Team Singularity. Remember, Ascend were also here though.
Ascend were here.
Ascend, and I think Moist was here as well. But here's Tom Young Kung moving in.
TSM,
Oh my God! Was that a
It's gonna be pretty
142
good.
clip?
He just scared off this third-party attempt with one spray. So TSM, I mentioned, I talked about how this rotate is going to be so rough for them. They are going to have to fight multiple teams, and the next one up is going to be Tom Young Kung. LG Shivas eliminated in the meantime.
By who?
And shots now starting to ring into the back of Tom Young Kung as well.
Black
Tom Young
Hand
Kung
is
here,
taking
Ascend
out
here,
some of
and
the
now
best
Alliance
teams
are
in the
also
world
arriving
in
at the
like
same time.
isolated
Everyone's looking in
3v3
the circle
fights.
saying, look,
That's
this
huge.
could be our best chance for KP and our best chance to try and
You could
dominate
even
this
call the
eastern
Alliance
side.
one
This
isolated
ship
because
is covered
TSM had already
by so many
rotated
teams
out.
at the moment, and if you step 1 foot out of place, you will be taken down by these squads. They will not miss.
Speaking of about where the zone is going to be going as well, it's the shift away from the shipful side towards that beachhead where Dark Zero, surprise, surprise, have got a fantastic position for this end game. Except with their rotate, by the way, through the water, have got ahead of so many teams and Barometer, so you could see the risk-reward that they went for. If they make that cross, fantastic. Now they might be in a position to be involved in the end game. If they get cut down, then it's top 15, it's top 16 at best.
Yeah, it's some of those risks you have to take because there was no other option really for them, as now TSM again going down, and it's Alliance that they will be fighting up against. Hackers to the first one to fall.
Hackers is down, TSM looking to clear this side of the map once more.
Tom Young Kung is going to push themselves right into
with
this.
those sprays for now. Reps needs a little bit of help here. Reps is 1 HP. Hackers is finished off. As Hal takes down another. Effects will fall. One player remaining here for Alliance. Reps is down. Here comes Big E trying to clean it up.
Knockdown shields everything at the moment. Alliance eliminated. TSM survive. Is there any third party? They look good. This was somewhat isolated, really. Ascend kind of moved their way from
I'm
it.
kind of surprised that Tom Young Kung didn't push into that, honestly.
TSM survive, but as for Alliance, unfortunately another difficult rotation for them. As Black Hand also eliminated on the eastern side. They were trying to go through the zone, but they were punished.
FaZe now having a lot of trouble. That zone pull was
tough rotate for Black Hand.
Had a really good opportunity.
They got themselves a couple of
rotate
KP
towards
though,
the
so
in-game
like
zone early on,
you're still moving along the way.
Misread it. Thought it was going down to the buildings just to the south of Shipfall. Now they have to move to the west, where Iron
I just
Blood
realized I
Gaming,
didn't
Dreamfight,
update
and
scores.
Dark
My bad,
Zero
John.
hold down the strongest positions. Elsewhere, back at Shipfall, on top of the structure, you've got Moist Esports. Can't quite connect with the Ordinator spray, but should be able to clean up some damage on the low ground.
Yeah, this ship just seems to have a magnet at the moment on all of these squads getting involved in hearing the gunfire. MT's gone down, so it's a 2 versus 3 potentially, but now 2 versus 2 and make it a 2 versus 0. Tom Young Kung taken out in 15th position. But unfortunately for Moist, they did lose a player, not able to get him back on his feet.
I'm pretty sure the
Here's
TSM might have just hit an evac
scoreboards.
tower themselves as well. I saw them flying
Going
across
into this game.
our mini-map that we can see. Moist Esports trying to work their way towards the buildings. Reps
Actually,
has
I believe
fallen on
Black
this
Hand was at
rotate.
18
Hal's
going
having
into
to eat a
this.
lot
That
of
might
damage
actually
as well
include
from the surrounding grenades that are flying in
whatever
on
kills
him
the
as
teams
they hit
have
the
this
grab
round.
lift to try and survive. He's going to be the last player alive here. 5 kills to his name at the moment. Can Hal do something as a solo?
Just trying to be the bush, blend to the bush. I am a tree. Medkit goes down. It looks
One
like
with
it's
the
gonna be
tree,
okay.
one with the
Yes,
tree.
Destroyer now in
No
Oxygen.
one's looking,
Will take
no
down
one's
Fussy.
looking.
FaZe get eliminated as Oxygen continue their warpath at the moment. They're looking confident in their fights.
Vayne eating a little bit of damage from the barrage that comes down from the skies, but does manage to get that battery popped. Moist Esports will be eliminated. Oxygen and Sentinels, the closest teams to each other here, who might be in a position to fight. Ascend having a look at this though, and you can see on our minimap that the drone has gone out from Kashira. If he sees damage going down, if he sees a fight going down, and some knocks being picked up, he will say to Ascend, let's go and get involved with this.
The Sentinels with the black hole going down, and Sentinels will get that first pick too.
Sentinels with the confidence of that game 1 win, get that first knock, and now RKN's on the flank himself. But oh, the fight's been turned around. And all of a sudden, it's Oxygen who come out on top of it. Sentinels eliminated, no back-to-back for you.
Optic also taking a fight in the moment as well. Dropped is taking a lot of damage, but Knocked will reply with the R99.
Who is this they're
Knockdown
fighting?
shield only at White is not going to help too much. And they need to back off and work together, but Skillcake falling. Optic may struggle here.
one of the
Looks like
Apex
it's a
North
1v1 though. Oh, and the shot with
Yeah,
the 30-30
realized.
does it.
Okay.
Arm armor swaps there and quickly available for Knock. 10 squads remain here.
I was like, because that is not a name I am familiar with, but I don't get to catch as much Apex North.
Eliminated in the meantime as well. Optic will be able to reset, and they will be the winners of the northern side of the zone. But look at Dojo. Dojo are challenging the position of Dark Zero right now. They're a little bit split, but the catwall has already been used.
Circles closing.
Every time I see a Triton just floating over a Horizon Q, it just gets me every
Dark Zero
time.
still trying to hold this northern side. Zero visibly
I'm a
trying to
child.
avoid all of the bullets and just about survives.
What's the beauty of playing Bangalore? The smokes to escape with, right? Hitting the double time, being able to get back to the position that's being held by your teammates. And oh my god, I said, can Hal do something as a solo? Well, we had an opportunity to pick up a KP, but TSM will be eliminated. 8 squads now remaining. Oxygen Esports there, being taken down by the zone. Reeds is doing what he can. There's no way you win this, Reeds.
Even if he does, he doesn't get out of the ring.
Zone will always win. Oxygen eliminated. Ascend fall as well. As we are down to our
still in?
few squads.
NRG on the northeast side. Ironblood Gaming and Dreamfire hold zone whilst Dark Zero and Optic are on this northern side. This is a big fight for Dark Zero. If they can clear out Optic, they should be able to hold the northern side for the rest of the game. But Dreamfire are having a look at it, or at least one player from Dreamfire is.
He's just thinking we can take the spot off of them. Darkveil goes down here. The smoke's just delaying this fight. But Nocta says it's time to go in. The first kill here will go to Optic Gaming. The second one will as well. Maybe Noct can get them all. Noct's flying in. Oh, Noct! Dark Zero eliminated. 4 squads remaining. But
Getting dirty with the 30-30. Oh.
They see the signal. Noct is out of there.
See you later. NRG try and clean things up, but they're trying.
He's like, yo, get in the whip.
A route that you can ever ask for, but Skittlecake unfortunately was not able to find a trident of his own. So NRG, Dreamfire, Ironblood Gaming, the 3 teams still as a full trio. Optic Gaming still have a solo player who was able to escape in said trident.
Dreamfire got a pretty good spot though.
And then there were 4. Everybody, apart from Optic Gaming, a full squad. NRG trying to hunt down this final player alive, but they can't quite find him.
Look at the presence that Dreamfire are applying to this final circle as well. There is the escape path.
Is it really rocking white shields?
Not only have the building in center zone, but also are holding the northern side. It's a good time. Let's go to a listen-in with the crowd favorites. It's Dreamfire.
Let's go.
他们在抱起来了，抱起来了，抱起来了。
好，继续播，继续播。
去线，给我互动，我在一楼，在一楼，在一楼，在一楼等，在一楼等。他们在哪里打？三姐，美丽。屋里，在楼里，在楼里，在楼里。躲在这儿，躲在这儿。去拿分，去拿分，去拿分。把外面扩了，好吧？把外面扩了，把他杀了，把外面扩了，把他杀了，好吧？他们互动，倒一个，倒一个，倒一个，倒一个。来人跟我想把他清了，可以不？不着急吧，不着急吧，独狼。我们清满边就行了。Nice。
Oh, that's just out there. Okay.
这边脚下。
I thought they got an entry on one of the 3s. But the other 2 are fighting. I think Dreamfire just win this for free, right?
倒一个，我们得上，一楼，差不多得上了。二楼好像，我掉到了，掉到了。拆一下，第4。打了，我脸上两个，我倒了，二楼封门，倒一个，接。
Yeah, they're in here.
我倒了。
Oh, what? Hold on.
觉得。
Come on, Roy. Roy's our boy. Roy's our boy.
破甲，白电，破甲。
Let's go, Roy. Come on, Roy.
我蹲。你别先。
Oh, he's right there. Let's go, Roy. Yeah.
Dreamfire wins!
Apex South showing the fuck up in winners bracket. Let's go.
To close things out. And let me tell you, the energy in those fans right now, you can feel it up here on the stage.
And what a celebration as well. What a feeling for Dreamfire as they continue to show why they're a dominant force here at the championships. Covering so much of that final circle. 2 players on the building, 1 player as the scout just to hold that northern side, not allowing anyone.
A good game for IBG too.
They were holding that area.
Apex South turning up,
when
dog.
they were able to push up. They clean out
And
the
Moist
rat
still
to
hasn't
make sure
shown
there's
up
not
yet.
gonna
You
be
know
any
they
sort
will
of
at some
escape
point,
artists,
especially over 8
shenanigans
games.
going down. But then in that final engagement, they confidently pushed together. They trusted each other as they entered their building. There was no one holding back. The Dreamfire fans are loving this one.
100%.
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%.
The final 1v1 was such a tough one to win as well. I think at one point both players weren't quite sure where each other were. There was knockdown shields, there was staircases, there was a catwall in the middle as well. And it almost felt like a little bit of a spray and pray just until you saw Dreamfight just get a peek of where Guild was, the last player alive from NRG, and then just snapping onto it for the win.
It's one of those as well where the players who are on the floor are very important as well. If you are knocked, you can provide a lot of information. I mean, of course, you don't want to over-ping things, but you can relay a lot of position info to your teammates. If you're the other side of the catwall, for example, so everyone playing their part there for Dreamfire. But as we watch back at this final circle, look at how well they hold themselves on this map. They've been doing it all tournament long, navigating and manipulating the final circles in their favor by taking high ground where possible, making sure there's areas that give them adequate cover in these final circles as well. And as soon as they saw this fight happening, 3 squads remaining, damage is being done, gunfire is going off, they start to press, they start to surround.
NRG needed to get this fight done as quickly as possible inside the building, but I think this spray that comes in from Rui, where he hits for over 100, breaks the shields, that is the signal for the rest of Dreamfire to get involved. But then there's a grab flip, then it's just pure carnage. The shots, by the way, with the havoc from Roy then to take down Nathan. Absolutely superb throughout all of the carnage. And I'm pretty sure it was Peter who went down, and it all falls on the shoulders of Roy here.
I'll tell you what though, hats off to Guild for making that as difficult as it could be. NRG, they were in a 2 versus 3 for the majority, and nearly were able to pull off the unthinkable, but Dreamfire, they made sure they clutched up, they stayed strong, and they did not falter in what could have been
updated standings here.
A very terrifying scenario, because Gilderson can do terrifying things. He already has done. I mean, we've already seen NRG win 2v3 so far this tournament. But there's confirmation of our top 3. Dreamfire, NRG, Ironblood Gaming.
Ironblood, unfortunately, not really capitalizing on their kills.
With 9 kills, I mean, technically, they kind of topped that game.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at where they had to come from as well. Checkpoint down all the way to the southern side of the zone. If you offered NRG those statistics for that zone, I'm pretty sure they'll say, yep, thank you very much. We'll take that home. We'll take those points. And we'll look forward to something a little bit closer to home when it does come to where that zone is going to be going. This is the match results from what we just saw in match number 2. Dreamfire on top when it comes to placements, but NRG matching them for a points total thanks to those 9 kills they picked up.
Optic Gaming as well with 11 points. Ironblood Gaming getting the placement, but didn't have too many kills. But again, you just want to be making sure you are scoring 5 and above in every single game, and then hoping to have one little pop-off to ensure that you'll be in that top 10. 7 kills for TSM too, down in 9th position to get 9 points on the board, so they outscored the majority of teams. Sentinels were not able to replicate their success from match number 1, despite having a very good drop for that location.
Apex
and
comps.
this is where the ALGS Championships is going to be defined by winning the circles that come towards you, or on the flip side, winning the circles that are far away from you. If you can be one of those squads who has to traverse the entire map and still get good points, it's going to bode well, and eventually the RNG is going to go your way.
This is how we stand after 2 games then. The total points tally. Sentinels still on top, but just by 2 points. Where Dreamfire and NRG are just behind them, tied up at 23 apiece. Blackhand in 4th place. Thanks to that first game that they had down where they just kind of went a bit wild.
And remember, top 10 will progress to the grand finals, but if you are the winners, you will get those 10 extra points going into the grand final, and then 2nd place gets 9, 3rd place gets 8, and so on, so forth. Those who finish in the bottom 10 will be in the elimination bracket round 2, and we'll have to then finish at the top 10 of there to get to the grand finals.
A long way to go, of course. We're only 2 games into an 8-game series here in our winners bracket. But looking down at the bottom of that table, LG Shibas, Alliance still yet to register some points on the board. As we take a look at 2 players who are involved in that final fight, both of them playing that Bangalore legend. You've got 3MZ, aka Sandwich, going up against Nathan.
And the Bang players, you've always got a lot of responsibility for making sure you get those smokes down to cover the team. But also, you want to be making sure you get hold of that digi threat as well, so that you can be able to see through said smokes. But both players doing an incredible amount of damage, but it was Nathan who steps up in this comparison.
All right.
For the Horizons, though, Sweet getting out damaged 1,069.
Yo,
but I mean,
Peter!
both teams, they deserve to be in that final circle with how they played it. Both teams are also given the opportunity to get to that final circle.
Top of the
A lot of the teams who were
leaderboard
on
starting
that
to.
southern side didn't have a ring console. I mean, LG Chivas, for example, were
I don't want
blind
to say
for quite some
separate
time.
itself, right? It's only 2 games. Obviously, there's still plenty more to go, but
both teams. No surprise
got
to see them
4
playing
teams, and
exactly
20
the same
plus points.
composition as well.
10
And this is the two
teams,
players
right? With
who
10
ended
or
up in
less.
the 1v1 right at the end, right? Roy and Gilderson's. Guild almost getting it done, but I've got to say
11 teams with 10 or less.
In that final fight. It wasn't just the 1v1 that they managed to kind of clutch up and that he managed to solidify. It was 2-3 kills before that. It felt like didn't even have a turbocharge on that Havoc, by the way. He was having to wait for that thing to wind up.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you've got to trust anyone with any gun, because I think that you could be in a spot and have an R9, you could still miss the shots. You could have a Havoc, you could still miss the shots. You just need someone who is not going to crack under that pressure. And that's what's going to separate kind of the top 10 teams with the bottom 10 teams here, is when you get into those final moments, can you still hold strong and be confident?
Now, Dan, I'm probably sure what's going through your mind right now after game number 2 is that you would like to take a sit down, right?
I really would, honestly.
Well, let me tell you, Herman Miller got you covered. They've got some beautiful chairs that these players are using at the moment on our main stage. And just so you know, the Herman Miller Gaming Embodied chairs are being used at today's event. Check out the new colorways on Embodied Gaming Online. The new colors have a white base with Galaxy and Amethyst upholstery. Be sure to check out the custom Herman Miller Gaming Heirloom Embodied chairs created for this year's ALGS Championship winning team. And let me tell you, as you can see, that's some good looking chairs.
Very good for your back as well, I will say. I have had the luxury to sit on them and
That's
make
why
sure
I have a bad back.
you have a proper posture whilst gaming. It is very important, I'm not even joking. Make sure everyone gets proper posture when they're gaming. And if you don't have a Herman Miller chair, please sit properly.
Please sit properly. Well, that's what's supporting the players at the moment in more than one way. Back to the talk about the conversation, and back to the conversation about the games, Dan, because we've got Storm Point still ahead of us, 2 games to decide how the leaderboards are going to be shaping up before we head into the back end of this series and change over to World's Edge.
Well, I mean, game 3, we've seen 2 very different winners, but we have seen consistency across those who we did say would have better Storm Point matches than the others. Dark Zero again still getting into that final circle, still putting those points on the board. They find themselves in 6th place at the moment on 14 points, but it's been NRG who were able to get that second win, who find themselves in 2nd, but Sentinels still hold 1st position.
Well, it's time for us to head into match number 3 then. Halfway through Storm Point, as we hit our Legend Select. Would be a little bit surprising to see things change up at this point. And I've got to say, the compositions are starting to look more uniform as we go through the matches and through our groups. You can still see Kashera still on that Crypto though. Lufka on the Valkyrie. One of the only compositions I feel in this entire lobby that separates itself from the rest.
Well, the dropship now letting out all of the players. And I think Ascend will probably stick to Jurassic Park there. It wasn't exactly the worst game for them. They were able to get to the slightly later stages. But they don't look like necessarily the Ascend that won that set of 6 matches in the group stages on day 1 just yet. And it is Realize versus Oxygen again here at Barometer.
Well, this one looks a little bit more aggressive. Previously, we've seen kind of a, shall we say, a bit of an agreement that we're going to split the loot, we're going to carry on towards the end game where we can both be a part of it. But Oxygen Esports, I think they want to try and press and maybe start to dominate. One way to do that is with a longbow, no scope, no problem here for Reeds.
And he's got his eyes firmly set as well. They want to try and convert this kill just so they can then get the advantage.
Oh,
but
timing.
I tell you what, that's great cover. Reeds diving on down, sliding on down.
All right, so it looks like Southern Zone here. Again, surprise, surprise.
And also taking damage as well.
Oh my God!
Hemlock.
Okay, well.
But Oxygen Esports, who are in a position they surely
Realize
thought they were
that
going to get that
they're contesting
first
here.
knock. Now find Aiden left on his own and Realize still up at a full 3. Realize have won this contest every single day of the week.
I mean, Karen Poo with the RE45 just went a little bit nuts, I tell you. And Realize have had a few contests so far this tournament, and they are proving to be a real threat for Oxygen Esports. Now, as Oxygen most likely will just try and escape as that last player, or will they? He said he's going to try. Up into the skies he goes, but quickly gets brought back down. As Realize now are just on the hunt.
Yeah, this is going to be the end of Oxygen Esports in this game. Just a matter of time, and Realize take Barometer from Oxygen. And I tell you what, winning that fight's massive for them because where this zone is going down, they've got a pretty quick rotate still.
Yeah, we're
Tough for Oxygen because they're only sitting on 12 points. They're like one of those teams that's,
and LG Chivas, who are over towards Fish Farm,
too far behind the pack.
So they're going to get
now if you have teams like Oxygen, or sorry, Optic, Black Can, Dreamfire, Sentinels, NRG, if you have them having pop-offs again, now all of a sudden you're falling pretty far behind and you're at risk in the last couple
Dreamfire at
slots.
Cenote, though, they do. So Dreamfire now, you can see them already making their move from that southwestern side. They are going to be hugging that coastline with a Trident and probably going below Sentinels all the way around to the southeast.
Southeast is where you want to be. If you can get into one of those buildings just on the southeast side of Gale Station, that zone is going to keep pulling towards you. Be very, very surprised to see it going anywhere near Antenna. And you can see where the pathing of the teams and how they're trying to get towards where they believe end zone is going to be. And that's kind of backed up the theory that we have right now. Dreamfire as well, like you mentioned, scarpering through, using the Trident once more, and we just saw them win a game in a very similar position, so they'll be feeling extremely confident with how this zone is pulling.
Dark Zero also had Rinconto at Mill, and they've already found themselves pretty much at Gale Station already. You can see them making their journey. FaZe find themselves
Dark Zero
in one of the
rolling up.
too.
You've got FaZe here.
Playable area has
Singularity here as well.
In the early moments before round one even gets close to closing. So again, another tough zone for those northern sides as Dark Zero will use their Dark Veil just to ensure they get across. But oh, suddenly, surprise, you've been beaten.
Dark Zero now in a little bit of a difficult position. Gonna have to kind of share this. And Zero has just found out that the team in front of him do not want to share. That's gonna be FaZe, and they want to try and hold as much real estate as they can. Finally, it looks like they're gonna back down from the fight, and Dark Zero might have just done enough to claim the other side of this building, but FaZe were not comfortable coexisting.
I think Dark Zero may be just slightly pushing their luck, trying to go one step further, that extra percentage chance of winning. But they have to retreat now to this building, which they clearly don't feel is as good of an area to be holding. But I tell you what, it's better than half the lobby is going to get, because Tom Young Kung, SAF, they're all arriving on that eastern side, but the likes of Alliance, TSM, Exet, Dojo, Optic, they all have to take a long, treacherous journey as Ascend now, late to the party, but Dark Zero are going to do some damage.
Dark Zero do not want Ascend near them. They're already getting tick damage as an EMP, which is, I think, going to be avoided by most of the players here on Dark Zero as well. So Dark Zero now, from an offensive play where they're trying to claim their most priority position, are having to make a defensive one. Ascend are eliminated though, and you can see that that rotate just seemed a little bit late for me from Ascend. You knew there was going to be multiple teams already in this position.
Elsewhere, Blackhand have lost one.
The player that's down is Blackhand though. Oh, is it 2v2 here?
With this Hemlock should be able to finish off SAF, so it's another early exit for start a fight. Exit are okay, don't worry. But Blackhand
they've got themselves a decent zone here for Blackhand too now. This is nice.
Just below Launchpad. But I think the TSM are probably going to be arriving sometime soon.
I do like this composition for them, man.
Looks like another command center redeploy coming in from TSM, and yes, indeed, they were trying to play for that building, but instead,
like, it really fits their play style.
The choke, where they can approach a little bit later on. Blackhand say, "Hey, we see you, TSM. This is not going to be comfortable for you." The 3 southern zones in a row for TSM. I think if you look at the overall leaderboards, they're not going to be too disappointed with the amount of points they've actually managed to put up.
Yeah, and historically, TSM have always been better at Storm Point, but at this tournament, they've been a bit more consistent across both maps, and World's Edge has been their preference. Split 2 playoffs, it was all about Storm Point for them, where they were able to get their wins. And wins are going to be important. The
TSM goes down to lowers.
Point. We're not talking about them as much when it's all about the points and the totals and getting into that top 10, but as soon as we're onto that match point format, we will be looking at those squads who have been able to get consistent victories on the board as our favorites for the tournament. Now, NRG, who have been able to get one of those wins, they're holding down Antenna at the moment, so it's the northwest side of the zone. It's not my favorite place to hold because often the circle does pull away from here, but they might be able to get a lot of kills from teams rotating in from that northern side.
Yeah, the only problem is the teams that are close to them right now, Optic Gaming and TSM, they're not easy kills at the best of times. So it looks like NRG might be trying to move away and play the height a little bit more, the ridge and the cannon area where they might be able to slide down a little bit later, but they are certainly ahead of the traffic. They are the ones who can make that decision. Alliance, again, are going to have to craft it. A similar story to what we saw in that last game, where they did lose that fight to TSM, but You can see they know they're going to have to fight into this zone. That's why you're seeing them just level up those Evos once more.
I mean, Alliance are used to kind of playing edge and being late rotators, but these have been particularly bad zones for them. They probably would prefer some more central ones, or definitely would prefer some northeast ones. And we see them go up towards Thunderwatch and Lightning Rod. That's when Alliance are particularly Smiles. But realize after winning their contest here, will be just holding on to Barometer still.
So where's this thing ending then?
East soon. They can't reside here for too long. A minute 24
More
left.
fish farms-ish?
Most teams now find themselves down towards Gale Station on set. It is so congested at the moment that there isn't really any buildings to play. So all these late arrivals, they actually have nowhere to go. Sometimes you can land in some of the open areas by the rocks and go unnoticed, but with so many eyes on, people peeking out their windows, I fear for those teams
peeking in my window?
Have a lot of teams playing the outside of buildings, and it's all about timing your rotate in here if you are one of the late arrivers. You can't essentially find out what Ascend found out, right? That when you land, that you're the only team who's on the outside of a building. You need other teams kind of almost arriving at the same time to take eyes away or see third parties breaking out in buildings that you might be able to clean up and force your way into zone. But it's a tough ask. It really is a tough ask to try and get into this zone if you're not in there already for now. Optic are going to have to be one of those teams who fight their way in, but a Prowler certainly can help you down.
Yeah, we saw the difference that the Prowler could make at the end of game 1. As Realize and Ironblood Gaming are getting very close to each other on the map. And a lot of these teams on their final rotations now are just going to learn that it's not going to be easy getting into any sort of position. Still down towards Gale Station, it's a scrap for supremacy, a scrap for just dominating some of these buildings.
This is Ironblood Gaming, this is just outside of Shipfall to the north side of it at the moment. Realize who have just
They're pushing on to Realize here.
Stalling this
is
fight
it just
out for now,
IBG and Realize here?
Just kind of sharks in the water here, looking to see.
Where's IBG on this side?
Oh
shit!
Oh
shit!
Well, it looks pretty quick.
Oh, not like this!
Yeah,
well. Oh no, this is an IBG. Oh, that is IBG.
Boy, was it quick!
Holy
but here come NRG,
shnikes, man!
still thinking about it. Sweet calls it off.
Yeah, Sweet saw how quick that fight ended and was like,
amazing from Realize, all swinging that stairwell at exactly the same time. And you're quite right, it was Shipfall they were taking that fight, so they're going to still have a journey over towards Gale Station. It's Blackhand, they're being a nuisance at the moment. It's TSM they're still looking up towards. Optic Gaming are to their west, TSM to their east, and Alliance are to their north. So anyone who arrives is going to be a difficult fight, but we know full well that Blackhand also have proved to be one of the most difficult fights in the lobby. But once they do hold this northern side and they try to progress into the circle, there's not really much coverage for them, and that's my worry.
Have to work their way uphill. Maybe there's a little spot on the right-hand side of the mountainous area, a little area they can hold down if they can clear this side of the zone, but it's a very
so that's
going to
be TSM having to come down towards
TSM as well, probably thinking both teams
either Blackhand or move down more towards actual fish farms, Gale Station area.
Things are looking on our map overhead at the moment. The dojo still deep in zone. Alliance just trying to rotate ahead of them for now.
I think Blackhand's going to try and rotate this thing like late. Hold on.
So you might see some teams desperately trying to land in the circle on the northwestern side next to those rocks. And if you can go unnoticed whilst fights are happening and you can set a presence with the damage, then you can survive there and could maybe influence the final circle in your favor. But it is a massive risk, because if you do get spotted and if the fights aren't happening, then you will be quickly wiped out of that zone. And you also saw on the northeast side of the zone a lot of open area as well, which Blackhand, TSM, Alliance, Optic, Dojo, they're probably all going to fight for. At the moment it's TSM who hold the far eastern side, and they've got plenty of protection from the smokes, but they have noticed Dojo in the zone.
Dojo are going to have to be extremely careful here, because yes, they do have the meds to craft, but the zone, while it's constantly chipping away with damage, if you find your shields being broken, that last 10% of your health going down from a G7 scout, you're going to really find yourself having to pick one of your teammates
tough spot where TSM's at, though. I mean, you got the high ground, so you got like natural cover to be able to kind of peek behind.
But you can see how tough this rotate is now from TSM. Yes, they have the high ground, but that is going to be Blackhand consistently firing down on them. And every time they're taking damage, they're burning through those meds as well.
Yep. Here's the overhead. TSM, Dojo, Alliance, and Blackhand. It was important that TSM did apply pressure to Dojo as well, because they don't want Dojo's going to rotate behind them in that red. They want to force
they're going to
go
through an
evac
tower.
Blackhand, but Blackhand,
because Blackhand's going to try and late rotate, just chill right here, because they've got their Watson.
So at the moment, it's a lot of poke damage.
Where they can put up,
warfare.
Your pylon, you don't have to worry about
16 squads still remaining here. The Dojo are having to force up onto TSM now, and
you don't have to worry about ordinances coming in and stuff.
The longer this fight gets delayed, the more difficult this is going to be. But popping a medkit at just the right time might be able to get Timmy into the fight, being full HP. TSM having to retreat, and the Digi threat's going to pick up Al. First knock goes to the Dojo.
This could open things up for the likes of Alliance and Blackhand, who are taking a look, but Enemy.
I don't think you see Blackhand push up here. I would expect more Alliance than Blackhand.
As Timmy and Enemy are working hand in hand, and TSM go down. Dojo survive, and pushing out of the zone, we're able to win a straight 3v3.
I will say it's a perfectly timed medkit coming in from Timmy as well. The moment that his feet touched the ground, he was full health, able to just deal out so much damage, which turned into those knocks coming in. TSM eliminated.
So now they're going to have to rotate with the Dojo here to get in.
And now you can see them turning their attention towards Blackhand, who've been waiting for this rotate from either TSM or Dojo for quite some time.
All the meanwhile, Alliance got over both teams, by the way, as Exet also trying to move into center zone, but they are going to be contesting against NRG.
So I should put Blackhand pretty much exactly where I was talking about.
Kind of on one side of this building, on the western side. They do have a little bit of protection.
Back to the fight that we were talking about for quite some time. Optic Gaming now helping out. The rotate, you would say, maybe coming in from Dojo. Alliance also involved in this fight. This is a 4-team fight for supremacy of the northern side of this zone. But even when this fight finishes, there's going to be more work to do. Dojo now getting swung on. Alliance, they smell KP in the water. They're doing a huge amount of damage.
Strafing Flame and company look like they're getting
Effect picks up the
to the side too.
And Effect
Dojo's out, damn.
will take down the remaining members of the Dojo.
So well played by
Alliance. Oh, now they're gonna annoy
They
Blackhand.
dive above them when Dojo are challenging TSM. But as soon as
leave my boys alone!
As soon as they saw an opening, Alliance made sure they swung together, and now they have this northeast side. But Blackhand is the next team in their way.
Bro, player K has 1 HP and a dream, dog.
Going down on the northern side of zone. NRG have fallen. Blackhand still alive though. But Alliance are starting to push up onto them a little bit through these smokes. But Easy Flash, he's got a Digi. He's got a full auto Prowler, and I say, not really too worried about you pushing through this smoke, but you've got to worry about Effect.
Effect's getting shot from behind though.
An angle taken by Effect, that could have been the difference maker, but the turnaround again from Blackhand to force him off the high ground.
30 seconds, this fight has to be done.
Oh, bro.
That means Alliance have to be aggressive here, Dan. They have to push now.
Well, Optic Gaming still have one player who survived the scrap with Blackhand, who could be a nuisance in this engagement too. Moist Esports hold that eastern side, but LG Chivas should be able to do a lot of damage from their position on all
and they're more close to like where the zone is, so they've done a good job placing themselves in a better position. They just have to worry that nobody else is going to be shooting out towards them, man. There's 13 teams still left.
3-5 getting sent on right now, and it's Sentinels who are trying to take him down off that height. They will be eliminated. Sentinels extremely clean in that fight, but the problem is there's so many teams involved in this zone.
That zone hurts too much.
In this area at Gale Station, the third parties, other eyes are going to be on these fights, and Sentinels just found that out.
Well, our observers
they get a full reset on that?
All the action here, because on both the north and the west side, there are about 3 fights happening at the same time. Alliance now use that Dark Veil to try and get a little bit of cover so that they can walk down, but Blackhand are retreating at the same time because LG Chivas are still applying pressure from the building.
And LG, they also have a Kraber as well. I saw that in the kill feed momentarily, which makes the push even more difficult. 12 seconds till that zone closes. And speaking of Kraber, it's going to be Nizel who has it, looking through the smoke, looking for some skulls.
Yeah, he says my Kraber might not be able to see through, but my Bolt with a Digi-Threat certainly can. All the meanwhile,
and Blackhand getting squeezed out.
Now, with Easy Flash, remaining will get wiped out. Realize also fall, as do Alliance.
I think Blackhand picked up a couple of those kills though, still, right?
Realize still alive, excuse me.
A lot of KP to realize here after winning that fight over at Barometer.
Still though, able to get up to 10th as well.
They will be at the northern side of this zone. LG still holding down the armory for now. Moist Esports have moved into zone. The only 2 teams who are in zone at the moment, Tom Youngkung and Moist Esports. This is what's happening elsewhere. This is the remnants of Gale Station, and the teams that are trying to leave don't stand still when there's a Kraber about.
So LG Chivas still in a pretty good position here, but they are being watched by Moist. If we see one of these Kraber shots connect, it might just give enough coverage for LG Chivas to potentially push up. So we have 8 squads left as Team Singularity get eliminated. Exet are a solo at the moment. and might be able to rat their way into a top 5, Fun being the last remaining player over there. On the west side, you've got FaZe, Dark Zero, and Realize, all in very close proximity. Now, FaZe have been here for quite some time. The
Damn.
down.
Holy shit.
Don't turn your back on Jim
DZ
Burn.
just.
It's as simple as that. FaZe destroyed by Dark Zero, but now they're finding out that this is a tough situation to escape from. Zaniel doing his best job here for Sentinels. They're into the top 7, but can he find an island? There's a solo in front of him as we move over to Realize who clean up Dark Zero. Sentinels also full.
Exit also still alive and were able to clean up those final pieces of Sentinels. So,
Oh, he's still in
solo
too.
on Exit. Realize moving from the
Tom
western
Young
side.
Kung's still
LG
in as
Chivas
well.
will hold the north, whilst Moist and Tom Young Kung will be on the eastern side next to the one building that's left. And Realize have had a game here. Looking so confident at the moment, the Bloodhound just giving them that extra info and allowing them to get those survey beacons throughout this game.
But how do you move across the open water with Tom Young Kung, LG, and Moist all looking at you? We were
Honestly, these are the type of
LG
games
went
that
under the
Moist,
radar
that like
in the group stages.
Moist
They were
used
so
to win as
consistent with
Team
their
Burger,
points.
right? Like
But
to
they
win
didn't
with
really
like
have
4
any
kills.
zones to call home that they could pick up a big win, where maybe this is going to be the one down.
And that could be the difference. Sometimes if you haven't got that Dark Veil to allow you to cross, you are just going to be peppered by everyone else on the map. Exet get taken down. One member of Realize survives, so realistically, we're looking at Tom Young Kung, Moist, and LG Chivas to win match number 3 here. So Tom Young Kung hold the southeastern side. Moist, though, they've been having so much presence on the top of this rock right now.
They just get to
Moist have
chill.
the height advantage in this final fight.
Because most teams aren't going to push on them since they would be pushing into height. But they are one of the teams that has to move sooner is the only tough part.
Pre-aiming at the moment in the cannon, they might have the cover last. And Tom Young Kung are trying to swing a little bit out here, and Moist have got to be careful with their left-hand side.
Well, Moist have got the Rolling Thunder and Black Hole to work with as we get towards this final circle as well. It's about making sure it drops at the right time. The same could be said for LG Chivas. The exact same composition. Rolling Thunder available for them too.
Let's check out this area.
But that Kraber in the back pocket, if there's any bullets left in there, could be what really sets LG Chivas aside from the other two teams here. Even though Nizo at the moment, R99 in hand just in case anyone presses up on him. With the fact he's not switching it out on set, that makes me think that maybe he might be out of bullets.
Also thinking that maybe if you miss the shot, the time it takes to switch over is guaranteed damage for the R9. Also the Digi-threat, of course, is going to be there, and knowing that Bangalore's are heavy in this lobby, you want to be able to do damage as soon as physically possible, but the zone is going to force our teams together now. Moist still holding this rock for as long as they physically can. Fussy does have that Black Veil available, and the Dark Veil, excuse me, and you have to wonder.
Oh, 2 bullets.
If it's the best catwalk that's going to win it. Oh my god, he's threaded through 3 players there, not connected with the Kraber shot.
Well, Tom Young Kung are closest to where this circle's going to be. Dark Veil's going to be massive just to cut off the vision a little bit. One more bullet left for Nizel. Could be huge for LG Chivas if he's able to connect with it. But with the Dark Veil being down at the moment, you want to put it away as the high ground is now gained by Tom Young Kung again.
No real impactful damage being done at the moment.
Everyone's trying to wait to see who's going to take the fight. Yeah.
Because they know if they were the ones who engage or get pushed themselves, then it's going to be an opportunity for the other team to push.
Oh, big push by Fussy!
Fussy the Catalyst steps through the wall and says it's time for us to step our game up. Look for some KP and look for this stuff.
Waltzy's like almost dead though.
So much damage as well. Fussy in the sky, the last real threat here for Moist.
3 squads still remaining, but LG still as a 4-3. This should be an LG Chivas win here. It will be. LG finally get a zone that pulls their way, and they make the most of it.
And not even finally pulls their way, but they finally have a ring console as well. Game 2, they just didn't have that information, and it really does show how much it can affect you.
I mean,
if you don't get into one of those early spots in a lobby like
it's a Gale Station ending and they drop fish farms. That's one of those games, again, you have to capitalize when you get zones like that. That's what they did. That's big.
They had eyes on the likes of TSM, the likes of Dojo who are arriving, Blackhand as well later on. And they were just applying that extra little bit of pressure and making sure that no one was going to take the northern side from them.
I think they're just their positioning in that end game was what won them it. They knew that the other 2 teams were going to be forced down from the height, and they would be able to get some pretty free shots and be able to close things out. As the boys from Mexico,
so that does mean
representing
though,
once again here on the ALGS main stage.
And LG Chivas getting back to their Storm Point form. I remember back at
Now
Luminosity were Storm Point. They were everything about Storm Point, and they have held fish farms for the longest of time. So when the circle comes even remotely close to it, you've got to expect them to be able to do the damage. But they do like pushing out of fish farms a little bit. They like to get aggressive. They like to just build up those shields with an initial fight. But they knew where they needed to hold in those final moments. A very impressive victory for them to send them up the leaderboards into the top 6.
Well, LG Chivas are the team who are celebrating right now after winning our previous game. It's time for us to take a little break here, Dan, and to do so, we're going to send it back to very handsome people on the desk.
Nice, nice, very handsome people. I see how you saved yourself there. Didn't know who'd be up here, but I tell you what, I am. It is the halftime analysis presented by PlayStation Tournaments, and I'm not alone. Welcome everybody back to the desk. My name is Rainy. I'm joined here with a new crew, Zephyr, of course, Glitter Explosion, and Bullet, to talk about what's unfolded after 3 in our winners final. Zephyr, I mean, it started strong. Rocky for a few teams. It was all black hand game 1, but it started strong. I think everyone's shown a little bit of themselves after 3.
That's exactly what I was about to bring up. It's the fact that everyone has had the opportunity to shine in some way or form, which is surprising in such a heavy-hitting lobby.
Yeah, and one thing that Bullet, we always like to talk about is how that final zone helped one team to shine a little bit more than the others. This time, it was LG Chivas. Walk us through, because that 3-team stand at the very end didn't necessarily demand that it went the way of LG, but they're such a good team fighting squad. Help us break down that final zone.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree more with you there. You know, LG coming from a seemingly worse position. You know, you have Moist up on the rock, and then you also have like TYK sitting on the other rock, almost coexisting, and LG just sitting here with pretty limited space.
Yeah, but able to put enough pressure on both sides to force them into one another.
They're using the cannon as effectively as they can.
Yeah.
You know, they're biding their time. They're trying to do as much damage and stall, because they know as soon as those catalyst walls go down, everyone has to fight. And you can just see them sitting here, putting pressure, and then they use their utility. Look, their wall goes out, and they have this whole side of the map to themselves. And now the other 2 teams are just fighting each other.
And what was really solid about their ability to wait until everybody else's Dark Veil was out and then put theirs last was that it forced Moist and TYK onto each other first. So by the time LG takes the skies to deal some damage, both of those teams have already been shredded, so it's mostly just cleanup at this point. You can see how long they were able to stay up high, avoid all of that engagement, and clean this one up so easily. 3 full red shields at the disposal of LG. I mean, they could not have played this any more perfectly.
I don't know if Niazul was trying to copy MT's 720 there. I think he was looking for the opportunity. Everyone was already dead, though. You guys did that well. LG Chivas take the win with 21 overall points, a very decent showing. 9 kills as well. We know this team can play. Big shout out, though, to Realize. 18 points off of 13 kills in a 5th place. That is a strong showing from a team that maybe we haven't talked enough about.
It's especially better given the fact that Realize is starting off today on Stormpoint completely contested by Oxygen, and in most scenarios have actually won out on that exchange, and as a result have pushed them to the top.
Lauren, obviously Optic Gaming, you picked Dreamfire. They won a game. They didn't get it done here. Obviously 1 point, but those are things that can happen if you do have yourself a win. You can kind of survive with some of these bad games, but you can't have too many more.
No, you can't, but they've done a really good job of, even when they're not getting that win, they're at least keeping themselves consistent. The first performance for Dreamfire, at least getting themselves 3 kills and an 8th place finish. I talked about Dreamfire as my team to watch, but also picked Blackhand in my predictions, and like you said earlier, Rain, they came out the gate, 14 kills, game number 1. They've turned on their aggression here.
Well, let's take a look at the series results after 3, because Blackhand, Dreamfire, they will be in the mix. 26 and 24 points. It is Sentinels, though, that maybe has shocked us with their blazing start. Bullet, we know that RKN has taken on the challenge. He's been challenged. He's risen to it and gotten his team to winners finals. Now he's leading the winners group, and not just with any team, with Zenial from SSG finding his way there, and with Koifel, who's 17. Talk about Sentinel's performance right now.
Look, they are on fire at the moment. You know, I absolutely love that roster. RKN, such an experienced IGL. You know, this is so important for them. They really need this momentum to get themselves into finals and just have a really smooth performance here.
Well, you know, they have been doing extremely well. And honestly, when you look at teams who haven't been doing well, I heard a Tisk. Who was the Tisk? Was that you, Zephyr? What are you seeing here?
Well, it's Pretty obvious, it's the elephant in the room, down in 15th place. TSM, the roughest of starts, you'd say, after 3 games there. But hey, not even just that. The Legends of EMEA that made it to the winners bracket, both suffering in the bottom 3.
Well, the story of Alliance as well, having the ability to come here, play without effect, their star, their young gunner, who in Split 2 made it look so simple. They get him back after a day or 2 of issues here to play, but it is not shown that they have actually figured it out in this winner's bracket. 2 teams, though, on both sides of those spectrums. Sentinels having figured it out in first place. Oxygen, a team that hasn't quite figured it out yet, at least in this winner's bracket. I want to get a thought from you, Lauren, about Oxygen. Obviously, Vayne, he's won a championship before in 2021. They have the skills. Maybe it's just a matter of warming up, and maybe it's a matter of switching maps, which we will be doing after our next game.
Yeah, you know, I think we definitely had high expectations from after we saw their performance in the Split 2 playoffs, but you mentioned it, Zephyr, they're dealing with that contest here, and that could be really throwing them off of their game right now. The map switch might be what they need.
Well, Bullet, let's take a look at some of the clips
Where
that
are they
we've
dropping?
kind of gathered around Oxygen's performance, because we know they have family in the building. We know that they've got representation. They're a team in North America. Many consider, if it's not TSM, if it's not Dark Zero, one of the potential winners. Walk me through some of these clips as to what's either working for them or what's not working in these
They're
fights.
dropping what, lava?
For sure. Like the way that
Siphon?
Oxygen have approached this, you know, considering they're
Is that right?
contested by Realize, such an amazing team, you know, it's
Launch set,
pretty difficult to find your footing.
Lava
and
Siphon
just,
is
you know,
TSM.
Start pushing and just doing damage, and you know.
You gotta worry about
a
IBG
bit
and
of
Ascend next to them and Tom Young.
good momentum, you know,
I don't
just to
know,
start
man.
the games off. And you can see here they're contested. The way that Realize play is very
it's
different
LG.
to how most teams
I'm an
would
idiot.
approach this
Over at
contest in
Mirage
North
Etoile.
America. You know,
Although they are
Realize
next
is
to
a team
NRG,
from
Dreamfire.
APAC North. They
Ugh,
have
I
such
don't
a
know.
different approach to the game. The way that they approach their team fights, 3 very mechanical players, and I think Oxygen are trying to find their footing.
What is that difference, though? I mean, quickly, just for those watching at home, is it the pace of how Realize is taking the fight that maybe is catching Oxygen off guard a little slower or a little bit more in unison in how they approach it?
I think Realize have a good approach in terms of they have 3 mechanical players and they understand where the weaknesses lie. They're able to kind of duck and hide, and then they're able to poke up and just do damage, you know?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it honestly is just that, and very well put, but also very simply, you just do more damage than the other team. We'll see if that continues to be a problem. Obviously, switching maps.
All right, so what they're
in
gonna
just
do?
a few games. We'll see if that
A break
continues
before
as well,
going to game
and if somebody
4?
else
Or are they
is
just gonna hand it right back to
esports? However, I do want to tell you that there's challenges of plenty. Maybe not just playing Apex, but maybe playing Apex in a different way. That's right. Before we go to break, we want to introduce something that for fans of gaming should be very excited to see, and it's a new way to enjoy Apex with friends and family. Take a look.
The board game, huh? Huh. Huh. I don't know. Probably not for me. Maybe for someone else, but that looks pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna go refill my water real quick, chat, before we get ready to drop into this next line.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back once more to Birmingham, everyone. Welcome back to the ALGS Championships, and we have one more game of Stormpoint to get through before we change maps and head over to World's Edge in our winners bracket finals. It's been a pretty crazy ride so far in our first 3 games down, with multiple winners and some surprises along the way.
Yeah, LG Chivas taking our last match there to send themselves up into the top 10, into 6th place actually, but it is still Sentinels who hold that first position after 3 matches, and of course they had a victory as well. But a lot of kind of different variety we've seen in zones, a lot of difficult rotations for several squads. I think that one team in particular that has struggled is Alliance, coming from the northeast. It hasn't been fun zones for them at all, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And what you expect, if you are going to play an Edge POI like that, you know you're going to be having a long journey.
Yeah, it's very, very true. We'll have to see what zone we are gifted here in our final match on Stormpoint. And it's almost as if we always talk about this confidence and, you know, you start to get comfortable on a map and then all of a sudden it's whisked away from you and you find yourself on World's Edge. For some teams, I'm sure that's going to be a smile on their faces, Dan, because we know historically some are better on other maps than others. So we'll have to see if that is going to be the case as we head into Legend Selects now. But also another thing to keep in mind, Dan, games are starting to trickle away now. That's 3 already in the history books. And even though, yes, we have this one ahead of us and 4 games still on World's Edge,
some teams are starting to pull away.
The opportunity for points starts to disappear.
We did see a couple of changes in the last game. I think that Fun switched off of Fuse from Xset and onto Horizon, and then Xset were able to get into the latter stages. It does seem like people are really seeing the significance and the importance of Horizon, especially on Stormpoint for that elevation. Fuse, even though on the World's Edge meta is very important, I think Horizon, just for fighting in general, is such a
Horizon gives you so much value
to have in your composition.
On both maps, really, but especially Stormpoint.
Well, here we go then, everyone. The last game on Stormpoint before we change things up a little bit and head over to World's Edge. The winners bracket has not disappointed so far. And I think the real thing that summarizes that for me, Dan, is the standings and just how close it is.
And also just the 3 different winners, and also a lot of late games that have featured several different teams. A lot of our consistent squads that we saw throughout group stages have yet to get going. At the moment, at the bottom, Alliance, SAF, Ascend, Singularity, FaZe, and TSM. We've yet to see a big
names down there, though, too.
But the top boys, Sentinels, they are holding strong on 31 points. They are 5 ahead of Blackhand on 26. I tell you who have been performing well, Realize. But now we get back to our contest happening down towards Barometer.
Last time was Oxygen who fell. This time they're looking to get aggro. Aiden's going to be queuing up to the ultimate of all ultimate high grounds here. To give Vayne just enough time to get a little bit of healing done. For now, though, it's a battle of the ultimate high ground. You can see it's a pod and a proc, and nobody really wants to be the first one to be aggressive in this situation. And why would you? It's one thing about contest, you don't know what weapons your opponent's holding as well. If you slide across here and someone's got a PK, hits you for 100 plus, that is dreadful.
Turn the corner into a double wingman shot.
You can see Karapu trying to desperately assist the team, but Obley gets the opener, and it's a 3 versus 2 now.
Obley's still alive as well, can wait for the help to come in. Vayne goes down, Reed's left on his own. It's a 1v2, but Oxygen Esports will be eliminated.
Out.
So 2 games in a row now.
Damn.
The contest has been won heavily by Realize. There's a smile on their faces as well, a little bit of a celebration. I saw a little bit of a fist in the air there. That's usually a good sign.
And it'll be a bigger smile when Realize where the zone is going to go as well. 2nd place overall at the moment, even though they're contesting a Barometer.
What up, Mac?
Very
What do you mean by
from what they've been able to
join
achieve.
here?
Now,
I mean, you're able to
looks like we're
vibe out here with me, if that's
quite
what
a
you mean.
similar zone. Down towards Antenna and close towards Gale Station as well. It's not going to be as further
cool with that.
southeast, but LG Chivas, they do have.
I'm letting you
no,
though it is a shorter watch party day for me.
In, and we're going to see the same
this
rotation
Bowman's got
from Dreamfight
teeball here
see
in
on that southwest
2
side
hours.
because they had ring console again. Dark Zero do not have one this time, so they're not going to be able to move as quickly, or do they? They might have one. No, that's a survey beacon, right? Yeah, survey beacon. So no ring console for Dark Zero. They're not going to have that early move potential this time.
Blackhand already lost Strafing Flame. Gonna have to get him back in the game for now. So a little bit of a change of plans for them, but I mean...
No worries there. Who you rooting for? Who do you want to see
here,
advance to grands out of this lobby?
Much to the grievance, I would imagine, of Alliance, Blackhand, etc. Although Alliance did get that first knock. Starfight Esports, tough move for them as well, and Alliance decide, hey, Let's rest the muscles for a few minutes.
Does that mean Black Hand's a duo?
Let's see if we can find our way a little bit more south.
I mean, actually, the rotations from the majority of the teams are pretty similar.
Identical.
It's only those who now don't have the ring console or now do have the ring console that have to kind of change it up. LG Chivas, the previous winners of a zone very close to this, as they can rotate.
Nice. Me too. Me too.
They didn't actually have a ring console this time, but they just moved naturally.
I'm trying to tell people about the Player K Strafing Flame duo all season, man. I'm really happy to see. Yo, Strafing's been calling a phenomenal tournament so far.
Enough distance between the two teams to
great zone calls. Their fights have been really strong.
About hitting a second evac tower, which would be
I'm really happy to see them getting their.
With the time that has already.
I knew when they got Player K.
Into the zone, and this is kind of a blind
I felt bad
right?
for Bugie, but when you got Player K back together with Strafing Flame, you knew they were going to do something this tournament.
There are a few squads who have been able to move a lot quicker than they did in the previous. TSM have moved much faster, but they find themselves in command center again. It might be the evac tower that you were speaking of, but SAF could potentially hold them up a little bit. Exet moved really quickly as well down towards the southern side, and Blackhand have moved slightly faster too. So this is what we were mentioning earlier. When you have somewhat similar rings, you do learn the patterns that emerge from other teams, and you try and beat them into certain areas of the map.
Very interesting.
I don't see too many Valkyrie face ults still these days.
Historically, the TSM love to hit an evac tower and do exactly what Start a Fight are doing right now. They're, instead of using the evac tower, going to have the Skyward Dive and the Valkyrie. But that's going to slow down TSM's rotation. They left command center. They were like, you know what? You can have this for now. It's not worth the risk. But I'm pretty sure they'll be
they're trying to go all the way south
soon, and I think they've popped it already as they head down south. So for TSM, a little bit of a hold up on their rotate. That's going to hurt.
And SAF kind of flying blind at the moment as well. They don't have that ring information, so they're just going to have to play off of what is available and what they learn from the ultimate from Valkyrie here.
At North Pad right
all
now.
that passive information, they have been able to spot
Is someone
out
trying to craft banners?
And will probably land into an engagement.
Yeah, it's going to be Blackhand who's above them. You saw them on the crafter. For now, though, they're just going to be kind of bunkering up, getting those fences down. A few smokes will keep them alive for now, but Tommy and Kung are also coming to have a little look at this.
I think they're crafting banners, right?
Speedily heading down south as well, and if they hear this commotion,
oh, they can't. They don't have a.
Have a little go at this themselves.
That's right. They don't have a.
Understandably, are going to retreat here. Strafing Flame couldn't get that banner, couldn't get him back into the game, so it's a duo who are going to have to see this out for Blackhand.
They'll be alright though. I mean, at this point, you just gotta wait.
As well, as LG Chivas now looking to try and get involved after seeing that damage, and the car through with the digi threat. Jaguar is trying to do what he can.
Exit out early again.
Squads now remaining, and just as it was in the previous match on set, this is so difficult to hold any of these buildings because teams are trying to arrive as early as possible. And once
Exit was like just on the outside of the bubble going into game 4 too.
I mean, the crazy thing is, right, you always feel in games there's one big fight for each team on this kind of zone. If you win it, cool, you have somewhere to play for the rest of the game. If you lose it, it's game over. You know, you're falling out in the top 7, 8 teams, but you kind of have to roll that dice a little bit. It becomes more and more difficult as the game goes on, of course, as people will get a little bit more loot, a little bit more ticks on those Evo shields to make them a much more difficult kill, but Dark Zero now trying to move their way up to the top of the hill, overlooking Gale Station for now.
We haven't seen Dark Zero really have one of those games, right? We've not seen them at their very best just yet, but they're still making their way in again with the Dark Fails. Now Team Singularity, the next team in the building.
Oh, they're going to be taken down here as Sentinel's trying to hold strong for now. Koifel did fall, but the Dark Veil will keep him alive as the Noxa exchange for now. Sentinels hold their building, and these are the kind of fights I'm talking about. But now there's going to be a swing from elsewhere.
Revved up Rampage though, let that baby bang.
Revved up Rampage has almost got the perfect weapon for this position, for this distance, just to hold teams back.
Really shows how important Catalyst is in every single composition as well, just to delay those fights as Sweet almost goes down. Jen Burton is low too.
NRG and Dark Zero
struggling to make their rotation here, and will now meet, but Sweet back up on his feet, back with full shields, and Nathan taking down Zainu. Jen Burton falls, NRG shutting down the majority of Dark Zero.
Well, NRG starting to show a little bit of the fear factor that we expect from them whenever we mention their name, taking down Dark Zero in that 3v3. But now they have to try and hold this off, and oh no! Big damage about to come in as Iron Blood Gaming make their move. Nathan has been taken down. There's another one. NRG ALG, having looked good in the first 3v3, couldn't reset in time to deal with Iron Blood Gaming.
It's the same again on this western side.
All right, Tom Young coming over here with the send.
You just can't find your way through, and as soon as you step out of place, there's someone there to drill
Good
you in
black
the back.
hole.
There's now a send, also in trouble. Post-kill and Kajira, the last remaining two. With
Tom Young Kung, I think, are a 3 up here, right? 3v2? No, it's 2v2.
Tom Young Kung getting into this engagement now.
Killer Pose trying to move in to help out his teammate Way here to clean up the damage that's been done on this fight. But there's an L-Star in front of him, and that's going to hurt. And
that's a great nade, but TSM's going to come up and make sure neither of these teams make it out.
Not just Imperial, how is TSM who are looking to come in and clean up the damage here.
Ascend's out first, but yeah.
Down. Wombo combo initiated. Cleaning up the downs is the first job here for TSM, but can they find this final KP?
Well, look how much further south TSM have found themselves as we get into a match pause here, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure all players are going to be ready.
Get to try and do the countdown thing again.
We do get to do a countdown.
Winner's bracket, by the way.
Yeah, it was disappointing the first time. Next time is going to be better. I believe in you all when that does get going. But Circle, very similar to what we had in the previous. But what I was saying before we had the pause, TSM have moved so much faster. Remember how they were being held out by the likes of Blackhand, by the likes of Dojo, who then pushed them? That's not going to be the case this time. Instead, they have just got so much more room to play with on this kind of eastern side.
If they can take control of that God Rock as they move up as well, there might be an opportunity to third party someone in Gale Station later for them. But the teams who have made that quick rotate, you've got Optic on the south side. DarkZero is still alive, by the way. They weren't fully taken down. Teams who have got a long way to go, though. Dojo, they are a long way off this zone for now.
And that's the difference, right, with being able to move that extra little bit faster. Now, Dojo probably won't go for the same rotation they did in the previous game, where they did fly all the way over to the east and then head south. I imagine they'll probably stick to the western side, because you can get into Antenna and be comfortable in Antenna and then hope that the commotion starts down towards Gale Station, and then you get involved with the fights.
These pauses are tough,
well,
bro.
there is our good friend, our close friend, Ratio.
We do know him well.
Here for Japan, bro. If they don't do at least one Pacific event.
He's handsome as ever. Realize feeling very good about their performance so far, by the way. 27 points overall.
As they should.
I mean, it's been great from them.
Having to contest, at one point it was 3 teams that was down towards Barometer, and Realize have been able to hold strong. Ladies and gents, it's time. The countdown is close to beginning. And you were poor before, but I believe in you all.
Shots fired.
That
That's not a good way to get everyone involved.
When the game does resume. I'll tell you what.
See, Roy just took the pressure off our shoulders.
He really did, because the countdown didn't start when I thought it was going to, so now I just look like an idiot. That's fine.
That's fine.
Everything's fine.
There's a lot of suspense.
Soon, everyone.
There's a lot of suspense
I can
in the
feel
arena.
the suspense in the room.
All right, players are starting to get locked in. They've just got the call from the admins that the game is
they're
close
given a
to
30-second head
Now,
start.
this is, you know, having the pause feature excellent in Apex Legends, so that we can make sure everyone has everything ready to go. All tech is
Even
good.
though
Hey,
ALGS only gives us a 10.
I knew you wouldn't let me down,
I love it. I love it.
I knew you wouldn't let me down. We're into the game, and TSM still on the hunt.
So TSM able to shut down 2 of the 3. Just having a little look to see whether that last remaining player of Tom Young Kung would be lingering like a bad smell, but Wei is able to escape. For now, we've seen Rats can get into the final circles. They can survive and get those extra placement points, which could be the
there's no Seer here, no Bloodhound. How would they know?
Elimination bracket when it comes around.
You're also seeing the huge benefit of TSM
They have no
taking this fight,
like
cleaning this up so
reason to
effectively,
guess
They have
one
loot
way
to
or
pick up
another,
now.
right?
They can fight
Like,
their way in more effectively
just kinda
with
chill.
some leveled up Evo shields.
Yo, what
with
up,
a little
Daniel?
more damage than would have been done previously.
How
They
you
give
doing,
themselves
buddy?
at least the inventory to
Who you
have
pulling
a
for?
fighting chance in some of these battles they're going to
Who do you
have
wanna
to take
see,
elsewhere.
advance
Team
the Grands?
Singularity dead center of zone at the moment in a great spot here, Dan.
Well, Dojo, we spoke about what their journey might look like. And it is going to be a Trident from the north and probably down towards Antenna as expected. Really depends on where they get any sort of grief. It's Alliance who were holding them out slightly. It's now DarkZero back up to 3 from the drop
Anyone?
ship.
I feel it. I love it.
There is still life. DarkZero just doing DarkZero things, but they've been spotted
Just
out.
like watching good
they are still alive, and now if any
Apex.
team can win it from this position,
Feels.
it would be DarkZero. Somehow they get the res.
So you got DarkZero,
back in the game.
Moist, and FaZe all here.
And I tell you what,
Yo,
they've
what
got
up,
enough
Mike?
bullets to share about them. They will still be a problem in this final game on Stormpoint.
Big game for Blackhand. Game number 1, 14 kills, even though they finished in 5th.
Probably know
Sentinel's looking really good out of NA right now. Realize right behind the two of them in third. Might have even passed up Black Can potentially based off their KP this game. Dreamfire 1-1.
Be careful here and make sure they are watching their back, because if Dojo decides
and LG won game 3.
we might see an engagement happening, but SAF are now ahead of
TSM struggling, FaZe struggling, Alliance has not gotten
Dojo are having
but
a
5
thought
points.
process here that maybe
So
we can get behind a few of these teams unexpectedly.
That zone is going to really start to sting, though. You can see already Designful having to use medkits just to move forward another 30 feet or so. They do have a little crevice and a little kind of pocket here, which isn't going to be taking ring damage, but they then have to go either wrap around the mountain, or if they've got an evac tower, see if they can get over the top of it. Alliance have moved away from that position now, so Dojo should be able to wrap. But it's not just Alliance in the position that they found themselves having to move through. It's also Starter Fight who are holding down this choke.
Yeah, then TSM further than that, and then if you manage to get past those two teams, suddenly you're walking into everyone who is at Gale Station. And by the way, the amount of playable area in this final circle is very small. There are only going to be about maybe enough space for 3 teams when we get past round 5. So that means all the squads that are on the far southern tip of Gale Station.
TSM fans are complaining on social media because it's been all southern zones.
We might see a
Not like that hasn't been the trend all season on Stormpoint or anything.
Rivals try and force their way in a little bit.
It's their fault for continuing to drop.
So many teams at the moment on set who are hunkered down over towards the
Wall,
northern
if you
side
ask
of
me.
Gale Station. And there's only, what, 2 buildings that are going to be inside of it? 60% of that final circle is going to be covered by the mountain.
This is really interesting here. Starter Fight are going to have to be careful of not just the team wrapping behind them, which was the Dojo. Blackhand also, by the way, still in this game, moving from Launchpad. But TSM are having a look at them as well, so that we might see Starter Fight find themselves pinched between multiple teams elsewhere.
Dreamfire's already made their way over to that big old...
And Team Singularity and LG, Iron Blood, they're the 3 teams who hold those buildings you were talking about.
Looking here for supplies.
So the Dojo is still making their move.
They're in an evac tower out, smart.
Dojo have to use an evac
Start a
tower.
fight, it's going to try and Valkyrie feed and not feed FaZe.
Trying to hide behind whatever coverage is available to them. Smokes go down as well as the palm trees means that they should be able to survive for a little bit.
Oh, they've got the Watson though. Gen makes sense. Yeah.
But look at where all these squads are going to try and end up, and look at how much of the mountain is going to take up that circle.
Sheesh.
LG Chiefas, Singularity, and Iron Blood Gaming.
Yeah, TSM's going to have to worry about their ass side.
Spidey sense here from Hal. He turns around at just the right time because he knows that something was up. He hadn't seen the Dojo for quite some time.
Big E down early though.
Once again, almost.
Oh.
A mirror of what we saw in that previous game. The
Black Can eliminated.
TSM. The question is, will the result be the same? It's Timmy on his own.
Timmy.
Oh! TSM will stay alive. As Reps will have the gold knock as well, but can he stick this? Can he get his team back on the battlefield?
Trying. Oh, Verholz stuff.
TSM get their revenge onto the Dojo. They hold strong, but start a fight.
Imperial House going to go down though.
TSM now down to just a 2. And they have to try and play this one without Hal. Do have his banner. There is always the possibility of getting back in, just as Darkseer had done. Start a fight and now being griefed by LG.
Yeah, I was about to say, TSM are going, thank you so much, LG. Because they want to try and take them out, but did they take the Gen out
To be
first?
fair, these zones have not been very friendly to Black Can either. They kind of got lucky. They got their one, well, not lucky, but like they had their one pop off game that they needed.
have to retreat to this building. You cannot afford to give it up.
LG stepped out to look at TSM and SEF, and FaZe came in as Optic get wiped in 14th position. As now this prime real estate.
So FaZe and LG about to fight, or are they going to actually coexist over here?
Occupy it with you, as you've got some unfriendly neighbors now taking the building above you.
FaZe on the top floor, LG on the bottom. Starfight's still alive, by the way. TSM still alive. Both of them will have to move, though, as the zone starts to squeeze them towards each other. And hey, Dreamfire as well, making their move towards zone, but they've got to go through these buildings too.
Only 4 squads of these 13 are in this next circle, so we're about to lose about 7 teams as they try and break through. TSM back to a full 3, by the way, and back shredding. House back on his feet, and Verholz with the car, making sure that he helps the rest of the team. SAF go down.
Start a fight. SAF find out what Big E really feels like as TSM are back in this game. Imperial Hal returning to the battlefield at just the right time. They somehow managed to find a way to get him back in, but they still have work to do here. Tom Young-Kung eliminated.
Boys are going to have to move on this eventually.
Inside of one of those buildings, but they'll be looking ahead right now thinking, how do we get out of here?
Well, here comes the kill feed.
It's really crazy to think that TSM was allowed to get a full freaking reset, bro. That's wild to me.
The south as Dark Zero do go down. Now here's what I was talking about, Alliance.
Look at this wrap.
Alliance's biggest struggle right now is just the zone.
Look at this wrap coming in from Alliance. Oh, this is going to be the worst kind of surprise.
They don't
Take the
see
time to
them.
heal instead. I think that's smart.
Oh my goodness, that's Realize. This is Realize in a fight with Dreamfire.
I'm so surprised Alliance have been able to get away with that. It's Realize and Dreamfire that are ahead of them, and they have no idea. Now they have an idea.
They're about to find out in the worst possible way. Yeah, they're about to find out in the worst possible way as Hackis picks up that first kill, and Alliance now move forward.
We're able to get one. Realize in a position where Dreamfire were griefing them, but Alliance were able to then help out as they work together. All the meanwhile, on that eastern side, TSM still alive. LG Chivas hold the building alongside FaZe.
Realize still a duo?
And then the building just below that, we have Ironblood Gaming, Singularity, Moist,
Does
and
Alliance?
Sentinels.
Alliance has to know
Dreamfire
Dreamfire's still there, right?
Alliance with the high ground, and they might be able to actually move in late here and do a real amount of damage. What a spray that is from Hackis.
That's big entry from Hackis there.
But it's not enough to get that first knock. Dreamfire will survive and be able to heal here.
And this is a smart fight from Alliance. You can't allow a team that's so close to you here when the zone's pushing this way to just stay alive. As the aggression now starts to come through from both sides as they begin to believe.
Dreamfire just might win this fight,
Black hole
dog.
does go down from Dreamfire. They're throwing utility at this, but there is the cat wall as well. Roy's going to try and swing wide on this. It's replied to with a Bangalore ultimate, which is going to force them to retreat back. But the one difference here is Dreamfire have this head glitch. They can poke and they can prod without really fully exposing themselves. Someone's going to have to step up for Alliance here and take the brunt of damage.
10 squads left, only 2 in the next
Ooh,
circle.
they tried to stick
him.
him.
To have a really fun time and trying to get into it as Effect shows
And Effect
why. He's one
did
of the
exactly what they asked for right there.
He continues to help the Alliance take down the members of Dreamfire here.
Hittable 4 and Effect will get the shield swap. Hackis has moved up. And I tell you what, Alliance have found a safe position here as well.
It's a good spot for Alliance.
Starts to feel in that groove.
Meanwhile, FaZe, Sentinels, LG Chivas, Singularity, Ironblood, Moist, they're all scrapping on this eastern southern side as Moist go up into the skies to try and avoid the sight lines. And it's worked well for YoBoyCue, but Fussy's fallen.
Alliance now
especially
finding
because
a
Alliance
to
above
work
you.
with as well, and Alliance and Hackis.
Oh my
A
god!
little bit of fun right here. Lots of damage coming in from the care package weapon. Dreamfire gone, Moist gone.
Oh my god!
All been going down to Hackis in a few seconds.
Sentinels as well, Ironblood and Realize all 4, which leaves us with 4. TSM, LG Chivas, Alliance now our last 3 teams, and TSM starting to push on in towards LG Chivas.
Oh, but look at Hackis!
Bro,
Hackis
chill!
And those arrows are piercing skin, piercing armor, piercing shields at
My
the
boy
moment.
Legolas out here.
Well, the Dark Veil will at least give coverage, but he's still blindly firing those arrows in as TSM wiped in 4th position, but still an amazing game considering they had to get
TSM
out.
Feet. Good game
Alliance
for TSM
now
there.
hold one of the priority
Solid
positions
game
in
for
this
Alliance
zone.
too.
And you can see Effect wanted to get up close and
I
personal.
love this from Effect. I love this from Alliance. He's seeking an opportunity to spread themselves.
Big games
to
from a lot of
take
teams
the
that need him.
ultimate
FaZe
height, and
also
now
still
all of
alive.
the teams who are trapped inside that building. Effect will have the high ground on them. It looks like he's decided to back off from the position, seeing that everyone has got healthy, but I love the idea behind it, but only 8 bullets to work with, 8 arrows to work with here for Hackis. 70 going to be good, 2, 1 remaining. Can he hit big damage?
Well, this Legolas impression is about to come to its end, but what a performance from Hackis and Alliance as they now still hold this center zone. LG Chivas full. It's FaZe versus Alliance. It's a 3 versus 3 straight up.
And Hackis looks angry. Hackis looks like he wants to finish this one. But there's the swing from FaZe. Is the cover going to be there? Effect can now move in. But did he just go in a little bit too strong there, Hackis? Yuki's lost his shield as well, and it all falls on the shoulders of Effect.
Alliance stepping up when you need it, dude.
From the very most northern tip of Storm Point, Alliance worked their way all the way down to the south, taking names and bodies while they did it. They're your champions in our final game of Storm Point.
Back-to-back games where Alliance just struggled to make that rotation. They said, you know what, 3rd time's a charm. This one's going to be a little bit better. Their backsides were singed by that red. They were so close to going down just to the zone, but they were able to then creep in behind everyone and play the edge perfectly. One of our best edge teams we have left in the ALGS, with so many converting to a more zone play style, but when the zone's that far away from you, you have to play edge. And Alliance, with that victory, send themselves up into the top 4 in the overall standings.
I'm so glad that Alliance won, because I just saw one of my favorite signs I've ever seen at an ALGS event. Honk for Alliance. I don't know why it's so funny. Maybe it's just me who was tickled by it, but Alliance, what a performance. We always talk about how you have to make the most of a zone which is close to your POI. That was the complete opposite. And I've been talking about Alliance, what they've been through over the last few weeks, right? Mande coming in. Amazing from Mande what he managed to do as the substitute.
Yeah, I still don't understand, Ernie, why you don't do 2-2-2 like it's going to be in the finals.
Alliance starting to find the flow, starting to find the groove, and winning zones like that. Not many people could do that here on the main
feels
stage.
weird to allow teams who are very strong on one map or the other
It was a huge game for Alliance. The BoJack
to be able to really kind of set themselves up like that. I feel like it'd be much better done.
And pepper all those teams that were arriving. But we're starting to see a few front runners now, and the team that leads everything is Realized. The team that were being contested throughout every single match so far here on Stormpoint, but another chance to look back at Robin Hood himself. Hackis just, and this, by the way, this is so unfortunate. If you're the team on top of this building, you think you've got that protection, but he can just about see your forehead.
Hackis saying, you have my bow. Yuki saying, you have my anchor. And Effect saying, you have my R9 or car, whatever I've got in my back pocket. But essentially, the Fellowship
I
was
think that
pretty
knocked
strong for
Blackhand out of
Alliance in that
top
game.
5.
And I do love how they were trying to be aggressive as well and control so much space, even in
But they
these
still
end
should be
games. A lot
top
of teams
10.
like to play tight. They want to kind of try and death ball these final fights. But Alliance just Hackis, excuse me, laying down so much cover with this BoJack. It allowed Effect a lot of freedom to just be an annoyance for everyone else in the lobby.
Jojo had a pretty decent day.
Sprays when he took that high ground. And then in the final
Optic
moment,
had
I have to say,
a
I was
quiet
worried. Had Hackis gone a little bit too strong. But Yuki
first
and Effect
half
had his
of
back in those final moments.
Also, credit
Storm
to
point
FaZe,
for
second place for
big
them.
finishes.
They were able to steal that building away when
They had a
LG
second
Chiefs
with no
stepped
kills
out
and a
for
fourth
moment
with,
when they
I mean,
were
six
looking over
and-
towards TSM, and that still puts FaZe in a great position. They're in 8th at the moment on 24 points, so still holding one of those top 10 spots at the halfway point here in the winners bracket. But I think at this point, Alliance, when they saw 3 squads were remaining, they were confident, as you would be, being the last team to enter the fight. But you are completely right. When Hackis did full send it, there was always that slight worry. If FaZe were able to swing, take down Hackis, and not take enough damage to have one of their own players fall, they might have been able to turn it on its head. But it's the fact that Hackis did enough damage to ensure that the trade was able to be there.
Also,
That's such a huge game for Alliance, man.
In position to watch his IGL as he did slide into
They were
this
sitting
position.
at
He almost
just
got him
5
out there at
points
one
going
point,
into this
but you
game.
can see, look at the shots coming in from Effect and Yuki as well. It's not free damage for FaZe. They had to commit to it. And know that they were going to be taking
They're
damage
gonna
on
be
their way
at
down.
31
Alliance
now.
control the zone,
Sheesh.
Alliance control the game, and Alliance control the victory in our final game on Stormpoint. And boy, did they need it. And I tell you what, Alliance are going to get scarier and scarier as this tournament rolls on.
Yeah, Alliance now put themselves in a position where World's Edge, where hopefully they'll have some better zones for them, because I'd say all 4 zones were bad for Alliance there. You had a far northwest one, and
And
then
TSM in
3
bottom
down
10,
towards the
Moist
south.
in
They
bottom
had to
10,
traverse the
Exit,
entirety of the map.
Oxygen,
14 kills,
Ascend
with
doing
5k
Ascend
damage on the board
things.
for Alliance, means that they send themselves up into the top 4. They're only 4 points off first place in this group.
By the way, imagine being the last player alive and just seeing that. Just seeing those 3 looking down at
players
you,
coming
that's
towards you,
terrifying.
especially if one of them has a bow.
Yeah, exactly. That is a terrifying thing to have to try and overcome. FaZe almost managed to scrape out the win there, but it was just clean up damage. And clean up crew coming in from Effect, and it's 26 points for Alliance. A first place finish, 14 kills alongside it. But what a game from FaZe as well.
Yeah, FaZe making sure that they put themselves in the competition and in the conversation for the top 10. But Alliance, I mean, they're so close now to being in the first place position here in the winners bracket. LG Chivas again having a zone that's very good for them. TSM staying alive and staying strong with 12 points on the board. They are currently in 11th position overall. Dark Zero, it was a quiet Stormpoint comparatively to what we saw in the group stages, but they are currently the bubble team. They're in 10th position with 23 points. It has been a quiet performance for a couple of squads, but here is how the series looks after 4.
Realize on top. 35 points for them as we hit the midway mark now in our winners bracket. Sentinels.
Man, things are kind of close there when you look at what 6 through 12, 13th even.
It is so close between everybody on that leaderboard. You can jump up 10 positions with a win from wherever you find yourself. And we still have 4 games here as we move over to World's Edge to decide who are going to be those top 10 teams who go through to that grand finals.
Yeah, don't count anyone out. Even Ascend, who are currently in last place, still have a chance on World's Edge. They were being contested for a short while. They had to change their position, but that could still happen on World's Edge. There might still be a couple of teams that have to go up against each other.
Well, as Storm Point comes to a close, so does this little cast from Dan and I. When we get back though, don't go anywhere because World's Edge awaits.
All right, quick break here going into World's Edge. I wonder who they bring in to cast it. Dia Tiff, maybe? The Dia Tiff combo have been going pretty smooth on the desk. You know what combo I think would go crazy on the desk that they haven't done yet? Is the Zephyr Vicky Kitty combo. Would be pretty fun, pretty fuego, I think. All right, chat, we're halfway through. Got scores in the chat. Who do we think is moving up from the bottom half? And who falters? Right now, it's still pretty well anybody's game. Especially with it being an 8-game series.
Monster
Crazy to think that
Energy,
we're just at
the
halftime.
official energy drink of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Like, I don't even know if I would feel comfortable saying it is Tiff, so Tiff Dia.
Global Series champs. I'm Spider Tiff, this is Dia, and we are going to be
Calling
bringing
it.
you
Love it.
the second half of your winners bracket series. We're heading on over to World's
Which means
Edge.
we probably
As
get
you can see,
Vicky,
the arena is
Glitter
starting to fill up. Dia, it's going to be wild soon.
It's packed.
For
and I'm really enjoying
the
the
first
energy
half
the crowd has
of
been giving
the second
these players.
series.
It's clearly translating
And then they
into
bring the
some
boys
of the
back
best
to end
games
it.
we've had all tournament.
Yeah, it's actually been pretty wild backstage. We've been like, not necessarily hedging our bets on who our predictions will turn out or anything.
And then
of
if
that
I had to
nature.
guess, tomorrow will be
I'm
between these two and the two that just casted.
Substantial margin, but I am biased towards being right. So I'm holding my prediction in high regard, and Double Fish Farm's zone in the past map, Storm Point, has boned well. However, now that we're transitioning on over to World's Edge, as you've noted, things change pretty rapidly.
Even contests.
Even
Contests.
contests.
This is what I'm really excited about. Sometimes you do get free POIs, and a lot of teams have been changing things around. But when you start thinking
Where
about
are the
those match
contests
point
on this
finals
map?
Tomorrow, securing your specific drop spot locations
That
for
drop
that,
spot
we've
to
seen
the
so many change-ups, so many different strategies.
Ascend
and
and
it's all gonna boil down
IVG,
to it.
Sentinels,
even
and start a
World's
fight.
Edge contests were even impacting our Storm Point map. You and I spoke about this a little bit backstage, but Realize was seriously considering contesting Start a Fight when we were over on Storm Point, and because of the threat of Start a Fight reciprocating that on World's Edge, they ended up transitioning over onto contest Oxygen and ultimately hamper their performance on Storm
They were like,
Point.
hey, dog, you
Well,
can test
let's
us.
recap
We're
where we've
dropping
been,
on
where
your
we're
ass
going.
at
You've got
Epicenter.
map rotation on the screen. Match one
Like, nah,
winner,
you know what?
Sentinels RKN from
we'll go
the
back
desk.
down
Was
to
that a desk
barometer.
buff to
It's
come
all
out here?
good.
He actually qualified for champs while working at Split 2
That's
playoffs. So I'm
hilarious.
excited to see how that goes for him. But Dreamfire coming back strong in match number 2. And then LG Chivas. You know what, Dia? I know you called that immediately when you saw the zone. But then finally, Effect, Yuki, and Hackis stepping it up in the winner's bracket to win match number 4. And now they need to keep that momentum moving forward towards World's Edge.
And that was after a pretty scuffed game for Alliance as well. Their rotation took them straight into Antenna where they had planned to evac tower over into Fish Farms, and that didn't work out. The evac tower betrayed them, and they had to walk around tanking a bit of zone. Quick adaptations to a game plan like that are hard to come by, and many would have suspected that Alliance would very quickly fall. But having been able to survive, they get not just a win, but a very much needed one, Tiff, because they were otherwise in contention for being one of our teams to be knocked down into the elimination bracket.
Now we just had a good look at Realize coming out of APAC North, that former roster of Fun 1, 2, 3. Obli and Karump have been playing together since 2020 and have been upwards of like 5+ LAN appearances for this team. So I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table, and throughout scrims, they've been super aggressive and are performing incredibly well. There we go, we got them back up there.
Realize.
So we got to see 4 matches, 23 eliminations, and almost 10k damage. Pretty good.
Now, I realize has performed exceptionally, especially over the last 2 days. Once we get into the later part of group stage and they've been able to adapt to everyone else, I think they're much more confident in being aggressive. It does pay off really well on Stormpoint, but once we get into World's Edge, there's a lot less space to work with, and I am expecting Realize to take a step back. Their KP, their actual placement points even, should suffer a small loss moving on to this more controlled map.
Well, then let's start thinking about it, because as we move on over to World's Edge, there are some teams that will likely fare better in terms of acquiring more points per game, or have been throughout the entirety of champs thus far. Ascend and Oxygen should be the most excited to be switching, because they have the biggest point differential between the 2 maps, which is kind of wild when you think about it, because Oxygen, known for being the majority of points on a Stormpoint map.
And I think it's funny that on the other side of that coin, Ascend, as you say, go from having, I think, 2.8 points on an average game to 8 points on an average game once we swap their locations. And it's very clear for me why this has worked out well for Ascend. They do tend to play a comp that requires a few more niches to play in. Stormpoint doesn't have as many corners that are protected on all sides, whether they be buildings or whether they just be rocks, but there are a lot of hard surfaces on World's Edge that you can use, small fence lines that provide this consistent cover, from which Ascend can use the Watson crypto comp that they've been separating themselves from the rest of the teams with.
Well, you just think about the match they won just a few days ago with the Watson Jenny and the fences, where the ring pulled just south of Tree, a little bit towards that area, you know, looming around Harvester and Lava Siphon. But that was so well for them, and had they not had Watson in that particular instance, that would have not boded well for them. But as we get geared up, this is it, the Thunderdome era. Honestly, the Monument POI that was added to World's Edge, that rework, was one of the coolest things that I've seen in a very long time.
And this time around, it will be home to Sentinels, who have chosen to drop around the center of the map. Sentinels, who also picked up a win, finally being able to mark that one off for themselves in the winner's bracket, and doing it in Game 1. This team has been a real focus for me, not because they've been consistently on top, but because they are so inconsistently peaking, and peaking specifically off of how one player is performing. Koifel is the spearhead of this squad and is by far the person with the most damage share on their team that's still in the winner's bracket. He's, I think, 5th overall in terms of damage percentage, sharing 43% of his team's damage himself alone. Everyone ranked above him went down to the elimination bracket, and some of them have gone home.
Wow, that's impactful. But as we hit the Legend Select, you
so
can
was
see it
top
popping
10
up in
pretty
front
well
of the teams. Yuki locking in Catalyst.
for the most part, NA
and
APAC South.
Bloodhounds amidst. This is the time where Bloodhound pops off, but we knew
Yeah,
that
APAC
we were
North,
getting a
the
couple
top with
fuses
Realize,
in the lobby throughout Group
Alliance,
Series, throughout International. professional scrims. Do I have any Fuse fans out there?
That's it. Damn.
I'm sure we do.
That's kind of crazy.
We can hear a few of them chanting for Fuse.
Maybe.
We'll see how far we get into World's Edge and whether that becomes a really dominant pick. Horizon has been really prioritized by teams on World's Edge because of the ultimate height that can exist in a lot of our zones and your ability to close that gap very quickly, whether it be onto buildings or in positions
chat,
like
4
Lava
more
Fissure,
games.
where you have to very quickly jump from low
boys
ground
probably
to
only be
high
live for
ground
about 3 of them.
as we drop into the map. However, we will be heading on the drop ship along from west to east, giving teams like NRG and importantly Oxygen, who you mentioned earlier, first move.
That's exactly what they need. I'm looking for ring
Much as I would love to stay all 8 at least, but Bullman's got his first T-ball game, so we're going to be going to that.
Stacks, who will benefit
And then,
from a ring console and a survey
got
beacon
some things to knock
in the
out
depths of
rest of
Stacks
today, so.
and Big Mod. So plenty of information, but TSM getting that ever-coveted
We'll be back
ring
tomorrow, though,
console
for
just on
finals.
the outside of Lava Siphon.
Finals start at the same time, 7 p.m. or 7 a.m.
It feels right to see TSM landing there uncontested. Singularity just off to their northeast have chosen to land over by Geyser and have a big
So
been a big
Ascend's
point of
up
focus
at
for me during the course of this event. Well, LG
Climatizer,
Chivas definitely my team to watch coming into the day, as of course over at launch site. They don't have the benefit of a ring console, unfortunately for them. We'll just be stuck with the survey beacon.
Koifel's
But
been looking
Alliance
pretty good,
over
yeah.
in Thermal Station do have that advantage.
This is the weirdest approach to a skyhook beginning that I have ever witnessed. The Dojo
He's
and
probably
Exit
one of
are
the, I would say, players that's like
running
really
into each other, right?
like
They're not
making a
necessarily
name
going
for
straight
themselves
towards
this
tiles,
event.
trying to get some of that loot. They're actually focusing on prioritizing this engagement.
Like
And
obviously a
with
lot of the
Exit coming
talk
in
is going to
at
be about
16th
Arcanes
place,
and
you know,
now because they're
threshold
the
at
original
31
2.
points for 10th that they need. This is where you're going to have to start stringing some games together.
But
this is
Koifel's been popping
by
off.
Exet. They've definitely recognized that while they can split the POI, we're going to hit a quick pause instead. While they can split the POI,
On World's
they would
Edge?
much rather
Really?
jump on top of Dojo. Normally you actually will see Sky West and Sky East split with Exet taking the Trials side. Now that they're landing with Dojo, however, there's definitely a little bit of ego going on here with Exet saying, well, Dojo, you may have made it here, but it's time for the old guard to shut you down.
Ooh, and when the old guard stands up, things can start to get super exciting. But that's what I was thinking, right? We're going to start in, and I'd rather hit the quick pause now. And if just a friendly reminder, we put some really cool information about surrounding the pause feature. It takes about 2 seconds of no player-on-player damage for that pause to enact. It could have been requested right at the start of the beginning of the game.
Yeah, very likely due to a few peripherals that we needed to sort out, and we'll get the update for you as soon as we can, but it's a nice time to break down exactly how the game is going so far. A lot of you will have gotten snapshots because of the maps that we've placed around the arena, and if you're at home, you will be able to jump into that with Command Center and find out what the map looks like for yourself.
I know, I sit there in the back room and I'm watching the normal thing, and I just have the map room up completely because I just want to make sure I'm hitting all of those rotations, and if you guys got a little glimpse of it, then you would know that we are going down south. And anytime I get a southern zone on World's Edge, I just get really excited.
And it's great for Alliance as well.
Could be.
Landing over by Thermal, they should have information that this is happening. We already talked about the fact that they have a ring console, and the setup from Thermal is really simple once you're able to identify that the zone is coming to you. There are only a few endings in the Thermal area, and depending on how far south Zone 1 is pulling, you should have a pretty good idea of where this is going. Now, the other team that's going to benefit from this is, of course, NRG, who land really close by, and as the game restarts, we'll get a chance to see how they, as well as everyone else, start to rotate in, including Ascend, Realize, and FaZe, who are all clashing at Epicenter.
Ascend, though, coming in just on the lower half of the lobby thus far, have 4 maps on World's Edge to ride it, and Realize leading it. Songju already going to fall at the hands of FaZe. We're coming just into the cusp, just on the 8th place. That threshold.
So FaZe is going to be rotating over from Climatizer
to really solidify yourself in the finals bracket tomorrow with those advanced starting points.
It's a really
Where did Ascend go? Because Ascend was falling, was dropping Epicenter with
They didn't even
Realize,
get a
right?
decent 3v3 in, or even a 3v2 that they could have re-engaged. FaZe, however, do benefit off of this, being able to jump back into their POI and craft up now should they want. And with a slow rotate from them, POIs like Overlook should be free for them to rotate through if they want to take this game a little slower.
That's typically what I would assume from them, but like the majority of the rotations that they've been hitting, when it starts to pull this way, they'll actually rotate through Epicenter. And with teams still looming and having a little bit of congestion up in Skyhook, that actual run-in with the dojo between Xset could really delay that southern rotation for them. And on Stormpoint, the teams that had the northern POIs were struggling so hard already just to get to the south. I don't want to see teams running into that issue here.
We're getting an interesting move from Moist as well, choosing to head directly through Fragment and Monument to make their way immediately center of the map. It's a risky move for sure, especially after the changes to loot coming into this LAN. The fact that you just don't have as much HP to work with makes crossing open ground a whole lot more scary.
Especially right here, trying to navigate through the choke point ahead of which Moist is positioning themselves. You can even double down and head right and get to that tunnel, but how many teams have been collapsing on each other there? It's just not safe, especially sitting on white, but Sentinels and Dreamfire, they're gonna start going at it, and Dreamfire, the masters of the high ground, always retaining it. Sandwich just going straight in.
That's for Sentinels. Koifel gets full Thurston. That's a huge nade from Roy. The rest of this
Roy's our boy. Roy's our boy.
The banner was able to be recovered as quickly, but Dreamfire are going to choose to not chase them down any further, instead opting into a little bit of loot collection and likely a continued power position.
Oh, Big E last alone for the squad. We do see reps on Fuse, but they have both
TSM gonna go down early, game 5.
Being stunned up by a Bangled against Alliance is not where you want to find yourself.
Does he even survive this? It is crazy when jumping into the lava is the best option and you still get hit with the creeping barrage. Tough way for TSM to go out this early.
With the creeping barrage coming in, that was actually going to be at the hands of Blackhand. So that's where you have to watch out. They're clearly looking for a strong position here, but knowing that Alliance has the benefit of landing in Thermal Station, if a zone starts to pull their way, they're immediately going to look for the best position and call it.
And so the fact that we've seen Alliance sat in that building should tell everyone a lot. And it's not just us, it's not just you at home, but other teams as they rotate in should recognize that Alliance have prioritized a singular position, recognizing them either by their early rotation in or even by the skins that they've chosen to run in-game.
IBG
Other rotations
here.
through the south, though, include Iron Blood Gaming coming up against Optic and potentially LG.
Yeah, these are the teams that are going to be rotating out of the southeastern-most side of World's Edge from Stacks, from Big Mod, from Dome, trying to navigate ever so closely towards Thermal Station. In go the frags, not necessarily wanting to get inside. You want to keep the high ground, force the players inside, and you just kind of wrap around them, become the gatekeeper.
Just
but
hit him with a wrap.
As soon as he's up, is he always alive? The amount of clutch potential that he has to prioritize the healing, let the teammates go some damage, but Jaguares is going to fall.
LG inherit that fight. They didn't pick it themselves. And having lost Jaguares, it's time to head for the hills. At this point, IBG have everything, the high ground and the numbers advantage, even willing to drop down to find a few more kills. With the zone closing in, it'll be a matter of time for IBG as they've got plenty of space and advantage to push out the rest of LG and I assume continue their own rotation through the southern end of this map.
Recovery mission coming in at the hands of Skittlecakes to get knocked
Bro,
back.
whenever it goes into Storm, man,
recover that banner
it does not look good.
Just anchoring, trying to suppress fire until the teammate can come
It's very
back.
pixelated.
Matter of time
I feel like
for
it doesn't
now,
matter what
all these teams
rig you're
will
on,
have
you know
to
what I
move
mean?
on, and other squads should be rotating through the area as well. In fact, the high ground that Optic currently hold, the one that dropped, is making sure stays in their possession, is really good for rotating into thermal because southern rotations are so difficult to get past this otherwise dominant high ground position.
Ooh, you craft a Nemi and throw a 3x on it. It is just open season. You can see the poke damage prodding and coming through, but I did see in the kill feed a member of FaZe going down in the ring, and that's because they're still so far outside of the zone, but they're back up on their feet hitting the rotation.
Luminosity end up taking this high ground back. A respawn has come in for Optic, so they do have full 3 members.
They gotta still worry about LG
any
though.
loot like that. It is constantly being denied by LG, and they need to make a recovery of their own. Yunya Yanya's going to go for it. You have to imagine that it's going to go off without a hitch. LG do have a nice advantage in damage
Well
right
done
now.
by LG
Only
there.
one peek comes through, but Yanya's able to work together with Nazul to find the banner and somehow get behind the truck in time.
Bro, that 30-30 hits hard, but why are we still up in Skyhook since the dawn of time or the beginning of this game? It's the Dojo taking on Alliance. They're not Alliance, XS.
I think this is people rotating up there for
It has
Beacon
taken,
probably,
as
right?
you say, such a absurdly long time for both of these teams that it is well past the point of being worth it at all. It's a matter of cementing yourself for the next couple of games. And XSET, for their part,
Dojo lands
do
here, I
seem
guess.
to have the favorable end of this trade. Dojo are still sat in a corner, and XSET control the rotation down towards the south. The best place
Meanwhile,
to be is the ring
NRGs
closest
are
in
ahead,
19 seconds.
Dreamfires are already rotated out.
We're coming in with like just around 13 to 15 points prior to
What is this zone, by the way? Did you all see that fucking zone?
Put up a 15-plus point game to get back into the fray of it, and just kind of biding your time outside the zone. The ring collapse and all the ring changes. You've got to hit a move, just like LG trying to get their teammate back up, their numbers going. But we are running now. We have just a minimal area to go because they have to get around the mountain.
At this point, it's a game of balancing heals more than anything. Sykes can't afford to get a shield broken now, not this early into the engage. Instead, quick med kit, quick syringe would not be misplaced just to keep XSET in charge. And you're playing a game of chicken. Have you actually accumulated a significant amount more meds than Dojo in this time?
Well, you can see Timmy really low. You gotta make sure the timing is perfect, but Zine going to fall. An enemy trying to double down. He does do
look at
a
the
good
trade out,
chunk
though.
of damage, but Ironblood Gaming fall in the meantime. Can enemy stay alive? No, he is going to
It's
go
all
down.
left at Timmy.
Now last alive in
Oh!
hitting those wingman shots. We just need one more.
One nade, if it connects, could change everything, but Timmy has to slow play this. There's no other choice. His teammates are as good as dead down there. And
The double 71s with the wingman, disgusting, bro.
With Fun needing to clutch this up for the squad. Nocturnal wasn't able to get the heals in time. At this point, it's a matter of harass, and we're right back where we started, Tiff. Who has more meds?
The issue is he's only had about 2 more syringes, and the
Oh, no.
time is of the essence. They're both probably going to go down here. Timmy, though,
Damn.
falling, but how much damage did he take? He has 1 syringe. This could potentially be it.
We'll see how much more they're able to pick up off the death boxes. I can't
So,
imagine
I don't know if
that
there's
it's a lot. This
any
could have
heals
been
left
where
in
you
that
mutually
fight back
shared
there. He's probably
destruction.
dead.
And speaking of, the teams that prioritized Harvester Rotate agreed to much the same thing. Moist is incredibly low as they head out of Harvester. FaZe are going to be behind them and even lower upon their eventual exit. And that's not even factoring in the squads that will have already rotated through and will gatekeep both of these teams.
Well, at least FaZe is occupying the crafter, starting to stack up more on those med kits because as they have just a minute left before they need to get in, they know they will meet a bunch of resistance the moment they approach where Moist had rotated in. And even then, when you think about the teams that haven't necessarily positioned themselves towards where Alliance has, towards Blackhand, it's Dark Zero's positioning that if they can actually maintain that choke point, will provide such substantial endgame for them.
Their biggest contest, as you allude to, is Oxygen, just off to the north. Oxygen, and interestingly, NRG, who are likely going to try for the same thing. Teams like Dreamfire,
What is this zone,
you
bro?
can actually play for this Dorito building and try and evac tower over a little bit later into the game, much like we saw Alliance attempt when we were over at Storm Point moving into Fish Farms. With the position that Dark Zero have, however, a lot of this is going to rely on Jen Burton and when he chooses to use the big defensive cooldown of the Dark Veil.
I mean, if not, we do have a Fusey in the hands of Zero, and anytime Zero breaks out Fuse 2, it's going to be a good time. Plus, you've got the Kraber and an ult waiting to boot. So the issue is, will NRG and Oxygen make enough chaos that they start getting thirded, and one by one, they have to push through Dark Zero. After that, in XSET, unfortunately, they try very hard to make it out of Skyhook, but they will be found by Lufka.
There's just no way to get out. At that point, we talked about it, they burned so many meds that there's no hope. And mutually assured destruction maybe to be revisited during the subsequent game for FaZe, who had also tanked a lot of damage, who had taken a very awkward rotate. We are now living on a prayer. Snipe down landing.
Whoa!
Not a spot that people land. And
that's why.
how it goes.
That was going to be really tough. I mean, they hit an evacuation tower out of Harvester. They double down and hit an evac tower out of Thermal. They lose Frex on the rotation and immediately run into resistance. And you can see where Ascend has positioned themselves. The mother load coming out and now just trying to play these boxes. At least it makes it work a little bit with the Jenny.
No, this is a really nice generator, especially once Mother Load comes in. You know, if you've played against Fuses before, that very quickly the nades are coming as well. So great timing from Ascend to put that down at the moment that they did and not a second sooner. However, they, surviving for now, are actually playing to the win condition that we saw them earlier. A place that nobody could play if they didn't have Watson. For teams like NRG and Oxygen, they've got a few different options. In fact, to hear those options, let's jump into a listen-in with NRG.
On me, walling right.
I'm getting shot by OHG.
Look, bang!
Nice.
Nice, I'm batting. You gotta get up to me, guys. You gotta get up to me.
There's a nade.
Alright, I'm bringing you a knockdown. I'm coming to bring knock too.
I don't think
They may not commit that. They may not. Maybe you run back like with a bank smoke to like the low ground. No, just let him res. I have no knock.
I'm just dead.
No, you're fine here. You're fine there. Keep healing. These guys are gonna have to make a play later. They're gonna. Nice try. I don't know what we do there. I mean, we saw.
You knew it the moment the frags came in, the nade spam. He's like,
ooh, Alliance going out?
He's like, no, you're healthy. But Optic, a solo in the hands of Skittle Cakes. This is going to be tough. They're just in the zone, trying to hide behind a piercing incoming black hole. They know you're there.
Everything's
Alliance want this positioning.
It's really scary to
think
jump
skinny,
from
think skinny.
NRG's position and the comms that you were talking about to Optic's position, where I'm sure the same thing is being said.
Effect screwed.
But Effect right underneath is so low, and I believe should have been knocked by the missiles that just came in. Ascend putting down a lot of harass onto the teams that are choosing to pick fights on the low ground, and as Dreamfire fly in on top of Optic, we know there's just one member left.
Hey, they're doing what they need to do. Currently tied for first place of this lobby, looking to reign supreme at the top and take away priority positioning. Alliance will fall, and Dreamfire have poised themselves. Now the next challenge that we'll witness is who will come out on top of the Oxygen Dark Zero engagement. We knew they were watching their back, but as Jen Burton falls at Aiden, this is gonna get mixy.
This is really problematic for Dark Zero. We talked about the Dark Veil usage, but it's used on the opposite side of the fight to separate what is now a 2 versus 3 in the advantage.
All right, top 7 though.
Zainu gets fried, 1 HP on him, and Zero barely covers the exit, taking down Reeds on the way.
But this is where the gold shield's gonna come in clutch. You can
helps that a lot of your lower teams are still in.
Maintain as full health as possible, but unfortunately, we have to delay the inevitable here as Moist Esports.
Come on, Moist.
Engagement as a duo looking for
There
Zero.
we go.
Will be found. We're down to 5.
There are so many teams that are operating with just 2 members right now, but the one power player that's still in this, that isn't Dreamfire, is Ascend, who's currently fighting it out with them on the low ground. This 3v3 determines everything.
As you can see, Moist approaching as a duo. Waltzy, though, now alone. Pushing straight into the Watson fences. That will stun him. Now, likely of them, you're going to focus on. And Oxygen, they're full up. Dreamfire's full up. And this is going to get messy.
Dreamfire?
Post-kill, Ascend running into a little bit of mix. Kashara can't get away.
Let's go!
Dreamfire, they overtake the overall leader.
It is a wonderful identification of weakness from Dreamfire, and it puts them in that all-powerful position, but Oxygen have been the problem, and Oxygen are that team that, as you talked about, gets so many more points on World Edge. They
Optic
know this
just
map
chilling,
so
bro.
well.
Skittle Cakes like think skinny, think small.
In a 3-team,
one with the rock, one with the rock, one with the rock.
Game, we do have 2 rats left. Moist and Optic can get so many points by surviving for even single digits more spots.
You know, as long as he doesn't do anything, he just sits here, nestled ever so nicely between the rocks. Meanwhile, everything is breaking loose around him. Oxygen trying to find a good positioning to take this fight onto Dreamfire, while a member of Moist and Optic just sit and spectate.
Big problem here is that it's a lot easier to grief Oxygen than it is to grief Dreamfire.
Yes.
Moist could easily take down a member
My
of Oxygen.
boy
So
Waltzy chilling on boxes in the lava.
Right now,
I fucking
Aiden
love it.
is about to find Skittle.
No way.
He's low on the low ground, however,
and Dreamfire have just lost a member. Oxygen going to commit for this, and with Peta down, Dreamfire crumbles so quickly. Oxygen now have a 3-man, and there are just 2 rats left. This should be an easy cleanup for them. This should be exactly what Oxygen were looking for on World's Edge.
There goes Moist. Now it's down to a little bit of match of hide and seek. The Skittlecake has survived to a second, takes to the sky, and
The big
Oxygen
second for
Esports
Optic, though,
are your winners.
to be able to get all the way up there.
Number 5, they needed that. Reigning from outside of the top 10, looking to break in and secure position in the finals tomorrow.
This is exactly
okay.
what
Coach got the
looking
suit
for,
today. You know he's
jumping
breaking out
onto
the green
this
suit
map.
tomorrow.
The
Y'all already
control
know.
that Oxygen have exerted over the entirety of the lobby when playing in the controlled environment like this zone over by Thermal is really impressive. I like that they got the audience support as well. I know they've got some parents, some family in the audience, and as my Canadian brethren, I can only be happy for them.
Look, I said it on day 1 we got here, and I'm going to say it now.
Bro,
Don't
master
shout
at
the BR Demons.
the master class.
Heralding back to the older days where Oxygen were still as of yet unsigned, but recognized for a lot of talent. The biggest change in this roster has been the support staff addition that you're alluding to since their BR Demons days. The addition of someone who leaks and Psycho, both teaming together along with Thornton to create this super roster. And there we go. Take the credit, Psycho. Where
He's got the Joker tie on. No full green suit just yet. There it is.
And it is
I love
really
it.
wonderful because it
I love
combines the
it.
firepower that the BR Demons were so well known for with the brains that they have come to inherit after the game plans, the end games that we've
We
seen
need more
them play out
coaches like him,
over and
Raven,
over under the
who
time
like
box.
And you
really
have to
build a
get them back
personality.
on that aggressive
I would say
top. I know
Loopy's
they were
getting there,
struggling a
but
little
not
bit
quite
through
to that
Group
point.
Series, trying to find that rhythm and eventually making a switch with Aiden's Legend Select to put him on the hands, get him back on Horizon, let him be aggressive and fry out. And as we run that final circle back, this is the fight that changed it all.
I mean, it's one pick that very quickly lets Dreamfire's position crumble. Aiden's on Horizon for a reason, and those who have been watching Aiden for a while will remember when he debuted in the ALGS.
You could even say hot tick in that, though. Hot tick in that list of like,
which was
you know,
just a
coaches who
controller team
have a
that
little
was
bit
used
of
to
a
grinding
personality.
out everywhere. They struggled to achieve results simply due to the fact they didn't have a game plan, but being picked up by BR Demons and later Oxygen, he transitions this into an opening pick, takes out one member of Dreamfire, who have had a dynasty running for so long in APAC South and who have been dominant during the course of the ALGS Year 3 champs.
And there's the Nessie, there's the Oxygen signs, completely kitted out. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen, but no, that's exactly it.
We got to see one side of this, but I'm seeing this clip on
There we go, match 5 results, your top
Twitter.
3 teams, 9 eliminations for Oxygen Esports. That's what they needed.
No, this is great, and it ups the average points per game, as I think we were both expecting coming into this match. It's statistically supported throughout the course of the tournament. However, with Optic and Moist bringing up the rear, Optic as well are one of the teams that we were actually talking to before we jumped into World's Edge about their confidence moving forward out of a storm point that didn't treat them as well as they were hoping.
That's true, and I was really, when we were thinking about the predictions early on, I was really dabbling between Optic and Dark Zero for that prediction, and I almost picked Optic, but hey, that's all true. But Oxygen Esports, I had a chance to sit down with Vayne early on, you know, nominated for the Positive Player Award, and he was talking to me specifically about his transition into being the in-game leader, the IGL, and struggling finding the confidence around. He's like, it's really tough, it's a lot of pressure, but they're doing well, and that's got to feel good when you know the choices that you've made have led to results.
Backed by, as I said, solid game plan as well. It really helps, and to the tune of around 9 kills, that'll net them a decent end game finish.
Big game for Optic, big game for Moist. Blackhand with 11 points as well.
The finals, and Oxygen have been doing all right so far. They still need to go a little bit further to make sure that they qualify into tomorrow's games.
Well, even the top 5 here, you've both hit double digits, inclusive of Blackhand, who popped off in game 1. That was absolutely wild. They're still hitting that consistency that they need. LG, you know, 6, Alliance coming back with 8 points, but that's because when you land in Thermal and everyone's rotating in to secure a position there in where
Blackhand in 3rd right now. Boys, we're looking good.
Eliminations, but that leaves the back half of the leaderboard looking scarce.
And unfortunately, TSM have not had a good day. They're, I think, the obvious
notable team that nobody would have expected to be down here, and there are plenty more that could very well move up into the top 10 over the course of the day. But even
Blackhand,
now,
baby!
very much drawing my attention as they also lie rather low. Having
In
had
third
that
fucking
long
place, let's
engagement
go!
at Skyhook, I have to expect them to abandon it and send a couple prayers.
All right,
to
we got 2 more
Singularity.
games.
Start a fight. My team
3
from
more
South
games.
America, my boys, would surely like to avoid the elimination bracket. At this point, it's looking pretty rough.
Yeah, but it's actually not too bad. You look at the 10th place, NRG is just barely hanging in there with 29 points, and FaZe kind of just overlooking in by 3. But even then, let's say 11 points differentiate 10th through 17th place.
I
And
don't
with
know if
only
there's any. I don't think anyone has close to the
Valencia,
amount of frags that.
you're gonna have to lay it all on the line.
I mean, looking even at Ascend, I think that they're telling the story for the entirety of the bottom 10 teams right now. Having had sub 10 points going into this match, I believe it was more like 5 points that they had, maybe 6. They've moved all the way up to 15th after 1 game, and that was a game that they didn't even win, where Ascend played for placement as they are used to on World's Edge, and were able to, with a slow and controlled match, ultimately pick up a little bit of KP along the way that jumped them up 4 spots. Now the difference between 18 and 26, not nearly so much. 18 and 29, surely doable over the course of the next 3 games for Ascend and for any team in the bottom 10.
You've got the whole Alliance crew out there cheering for Alliance as we just panned through them. Now coming through, we've got Hal, Raven, I'm sure Big E and Reps will appear, but back
Man,
to
TSM to
Alliance,
lower
man.
bracket?
It's so
Question
good to see
mark?
them. I stopped by their merch booth earlier on today, and they were like, hey, you know what, here's the deal. We're not a group stage team this time. That was the biggest question mark they had after Split 2 playoffs. Were they just a group stage team? Well, they're here to prove you wrong this time. Radios in the air, hearts are going out, and I am so excited.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting ready to jump into the next match, and that means that we get to run this whole thing over again with slightly different stakes, slightly different advantages given to each team as beacons, crafters, even the zone can determine so much of how everybody needs to play things out. Alliance did have a good position last game, and they're going to need the support of their fans because their journey was cut short of where they should have been. When the POI that the zone comes to is yours,
South America's struggling.
Top 3 with a lot of KP is expected, even demanded of teams, and Alliance
Which is
did
unfortunate,
not
man.
reach
I got a
that
pee before
mark.
So when we come into the second matchup, World's Edge, the thing that I want to see most is prioritize that positioning. Yes, you need eliminations, but if that positioning is right first, don't get caught out on your rotations. Get into zone, eliminate everyone in your path, and get those well-needed points.
And one of the things that they very well could use, and that any team could use, is the way that Dark Zero played that match. Because you were talking about it very early, but their position was very active. And it's the difference between playing zone and risking losing your game early if you don't pick up anything, and playing zone and guaranteeing yourself at least a little bit of something. Because you're going to get into an engagement, you're going to be in an advantaged position compared to the teams that have to move through you, and that can change so much about not just your game, but your series. So, with the Legends Select completed and the dropship crossing World's Edge once again, we are going to be going south to north, giving Alliance first move once more, but likely not as much of a first move advantage as they had last game, since it's pretty unlikely that we go thermal again, right, Tim?
I don't know. I'm hoping for a northern zone for the teams that are traveling up to Climatizer. That's going to be FaZe, Skyhook, Dojo, XSET. They need extra time in their POIs, but I want to keep my eye specifically on the XSET and Dojo squads up there again, because what in the world happened? Why did that fight last for an eternity? We have to think about their rotations, because typically, right, XSET was known for taking Trials and Skyhook, East, West, but the Dojo don't necessarily solidify themselves into that Skyhook East POI. They land kind of right where the beacon is.
Yeah, it's just, I suppose, to grab a little bit more information, a little more loot as well, because you want to get as many opportunities as possible, open as many loot crates as possible, find the drops in order to grab yourself a little bit more shielding that can turn into a big advantage. Oh, my LG prediction's looking pretty good. Remember earlier we talked about it with the
another
zone
southern
you should get
zone.
top 3 with at least a little bit of KP. Well,
LG getting
it's
blessed
right on
up
top
once
of
again.
LG, so it's time to shine, lads.
I mean, they've got crafting, they've got a lot of information, and surely TSM can pull straight towards this as well with Lava Siphon still being in it, right?
I mean, I imagine they should be just fine, and TSM get arguably the best zone that they will have had all day. IBG are going to have a decent time of this as well, having rolled a ring console. They can transition into play through the back of launch site if they want to play this really safe, and Tom Young-Gung are going to be able to get a fantastic spot really early on.
Look, there's 3 ring consoles at the hands of Big Mod, Stacks, and Dome, so I'd imagine any team that is looking for that late rotation, maybe a little bit of edge playstyle, will try to wrap through there, get as much information as possible, but LG Chivas, knowing that they have a solid positioning in the zone, are going to now have to fend off any early rotating teams that are going to look to challenge, and one of those teams historically that has been for this series, and in particular World's Edge, Dark Zero.
We talked about this a little bit earlier.
All right, LG gonna try and get aggressive here?
The back of LG Chivas has drawn a lot of attention. Now Zul actually scouting this out.
I don't know why
really
they
early,
would.
and
They've
then
got
just
good positioning here. They can
Bloodhound
literally
ultimate,
chill where they're at
making
this whole
things a
game.
little bit more difficult.
TSM taking a fight with Dark Zero, and you've got Tom Young-Kung moving over on their left as well.
TSM got high ground, Knuckles Cluster's going out, but the mother load is coming in onto them, but Reps could answer back, but prioritizing healing, like solidifying these doors, that is where you need to be right this second, because Dark Zero are still going to be looking for a space, but there's no way that they are going to have preferential loot given how fast they got here.
Not at all. Controlling low ground is nice. Staying alive, especially when you have a great position like TSM have, is even better. And props to Dark Zero for being able to clear them out of the way and grab a position of their own. Constant harassment.
Yeah, but I don't think they realize that Tom Young-Kung moved up.
Though, will make things a little
Or is Tom Young-Kung going to let them kind of battle it out? That's who Imperial House looking at right there.
Into the safety that Catalyst will provide them.
That's what the fuse allows, right? That knuckle cluster, the quick cooldown, and Yanya answering. You knew Iron Blood Gaming were looking to make a place into this, but Yanya does get tagged up, but the trade doesn't come through. Instead, it's going to be TSM poking at both Iron Blood Gaming and Dark Zero as Zainu has hit the floor.
Just profiting on both sides, and this, even if it doesn't convert into kills, as it doesn't necessarily have to, will absolutely convert into Evos, something that TSM already have an advantage in with the way that they've got double purples and Reps. I imagine very close to a purple himself, maybe a knuckle cluster away. That was not a Horizon ult that's going to get anything done.
It do be like that sometimes. You think it's going to hit, and then maybe you like hit it just one.
And now Tom Young-Kung's firing down at them. TSM realizes that they need to put pressure down here and finish this fight. Yep. Nice play by Hal.
Takes the issue. He puts it down, uses the grab lift to get back on high ground, and now we're going to do a little bit of dance.
It's a hands check. That's what it comes down to. As TSM continue to play.
And NRG's here now too?
The strong points, I'll say, of Dark Zero.
Oh, yep. There's NRG too. Iron Blood Gaming's going to be out. Dark Zero's going to be out as well. First 2 teams.
That is the definition of just harass. Constantly being a thorn in the side of Dark Zero, not letting them get anything done. And ultimately, it's NRG who profit, funnily enough. I think that they may have underestimated, however, how annoying this position can be.
Yeah, because they got TSM still right above them.
The exact same position that Dark Zero was just moments ago, and that's what happens when you mirror that rotation, because someone is likely going to focus on doing that to you. You're going to have to maybe try and live in a different spot, but that's the issue with some of these placements in that end game. Sure, it might be a god position, you know, in that last circle, but getting there too early runs that risk.
This time around, Realize, one of the teams that's going to be rotating in late, has passed by the dojo on their way in. Another late rotating team, likely not by their own volition. However, thankfully enough for Dojo, they've managed to avoid death at the hands of Exet. I'm going to say, thankfully for Exet, they've managed to avoid death at the hands of Dojo. This was not a trade that was working out for them in Game 1, and the change up into Game 2 should mean that both teams are a lot more comfortable, even if I don't like them playing zone like this, especially for Dojo. It would be much better to be closer to zone and starting to find fights where they can abuse the mechanical advantage they have over so many teams.
And it's tough, right? We were talking about the ring changes and more specifically the amount of heals that you're going to burn while going through it. But with so many teams guarding that next layer of zone, you have to be prepared the moment you come in to be fully healed. Now realize, making their way through Fragment East, they likely won't have to be gatekeeping for the dojo, but with how congested...
So does this still end up finishing down by a tree, or do we think this ends up pulling back up towards Siphon at all? If it does, there's some Southern teams that are going to be kind of mad.
Where are you going to go?
And our game one winner is Oxygen, drawing my eye as well. They're going on a bit of a late rotate. Moving through Harvester will be all right for them, especially because there's a ring console in Harvester that'll reveal all the more data to them as they need to move through launch site. That doesn't make the rotation necessarily any easier, but the information should mean that if it works out, that they're a lot more likely to actually win the game.
And I kind of like this. You have Dreamfire still hanging into that other southernmost building in Lava Siphon, and Blackhand kind of anchoring down nearby the Crafter, showing presence with the Watson fences and have a Jenny up. But this isn't necessarily too bad. The issue is here with Dreamfire being able to reign supreme with the height. It just takes one angle, one knock. They would have to prioritize the red significantly, but they're going to avoid the nade spam with the Watson generator.
The Clash of South America is happening over by Stacks. As start a fight, have high ground over Team Singularity. Both squads are going to need to mirror each other on the rotate in. And FaZe may very well come up on them after they finish whatever engagement's going on here up against Sentinels. We've got ults out, we've got everything.
When baseball time
comes.
comes.
Throw out the black hole, but only had one arc star. It's not going to manifest into anything beneficial for FaZe. You're going to have to double down and do the dirty work with the R9
Singularity
instead.
Third party. This is always a possibility when you're getting into an extended fight.
FaZe has got to try and bail out.
Down to low ground just in the nick of time, disengaging as Sentinels do the same. A Bloodhound scan from behind, revealing that this was a very good time to move.
It was about to be an all-out brawl between those three squads, now manifesting into nothing as FaZe set their sights on for a little bit of a rotation into zone. The issue is this fight will likely still happen between FaZe and the Sentinels, but now it's going to be FaZe being able to gatekeep Sentinels.
And we're handshaking, mirroring, as we talked about. When one team follows another, is doing the same rotation just a few seconds behind. Even Realize is starting to do that to Singularity. And up top, where Dojo are coming from, they're doing the same thing to Xset. It's a real problem, and I'm not sure Dojo are aware of it.
Well, let's go Design. He's making his way. Looks like nothing's going to happen, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And Sykes and Knock, they have officially spotted the Dojo. An incoming creeping barrage, a grab lift to the high ground. This is where things are going to get a little particular for the Dojo.
Xset fumbled the engage at first, however, they've missed out on gravity lift, and this creeping barrage is going to be avoided, having used already two major tools to close the gap onto Dojo, and having not found any damage for it. It might be that Xset now try and disengage because Dojo have the cooldown advantage.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got a Skull Piercer on the 30-30, and we know what happens when Designful's got a wingman. This is close enough. It's a wingman in marksman form, but we just have to prioritize not taking too much damage because I cannot bear to witness an Xset Dojo fight in zone again.
Nocturnal, even with
That's
the
what's
gold
going to
shot,
happen.
Take the time to pop a Phoenix kit, ensuring that they can close the gap to the zone all the faster and hopefully gatekeep Dojo. That's got to be the plan for Xset because this is the only team
and
that
Dojo's going to back down off this.
up on eliminating from the lobby. As it stands, the disengage does come through, and it is a wise decision from Xset. They simply don't have the tools, the advantage over Dojo that they did, and they can try this again, but a little later. The problem is that they've lost the element of surprise.
I mean, neither of these teams can afford really going out early here in Game 6, right? So
in any other way, would they have gotten a knock? Had that ult actually connected, it would have been completely different, but the Dojo are now enacting an evacuation tower rotation, but they're still trying to split themselves away from Xset, who benefit from having 2 gold shields and just a couple syringes. Now Optic, who have positioned themselves quite nicely at the southernmost point of launch site, are just hurry up and wait, you know?
For those of you who like to play some ranked on World's Edge, that's the spot, by the way, where Optic are.
Don't tell them that. Don't do it.
It's dangerous information. Use it wisely, but so infrequently prioritized, even in professional level play. It provides you a lot of safety until the late game, and we could very well see Optic benefit a lot from this.
Sentinel's going to hunt them down. Yep.
Not benefiting from anything. Have Sentinels on top of them now, and their destruction seems all the more assured as enemy is the first to go down to Koifel.
RKN getting tagged up as a flank is trying to come, but utilizing the piercing spikes quite nicely to section off that wall, but Realize, sitting in 6th place currently, are starting to hang out as well. Obeli!
Okay.
Obeli, we just need one more bullet, but you're going to prioritize healing because that's smart. Now you let your teammates double down. You have the defensive Dark Veil come through, and yeah, they're going to waste a black hole as well, but it doesn't matter because you were still able to grab that IGL of RKN and Zenile.
Damn.
Unfortunately for them, it's all left up to Koifel in a 1 versus 3. At this point, disengage is the only choice that they have, and funnily enough, it's Dojo that have somehow survived with more members in this 3.
And then SNG is going to roll up here.
Is Singularity jumping.
Yep.
Look, this is what they needed to do. They are in
Singularity's got to play aggressive.
So far with only 2 maps after this. They have the high ground. Yes,
I like this
Elysium will
composition
fall,
for them.
but
Allows them to play frag heavy, which is really where they're comfortable playing. Even if they aren't necessarily the most mechanically gifted, just what they do.
And Bin doing what he needs to do to get out of that. Should Arton survive,
The style that they
would be
play
great,
in
but Songjun
their region.
not going to let it happen. Realize want all of this KP for eliminations, and they've set their sights on more.
Realize
And it looks like
so
Dreamfire's
deadly,
going down to Ascend in the kill feed as well. Yep.
Their aggression has truly been unlocked in the past 2 days of play. Now
Koifel
that they've got a couple
rolling
of
up
kills,
right
their
next to
rotation
Moist.
forward will be a bit challenging. The ring hurts this time around, and they haven't managed to close the gap on launch site just yet.
Oh, and how they're knocking
Alliance
on the
goes
doors
down.
of a top 10 right now, and they are setting their sights onto Ascend. Meanwhile, Alliance have fallen at the hands
Singularity
of
out, NRG out as well.
Oxygen.
Ascend out.
Finalized out by Hal himself. Now Oxygen, who have mirrored the position where NRG had previously been, where Dark Zero was early on, and the fact that Xset has made the rotation from
IBG is going to be a
to
duo.
launch site and have maintained all of the players, this is what they needed.
Decisive fighting so far, especially from Xset, who swooped in around the side. That position is really difficult to unseat. There's a
IBG is
reason
going to try and
why
get their third,
Xset
though.
was predicted by so many to do well during the course of champs. Oxygen, our other team that we've been keeping our eyes on over the course of
My bad, Mike. I just realized I missed your question, man. I've been watching
now
this.
got a great position. Given
I
to
think
them
your
by
thought
the rank console
process
they
is
were
you
able
don't
to
want to
hit
have to
earlier,
worry about
a
that
nice
team for the rest of your
rotate in.
rotation
It's
in.
underneath, not a powerful spot, not an influential one, but certainly one that should lash them a few more positions in, hopefully into a top 7.
At least a top 5 would be
Because both teams realize that you're
situation,
taking out a very strong fighting team as well, so it should make your trek into the zone a lot easier.
Side. They're going to be running straight into Blackhand, and if you saw anything from that game 1, you know just how scary it can be to run up against that team. Easy Flash as that fragger on mouse and keyboard, by the way, able to put down so much
A triple
damage,
MNK team for
the IGL of that squad doing even more.
TSM's focus right now, for those of you watching and wondering why we're jumping around shooting out Catalyst Goop, is just to control spaces, to make sure that should they need to make a quick exit, should they need to relocate, as Koifel will have to very soon, that they can do it on their own schedule, through their own cooldowns. Letting Blackhand control territory has been deadly to so many other teams. And TSM cannot afford to let this monstrous squad take even a bit of the spot that they otherwise hold.
And with round 4 closing, we have 40 seconds until it goes into that next
Yeah, they got to
zone.
figure out if they're going to either
TSM
take this fight with TSM or figure out a way that they can get out of here.
Onto their space, but this is what's going to be really tough here, utilizing the ult cells, getting that generator ready for when they
Yeah, they're just
going to
prioritize rotation. I think it's a great call.
13 squads that are going to be pushing straight into the depths of launch site where LG Chivas has been, and this is what we were afraid of. This is what TSM did not want to happen. The collapse coming through.
There's no place to play for them. However, somehow Hal is alive. Verhulst still up on the low ground as well. Even Xset have made it in, and Oxygen, with the information they gathered earlier, haven't had to
Sentinels
move,
finally get found.
And are going
Koifel not going to be able to make it in the top 10. Looks like
hunt
TSM's about to be going out here.
seconds,
Moist out as well.
Sentinels down, Moist down, TSM down, and Reed's just barreling straight into the oncoming chaos. The black hole, so teams are flying. He's looking for some
Exit out as well, Jesus.
able to grab 1 KP from that.
That's all at northern side rotating in.
Out of that one, and a
Dojo
quick
out as
move
well.
from Oxygen does still lose them Vayne, playing off of the low ground.
just exposes them to a little bit too much fire
still a
from above,
quad
little bit too
or a
much
trio.
LG
Why would I
for
say a
them.
quad?
All
What
of
the
the
fuck?
teams that were in front
Still
of
a
Black
trio?
have managed to fall out of this lobby, except for some reason they were able to reposition themselves, throw down that generator they got with that instant ult excel. Because right, the good thing about Watson, as soon as you pop an ult excel, it's an instant ultimate for her. So they're able to set up in a space where you wouldn't assume to be able to play, thanks to the double control.
They know about the reset 5. This is so smart from Blackhand. You need to win this fight quickly. One. There you go. Beautiful.
You got to strike when the time is right.
Beautiful.
Great decision by Blackhand. One that's essentially unpushable with how quickly they did it. FaZe do not want to give up their spot on the high ground because surely somebody else will come in and take this away. This position for FaZe, the only thing that could get them into the end game, but they will have to choose.
I would say the problem though for Blackhand now is figuring out where they rotate to.
And that's going to be a really difficult decision, right? Because LG Chivas,
Because they've got FaZe on one side.
In a position where they can just go ahead and instantly third that, but it would immediately open this up. Now Optic, who have come out of essential hiding, are ready to push and start racking up the KP, but Tom Young Kung, they are sitting just on the outskirts of the top 10 with not a bad game, but we're about to be in the top 5, and we're all just waiting to see which is going to happen. And the L-Star, when it became that care package weapon, you get collateral damage and just how quickly you can win those shoes. This is what they need.
Climb in from Blackhand is just right on timing.
Tom Young Kung has to know they're going to be coming from behind, right?
Hold their spot
Pause.
On the inside,
you know what I mean?
Start a fight, have been pushed on by Optic instead. And this southern engagement will mean so much, will likely mean a top 3 for one of these teams. Optic have the defensive advantage, but with Catalyst Walls about to expire, they're very soon not going to have any say over the sidelines.
Jinx on the low, but they're throwing down the black market. They want to look for any bit of potential nades. That's one of those things that you need, and especially in a Latin game scenario, they can essentially nade spam Optic Gaming, but that Dark Veil is going to go down, and the moment the ring starts to close, they will have to leave the cover.
You've got
of
such a good
the rock.
spot
That is
here.
all they have.
You've got the gen down.
So much pressure onto LG
Oh,
in the meantime.
bro, it looks
the fight
so good.
for the inside of this building is the fight for the game-winning position. And LG somehow need to unseat Blackhand, who have managed to claw away space, just like they did against TSM. You give Blackhand a foothold and they will take everything, but they commit to the outside. And you can see in the kill feed, it's TYK they're absorbing Blackhand. Blackhand,
let's
so
go, boys!
unpredictable.
Who would have thought? I know Heavy is the hand, and they are looking so strong right now. But LG Chivas, the top of the leaderboard just keeps shaking up. So whoever wins this match will likely reign supreme at the top. And remember, we're fighting for advanced starting points in a 50-point match point threshold for tomorrow.
Now, as of yet, nobody has
fight's
eliminated start a fight. Optic are still in this. LG and Blackhand hold the high ground, and these should be, as we've emphasized over and over, the game-winning spots. But a little bit of focus misplaced, just a small
Good Dark Veil, separate this fight. Isolate it. Easy Flash has got the L-Star. Let's go, boy! Wait, what?
Yanya takes a trade back, but who's coming up on this? Who's the third party?
Player K buys space.
The Reds were trying
Good
to
shit.
get easy
Good
flash
shit.
back up in LG Chivas.
Easy
Player
flash
K
back in.
Able to double down. The shield swaps coming in, but Optic Gaming, they want to third this.
At this point, you're promising another third party. We still know start a fight are in this. Optic lose one. Trades on both sides. We're going to be losing Blackhand soon. Drop has to clutch it up, but in comes start a fight.
Start a fight's going to help out?
South America.
Damn.
Start a fight taken. Okay, so that was an incredible play from Start a Fight. The representatives from Brazil bringing it to the world stage.
That is exactly what we wanted to see here at the ALGS Championship, and that has to feel good.
So who went out second there?
In group stages where they won from the high ground, now doubling down with another win in the winner's bracket. Yes, their story has been tough to navigate throughout their journey of Apex Legends history, but now sending their sights up to the top 10, I can't imagine how that's going to turn out for them.
And so many times,
Because whoever went out in second and third there, whoever went out in second leads the lobby right now.
but the love the crowd has given them has certainly been well-deserved. In between lanes, they've even changed their IGL, and we saw peace on them before the games began. But it's been such a big transition for them, changing language in their communications, changing it back, swapping who's in charge, and all for the sake of
when I was doing some of the South American watch parties.
Right now. I mean, the patience, the calls that came
They've
down
kind of been the
the
team
end.
that's
I was really nervous for them. And then
the
even
underdog of
utilizing the
South America has kind of come out of nowhere. The stories all year has really kind of been about singularity and knocked them. That start of fight did good in playoffs #2.
Their downfall.
Power of Loba as well, definitely on display.
The problem for start of fight though is they only had 9 points before that. Yeah, and I was going to say they probably don't have very many kills. They had 3 kills going into this. I don't think they had very many in those last circle. Maybe like another 2, 3 they added to it.
Make the pivot into LG, it's over. Because Optic have no choice but to jump up and third party that and start a fight. What do they have to do, Tiff?
They just got to start and end that fight.
Yeah, it's all about just right timing at this point. First
but it looks like Blackcan had a nasty
honestly, playing a bit scared, looking for teams to exit. Saying,
kill
surely,
game.
Surely
looking at seeing at least 10 in the kill feed between the 2 kill leaders going back and forth.
Well, we have to win. But they play it perfectly,
so who went out first?
Recognizing that this is just continuing. Lush gets to come in and fry. Slate gets to take the other side and start a fight. Get to take a well-deserved victory. I am so proud.
I didn't get to see if Blackcan got second or third, but they had 10 frags regardless.
South America! And I saw a sign out that was like South America still alive. Well, they are alive and well, and they are performing like crazy here at Year 3 champs. But man, Dutch has got to be so proud of those boys right now.
I imagine so, and Dutch has been integral to the way that Start a Fight have grown throughout the course of the Split 2 playoffs to now. That whole in-between time was exactly what I was alluding to, changing the language of the comms. They actually swapped over to English, where that was where Dutch really got to help them out, making sure that comms were clean and the players were recognizing what kind of stuff they needed to say, when they needed to say it, where previously there just wasn't that identification. But it's really evident, especially in high-tension situations like this, that even if they're a bit unsure, at least they're all on the same page, and it's paid off in such massive dividends. This could very well, and they're still a bit far off, but this could very well push them into contention.
I was going to say, they're going to be up at 13th now after that. Here's scores here, chat.
That game pan out for them. Rain Day, I'd love to hear how it worked out.
Thank you so much, Tiff and Dia. Fantastic
triple
job.
MNK. It's just 3 very, very mechanically gifted players. Player K and Strafing Flame's synergy is something else, man. And Easy Flash just might be the most mechanical player in the world, honestly.
The Seer meta has changed. He said it would open things up for everyone. Well, it certainly open things up for Start a Fight. I am joined here with Genome, Zephyr, and Bullet. I want to get your thoughts, fellas, on how it's been after 6. Obviously, a reaction to Start a Fight, taking a big win, going from 20th all the way to 12th with that.
Yeah, look, as you said, C-Meta has changed things up.
14 kills for Blackcan that last game. Jesus. They've had 14 kills twice.
Who really have the better game
They're
sense,
fragging their
so
asses off. 14, 14, 9, 4, 3. Jesus, guys.
Giving them information about so much around them. When you strip that away from them, the IGLs who know exactly.
All right, now Blackcan needs to lock it in and show that they can win now they're past that 50-point mark. Even though it's not match point today, I think doing so here would be so huge.
I mean, it just happened. We've already played 6, so still a lot more work to do, but this is a great sign.
Lots of work to do, but not much time to do. We're only 2 games away before we will be sending at least 10 of our teams down to our second elimination round 2 here. So plenty of time for teams to figure it out, but not many opportunities. Obviously, in the start of today, we kind of saw some consistency, a lot of Bang Cat Horizon kind of repetitively across 4 of our wins here. But as time wanes on, things are getting a little bit more flexible, especially with things like that Bloodhound becoming more of an impressionable pick. And now, surprisingly, the Loba.
Yeah, I can't wait to keep seeing this innovation from our teams. We still got plenty more matches to play. After 6, though, here is how it stands in our winners finals. You saw Start a Fight take that one. It was really going to be Optic, Chivas, or Start a Fight. And if either of those teams won, we were anticipating a large movement up towards first place or in first. Are they there? We'll find out in a second. Let's go to the back half of these 20, though, so we can see who didn't have the best of games. Sentinels, they started off really hot overall in this lobby. Realized, Ulti, you know, these guys have been playing for so long and so successful in APAC North. They're now showing it on the world stage again in like the times of old. So we consistently are seeing APAC represent. Decent 4 points from NRG, not too bad. Keeps them in the business. We'll see if they continue to perform. As it stands, after 6, with 2 more games to go. About to show it on your screen right here. It looks like I'm waiting for it. There it is. LG Chivas. They are in the lead. 3 points just ahead of Dreamfire.
That is so wrong.
Notably, Bullet. You're pretty impressed with what Blackhand's been doing, but what are your takeaways taking a look at this series results here?
I love the double controller comp. You know, they're playing Watson, they're playing Catalyst, and we're seeing them play so aggressive right now. They're finding openings in teams, and they are just sending no mercy at all. And the way they use the Catalyst wall, in addition to the Watson fences, means teams that usually can just run around, they just don't have that opportunity anymore. They get stunned.
Yeah, we're seeing a big difference between how a team like Blackhand plays and how a team like Dark Zero plays, and a lot of it does come down to the composition that Bullet was talking about there. You know, DZ are using their gun skill to try and force other teams away from them, putting immense amounts of pressure on just with damage, but having available the Watson fences as well as, you know, being able to space that out with some catwall usage as well means that Blackhand can play in a very different way. And I will note, I believe they did pick up a few more points than we saw there, so they actually got a second with 14 kills, as far as I'm aware, in that last game, which puts Strafing Flame up to 22 kills for the series so far. This man is popping.
Bro, Strafing Flame
and we still have
is
2 more to go.
disgusting.
Zephyr, this team's clearly on fire. Dark Horse, is this the one that I think we can all say they have a chance to win, and no one was thinking they would win?
Don't say no one.
Is this truly that title?
I would call them a dark horse if it was still the group stage, but clearly after the starting impressions we got from them, this is a team that is playing a more versatile Apex than some of the other rosters we have out there. They're continuing to expand, and I especially love that double controller comp that you kind of bring up here. That Watson especially, it goes to show that this Blackhand can adapt. They can go from the super aggro plays where they extend with the Cat Dark Veil, and then at times when they need to bunker down, hold position, rein it back in, the Watson is there for
All right, let's go, boys. Time to lock in and get a dub here once we're past 50. Let's go.
Alliance did. Are they going to get called a group stage team until they finally show up on the Sunday and show everyone else that they have what it takes when it comes to the highest level of Apex?
You know what it is, and I think Bullet probably as a pro you can relate to this. It's all good till it's not. Everyone loves what's happening, and then you fade away so quickly when someone else steals the limelight. And so it is a little unfair if you're a fan of Blackhand and you've been watching. You know how good they are.
Hell
but
yeah!
it still seems to be that the narratives about players and teams change on Sunday and stick.
Yep.
Is that what you've experienced in your pro career?
Yeah, look, I think in the case of Blackhand, they started off strong today. You know, Strafing, he showed up straight away. 8 kills in the first
Strafing
game.
Flame is showing he just might be one of the best IGL. He's probably the best IGL in the world right now.
Keep that up, not just today, but if you
I
can
called
do
it in the video fucking 3 months ago,
if you
too.
can push to that top
I love
10,
it.
you are done for the day. You have sealed yourself a spot. And another thing, Gino, you know, we've been here in these championships and these match points. The points that you get heading into it, that is a big deal, can change your fate.
Yeah, seeding points are a big deal. If Blackhand stay at the top of the leaderboard like they are at the moment, they will get 10 points going into Sunday. That means they will reach match point, you know, if they keep playing like this, much quicker than other teams. More chances to finally get over the line and then win the match point to lift the trophy.
And it's really just mistakes that I think you have the ability to avoid, or at least diminish some of the impact of having a bad game. As we continue to look at this, there are not too many chances left for these teams to finally sign their ticket to Sunday's championship tomorrow in just a few hours, and they will have to play again. But on a lighter note of that, to take a break from the competition and dive deeper into some of the personalities competing, one of the biggest names in Apex in gaming right now is Timmy. He has got Sports Center memes traveling all across the esports and gaming world, and his family's even here to support him. We had a chance to do a very traditional UK way of sitting down and getting to know Timmy a little bit better.
Where was that video at?
Today we are joined for this marvelous occasion by one of the most popular faces in all of Apex Legends, Timmy of the Dojo.
In it.
Now, alongside his two teammates, Enemy and Design 4, he qualified for champs here in Birmingham at the last possible second. Now, you left it late, you did indeed, but it was quite the exceptional performance.
Let's find out more about this young man's journey over a spot of tea.
And if you're watching us eat these sandwiches and you're feeling a bit hungry, new Apex Legends cookbook coming out soon.
Tell us about your journey and how you made it to the wonderful Birmingham, because this appearance at LAN has been a long time in the making.
Our journey was pretty crazy. I mean, I personally came back into competitive for a challenger circuit.
See, you can see the design a little bit better here on the black jerseys. I really like how they came out.
Trial and error until I found Enemy and Design. We looked good in challenger circuit, but it wasn't like anything super hard or like tier 1s, tier 2 teams. So we were like, all right, we got second place, but we're gonna still go to the second to YoBoyCue. And when we got there, we had expectations that we were gonna do well, but we weren't super confident that we were gonna win.
Because obviously you made it, you qualified, but tell us about some of the ups and downs in the year, because you said there was a little bit of trials and tribulations. You went in and out, and you found this roster. Tell us a little bit about that.
I actually teamed again with my old teammate from Golden Guardians, Bronzy, and that was interesting. It was a learning experience. I mean, it got me back because I wasn't like fully ready for the full competitive scene again. So I had to go through my trial and error as well. And once we got Enemy and Design, I mean, those boys just carried me, and they're amazing.
You are loved by the Apex community, mostly for your fun-loving personality as well as your memery, creating so many fans across the globe. So do you feel that your personality has helped with those oh-so-tense final moments in the last game of that LCQ?
Definitely. I mean, I think I have a very fun, chill personality. I think I don't take things too seriously. So sometimes when people get like super tense and super like frustrated, like for me, I'm just like, it's all good, guys. Like, let's hop on to the next game. Let's figure out the next solution. So I'm not super like hard stuck on like the problem sometimes, and I think that allows me to direct my team into the better direction.
You've made it to Birmingham. The dojo have made it to Birmingham, and I know how much that means to you to finally get on the main stage. What are your hopes and expectations now coming into the event now that you're here?
I think our expectations should be probably finals. I think making finals is really good for a team who's been together for about 2 months, 3 months, compared to like TSM or Dark Zero, who's been there for just a little too long. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think if we make finals, I think we'll be happy as a team, but we definitely don't want to stop there. I mean, we want to win the thing, but I think if we get a top 10 finals, that is enough to kind of like at least know that we aren't terrible. We can hang with the big dogs like people didn't think we could.
How do you feel your play style is going to translate here at the ALGS Championship finals?
I would like to say I'm a very aggressive player, and I typically just run it down majority of games I play. So I think I would still do it on the main stage.
It has been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to speak with you before the competition. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, you might want to ask, are you winning, son? A good question. I think Timmy's dad in front row there will be asking a little bit later. I feel like Tea Time has really inspired me, Gino, to give it a go.
Please no.
Like this, as we see the main man on the screen
Please no.
here right now.
Oh, look, I can't wait to get back to the green room and have some scones and jam. Just goes so well with a hit of tea in the afternoon, doesn't it?
I've never had anything like that before, but being in this current situation, I think I might have to give it a go.
Righto. Bullet, you want to give it a go?
Oh, sure, mate. It's bloody lovely, isn't it?
Just throws the bloody in there. I'm already sold. Well, we have an updated series results for everyone watching at home. I think if you were watching, you probably realized there might have been something off. It was that Black Can wasn't miles ahead.
That's
right.
Now.
in first. You know, you aptly pointed out that if it stands this way, they will go into match point finals tomorrow with 10 extra points starting
Let's go,
the day.
baby.
It'll all the way go down to decrease with 1 point being to NRG, a team we really haven't talked much about today. They've been coming in a little bit under the radar, though performing as a top dog. The teams on the other side, though, FaZe, TSM, Dark Zero. If it ended right now, our 2 LAN winners of our previous 4 LANs would not be in.
That's kind of crazy.
They'd have to keep playing in the elimination bracket too. That's some high stakes, and I don't know if that will change. They've got 2 games to prove that it won't. And of course, it is time to get right into them. Thank you for joining us here on the desk. We're going to send it back to our casters who are going to take us away for our final 2 games of the winners finals and see who is going to play on Sunday.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I got the cookbook from Onset. I thought it'd be really cool to dabble into it. Yeah, that's right. I can cook sometimes.
I don't know if we're supposed to have that yet.
No, I think it might be the only one. They told me not to set it down. There's like 70+ recipes in here, including Pathfinder's positively perfect pancakes. What a jolly old man right
That's
there.
screenshotable right there.
It is. Look, I mean, I could probably make that. You think? They said that, you know, they ranked it difficulty silver.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I'm worthy, but nah. Let's get back to the matches, y'all, because this cookbook looks pretty awesome, and I think it's on pre-sale now. There might be a discount code, so keep an eye out. But until then,
all right, chat. Let's see if we can. I want to get into one more game. Come on.
Matches. Let's see Easy Flash get absolutely cracked out there, because heavy is the hand, and I am a Black Hand fan.
And let's see if Dojo can make it up to the finals here and now, because as of this very moment, going into the 7th match, they are not in an easy spot.
No, they're not.
Very much need to win the next 2 games and win them by a convincing margin. If not, as was mentioned on the desk, they could very well be sent down to where our previous LAN winners currently reside.
Look, that's going to be really tough. Sometimes you can fight tooth and nail through that Illumination round 2, but the benefit of going through here, yes, you get the advanced starting points, but you run the risk of not having to play 16 matches today leading into tomorrow's finals. You'll go home a little bit earlier, get a little bit more rest. But as that character select runs through, I want to see if we've got anything crazy. We already had fuses, we already had Lobas, and we are in the dropship.
All right, let's get into it. This time, we're going to be heading on over, flying over Big Mod first until we ultimately end over by Skyhook and Trials, where Dojo have been fighting for their very existences in this tournament. Now, as our 7th match goes on, the stakes get ever higher, and while it may not be elimination just yet, teams are going to start to play a little bit more recklessly. This may be the international stage, but that doesn't mean that everybody can keep their hearts under control.
I'm keeping an eye on Ascend, whose name is dabbling over towards No Name, and if you know what's going on over there, Moist, they split one out, have a player landing No Name.
But Dojo landing over on Thermal Station, they're contesting Alliance.
We knew this contest was happening in international scrims, and it was a bloodbath, and all came down to which weapons you were able to grab and who can get the high ground.
A G7 early on, gonna do some favors, but losing Designful will not. His death box doesn't even hit the floor, but up comes Timmy, whiffing the Arc Star for a second and leaving him down a member. Alliance are mirrored though, and with effect dropping, it's just up to Yuki and the
That's not good for Dojo.
Oh, because that charge rifle, it can be better used as a shotgun, but the Dojo take thermal.
I think that's enough, Timmy. You're not bad. You're none of you are bad.
We just need a top 10 in finals to prove that we're not bad. Come on, you just took down Alliance in their hometown.
Alliance, one of the teams that was expected to be the strongest in this tournament so far. Well, they faced their own trials and tribulations. They are still absolutely a contender to make it to the finals, whether it be here in this series or in the elimination bracket that will be immediately following it. Winning over by Thermal Station, however, Dojo put themselves in a much better position. Most importantly, no longer have to deal with the creative ways that XSET was finding to really rough them up.
And Moist with that information hit the rotation, and we're heading south, so we know we will have a little bit of congestion, but just how far south are we going, and why is everything on World's Edge pulling in favor of LG Chivas? Do you have the
For
do you have the
real,
script that you
though?
had, Dia? Were you prepping some really crazy work when you were doing your predictions this morning?
Burning my sage around the stage in the middle of the night. There are some symbols on the floor under Chivas, but it seems to have worked. They've got a really nice early rotation, and it's put them right in the center of the zone. Now, this zone is pretty difficult. Those teams that do manage to find a building inside of Dome are going to be a lot more comfortable, but it means early rotations. And if you don't have a POI that graced you with a few nice shields, as LG did not get, the end game is going to be really difficult because from inside Dome, it's very challenging to gatekeep squads that rotate up on you quickly, like TSM.
Well, a team that does not need to have any more challenges thrown their way just outside the top 10. It is TSM who have early rotated, and Dark Zero not far behind them, but Zero with 300 plus light ammo, a digi threat to boot, has made the switch back from Fuse to Bangalore. He got
How
in.
is he alive? What bullet does that little damage? Dark Zero somehow managing to make this work, have LG pushing up on them, but it's not worth a fight. It's not worth the risk that a fight signifies. So both LG and Dark Zero will get a spot.
Sometimes it's all about maintaining your space, but for the teams that have found themselves just on the outskirts of Dome, kind of nearby the tunnel that leads to Vault, but the exodus from Lava Siphon, as some teams will still be heavy there, but it's going to be NRG with that coveted 10th place positioning, who are not safe by any means, need to really up that point disparity and claw their way at least to 6th to 7th, because we know what happens. We saw it happen just when they were segregating out the bracket stages after groups. Pulverex got sent to elimination round 1 just because they had to wait, and they were sitting on the cusp.
And it is really difficult when you're forced into a position where you don't get to do exactly what you need to on time. NRG, taking that creative rotation around, are going to be put in that more challenging position. And south side of the ring does mean that we're going to get a lot of that action over by Stacks as well, where we saw Singularity and Start a Fight clash before the previous game's ultimate victory. Now we have to, or rather get to, see that play out again.
And this one is tough, Dia. Now let's think about this, because it could technically end in Stacks, where it kind of overlooks the tunnel. It could also pull straight into Dome, kind of where the two rings intersect. But I have also seen a zone pull right where NRG is as well. And that uncertainty between where it can go can be so detrimental because of how tough it would be to rotate to the other side.
And it's going to give an advantage to teams that are rotating in a little bit later, that have the moment to hit a beacon on the way in. In fact, in a very similar fashion to last game, those of you who have the map up or who are sitting here live in the arena have the opportunity to observe Oxygen rotating through over by Harvester, where they'll be able to hit a ring console again, and much like last game, put themselves in a better, more informed position as a result.
And Oxygen just sitting in 7th place, coming into this with 38 points. That's not necessarily the same position, right? We're thinking like safety-wise, as NRG sits just a few points below them, with everyone so incredibly close. I look to the teams that are nearer to the top, with that have broken into that 40-plus point threshold, that are going to be feeling a little more
TSM and Dark Zero both slacking, Ducky.
Like Xset. They need to
We might be seeing our land winners from the last 4 lands having to go through lowers, which is kind of crazy.
In front of them, and now they've turned into an aggressive mode.
Trade our snapshots of the situation, and Xset know that buying space is the only thing they need. As we talked about, fights are risks, and it's not something that neither Xset nor Oxygen want to opt into if they can't push it heavily in their favor. This trade of ultimates is fine, it'll work for Xset, but really what it does is let Oxygen know that they're not going to get this for free, and it should be a disengage on both sides.
As you can see, Oxygen heading straight back over to Harvester. Likelihood wants to get that information, but...
Oh, they can't.
No, they can't do a ring console.
Scan.
Nope, survey beacons are going to be their only form of information and the potential of a White Raven play.
So, yeah, taking note of the composition is going to be really big for them. I will say that because of the composition they're running, they are also able to hit survey beacons, which will be if not as good, perhaps even better than hitting a ring console, because you not only know around where everyone thinks the ring will end, but also where everyone is. So possibilities still for Oxygen, certainly, even as they leave Harvester with a little bit less data than we were expecting. We still do have Dome being pretty crowded, and a few other spots around the outside are starting to be prioritized, where teams like Tomyung-Kung, Iron Blood Gaming, Dark Zero, LG have all picked up the proper buildings on the inside. TSM still hold around the outside of Dome in a very, as we've said, active position. Dreamfire is sat over by launch site, as are NRG, and those three teams together control a lot of the open ground that other squads will have to take should they want to access a late game.
LG Chivas just nearing 50 points, kind of prioritizing this specific positioning. And anytime you find that zone pulling nearby your home, you're like, these are the ones that I am going to be the most familiar with. So think of where they have put themselves. They're hedging their bets that we are going very deep into launch side, or Dome per se, and Ascend, who have been making positions that are unplayable, playable, but have not necessarily found the same footing that they were able to get in.
Chat, I'm gonna be dipping out like as soon as this game ends, so y'all know.
Found that stroke of success,
Got a little man's game to get to.
those southern zones, including the one that was by Tree.
So when I dip out, just know I love you. I don't know if I'm gonna do a full sign out because I'm gonna be kind of pushing it.
On the western side,
Get to the end of the game, but I want to see how at least match 7 ends.
They had a Watson right now, especially if you're in Dome, just to make sure that you stay topped up as you throw out poke onto other teams. NRG suffering from the opposite problem. They have got plenty. The Hemlock that Guild holds is real nicely kitted out, and that's to say nothing of the gold shield that he's got on top of it. Loot is not NRG's problem. Instead, it's positioning, and you have to pick. You only can really get one. And so, unfortunately for some of our teams around the outside who did not roll right, who tried to get a little bit better loot and were unable to, their position is going to be even more challenging.
Well, Sentinels right now already looking in such more of a powerful positioning with what they're working with. You have the Skull Piercer. They rotated through Lava Siphon, grabbed the ring console information. So
there's
exactly
this, and then there's one more winners bracket game. And then they're still doing the other elimination.
Are still on that inevitable rotation.
But this will be the last one that I'm live for because we're heading out the door for Little Man's
Realize an Xset starting
first
to take
T-ball
a little
game.
bit of poke at each other as again Xset find themselves mirroring, I believe unintentionally this time, another squad, and realize a very deadly one during the course of this bracket. Maybe winners,
but I will be live tomorrow for Grams, starting at 7 Eastern Time.
A loss here could very well put them in a, I'm going to say, bad mental state. That is exactly what they struggled to overcome during the Split 2 playoffs.
It is a very tough thing to have happen to you, but Xset in the elimination round 2, should that happen, barring any issues, should be fine, but Realize will make that difficult for them because they are currently sitting in a position to find themselves with advanced starting points. Now, they have been impressively consistent, but not necessarily had any particular pop-off moment just yet, but this could be the start of something magnificent for them. But for Xset, they need to win this fight.
Realize
but Karumpa, he's not going to make that happen. The alternator is closing the distance.
Ooh.
And he's getting some good chunk. Even with the hip fire, it's one of the most consistent.
You have to imagine the third party is coming in. Realize walled for that reason, and even still,
yeah, but he did so much to Xset.
Able to clutch
the third party coming in or no?
That third party that I talked
You
about
get to reset for free, no way.
It may as well not exist if it happens too much further from now.
Well, we saw that piece earlier in the week with Xset and just how crazy Sykes can be when he's listening to Fun's one-liners, but he was able to lock it in. But we just need to get Fun back on his feet. Nocturnal trying to suppress the Bangalore up. They'll have the smokes, but you mentioned third party, and that's exactly what is going to happen. Singularity have nothing left to lose here.
And yet they've allowed Xset a full revive on both members. The timing of this third party is really biting Team Singularity, who otherwise have had great fights during the group stage. They're struggling to close it out on a top NA team.
Yeah, and there's a full crack onto Nocturnal. They're trying to stay the high ground, but Bin not necessarily overextending. They are able to grab the knock onto Knock, and Xset will be eliminated. The struggle of rotating to these southern zones from Skyhook is time and time again having such an adverse effect on our teams, but Oxygen Esports making some light work here, getting a good chunk on that outer edge here, and they're sitting nice. They've got 2 purples, a gold, and NRG. Yeah, they were poking and prodding and trying to take down some of the Sentinel members earlier, but it seems like they're just prioritizing positioning.
It's really interesting that NRG rotate back and have a few red pings off in the distance, because as you know, they do have Oxygen behind them and know that this could be a problem later, but instead want to try and gatekeep on the other side. NRG's attention is split, and what they've done best during the course of this tournament is influence other teams. Right now, they're losing control.
Yeah, but Oxygen's going for an evac tower rotation. NRG is putting enough damage onto them, but Oxygen will find themselves not between a rock and a hard place, but between 2 powerhouse teams of NRG and TSM. And with TSM kind of split out, trying to hold tight on the anchoring of the tunnel.
All right, come on, Black Hand.
Black Hand, of course, fighting their way out. Relatively isolated, no digis even in all the smoke, but that doesn't seem to bother Easy Flash at all.
Sometimes you just gotta lock it in. Just built
Why you gotta do
different.
Moist like that?
Oh, not the homies. And now Black Hand are really trying to solidify themselves at the top. We have 10 advanced starting points that could be looking their way for Black Hand.
Bro, if they have another big game, they're locked in for first, bro. Come on, boys.
It's almost like he's hulked out just in the nick of time. That's how stark the difference has been between the group stage and now, where Easy Flash is completely taking control of the rosters that surround them. Speaking of taking control, we did mention NRG previously needing to do a bit of that as they focus down towards the low ground. The focus, however, is now on them as Oxygen start running up, wanting to take NRG out of contention.
NRG was likely looking for a really long wraparound or wanted to go check out the tunnel, but Oxygen Esports, who were previously sandwiched, have turned their tides to NRG. Now, mind you, if NRG fall here, they're so close to finding themselves below that 10th place. And Vayne, Aiden, yeah, they're falling low, but they're able to grab a knock onto Nathan and turn their tides onto Guild. And Sweet.
Oxygen just lose a member now. Vayne's so low, this is still anyone's fight. But just like that, NRG are down.
Yeah, but you know what that means. We're gonna have all chaos breaking loose as everyone tries to leave stacks. But you know who loves to third party? The Dojo does, and they're gonna make their way towards Oxygen as Optic falls.
New kills are picked up by Startify, who are desperately trying to move out of stacks. Iron Blood Gaming hold the high ground, but a great wall separates Startify from their line of sight. Sleep barely able to crest behind the rock.
Oh, Strafing Flame goes down to SNG.
Wonders for Startify, who need to take space. The space that was previously held by TSM now belongs
Only
to
a
them.
down. Oh, player K going down.
That win that they had, it wasn't
Black Hand's probably about to go out.
Get them trajectoried out into that top 10. So being consistent throughout the remaining matches, but Dreamfire, who have had all of the consistency known to here, need to go.
Or they somehow get a reset.
Need to take that uptick in World's Edge. They haven't so far, but Lufka makes it happen. Taking down Vita,
They somehow get a reset?
Dreamfire. That's why we've got Lufka and Ascend. Stay alive for a second longer. Still have a little bit of cover.
Maybe not a full reset.
Now, with a quick res, they're going to be able to make use of post-kill, the ability to really stay bunkered down.
But Dark Zero, they've got a little bit of high ground, a small
So that means Black Hand's what, a solo?
Here, but they just need to eliminate
But they can
the
just
team inside.
rat it out?
LG Chivas is still holding that building, and Easy Flash, the lone member of Black Hand, was able to make it in.
Every placement point counts at this point. And Easy Flash
Go.
is looking for a little bit more. A singularity go down, it means another knock for
He's
Easy
literally
Flash.
standing on top
Able
of
to
that.
pick that up, and the banner of his fallen teammates.
He has 28 seconds to get over to that respawn beacon and
I don't
make
think he
a
can.
crazy play here.
Imagine if he did.
He's able to do it. Right now, all eyes are on Easy Flash. All except for evidently those that were already in Dome. Somehow, he's alive and well. For a few seconds more, a shield bat should go off. We'll see how that well, the next bullets connect. But
Oh,
Easy
it's
Flash
Timmy.
is stabilizing. Timmy hunting him down. But Timmy
Timmy's
can't
full health
overextend by
too.
that much for this kill.
No, but he's going to regroup up with Designful, and the good
Let's
thing
see if
is
the
with
boys
their
can stay alive for
horizon
just a little
still
bit
up, they were
longer.
able to hit a grab lift, get them back off of low ground.
They're up
and
18
ease
points on
their
LG
way
right
in.
now.
But
That's
for LG
crazy.
Chivas, who are still inside with Dark Zero looing, let's go ahead and hit a Dark Zero listen to see how they'll approach this rotation.
Solo.
We check on them.
Right here.
Blackhand out. Tough.
They suck.
Coming. Nice, good shit.
Dark Zero know they need a big game here.
Waiting on Nate.
They can't let these kills get away.
I need the armor. I need the armor. I'm getting it.
You got full gold. Get it, Jen. Play it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready? What's
Yeah,
up? That's how we go. Go.
Going. Left corner.
I no heals.
Then neither do I. I don't have any. Jen, did you loot that?
Nah, I didn't loot it. I just grabbed the armor swap, bro.
Yeah, you're fine.
Wait, no heals?
We're in. We're fine. Just reinforce the
Kill them.
Dojo out in 6.
I'm kill them. I'm banging ulti. I'm going to swap them out.
On the left,
Did
yeah?
we just climb or queue up?
Run out. On roof.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
ready, left.
Okay, fine. Waiting.
I'm here.
On roof.
The two in here. Two there.
Nice push.
Okay, I'm safe though.
Really well done by Dark Zero there.
And no heals. No heals. I need heals.
I don't have any.
Where's the knock kid?
Ironblood Gaming's gonna go out.
I'm gonna go armor stop him.
He loot?
I need to just make it. I need to make it.
We're in zone.
Dark Zero able to take position for right now, still hunting down the last
Oh.
member of Luminosity, and there he is.
There he is.
LG comes
Luminosity's
down
out.
before they hit top 3, and Dark Zero take control of the lobby. 3 teams remain: DZ, Tom Young-kung, and Ascend. Sitting around the outside, Ascend, who have been here since the dawn of time, Tiff.
But DZ have to play this safe. You heard it throughout their comms. They don't have a lot of ammo. They don't have any health. They're going to need to look for a third-party situation with the EMP likely being denied. Lufka and co are going to need to rotate in, but TYK having this high ground, knowing that they are on the cusp of a top 10 break into, need to perform and take this win.
Ascender playing this so cheekily, putting pressure on TYK, EMPing Dark Zero, trying to push one squad into
It's a big
another.
game for Ascend here, man. Especially if you can close this out.
Managed to make this fight a third-party situation. Instead, they are now one of the teams that is likely going to have to fight before anything. And Lufka should be taking it off angle here, making sure that Dark Zero cannot walk up on this for free.
It is the battle of
Oh, I didn't realize TYK
team.
was also in here.
Ooh, we'll come out on
That's
top
dope.
if we're going in with Ascend. The EMP
This is a big
trying
game
to
for all
win
3 of
that,
these
and you
teams
can
here,
see
actually.
Right there, Zero, no shields left. Jen Burton, half shields, minimal health. Same
Honestly,
with
Ascend's
Zayu,
in a good
throwing
spot
up
simply
the
because Dark Zero has no heals.
Save off a push, but it's gonna get matched.
Dark Zero are in the hallway of death. They cannot see and have to take to the skies. There is no health on Dark Zero, but Zayu is staying alive.
No way.
Get behind him, able to try and force them, take the pressure away.
Bro,
but
Zayu.
Post kill wraps around, but Zero was able to get a shield swap, now trying to play his life and maybe pick up some eliminations, but they will fall.
And it's Ascend that wins.
And now
Yep.
TYK duel it out.
Just in the nick of time, Ascend
Damn.
managed to drop in and pick up a
That's huge for
win.
Ascend.
Perfectly timed, perfectly played.
All right, chat. I gotta get up on out of here, man. Scoreboards will be up in a second. I will be in the Discord later, but I gotta like head out. Love you guys. So we catch y'all back over here for the next one, man. Don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere. Game hard and love hard. All right, y'all. Love you guys. Heavy is the hand. Don't fucking forget. Peace.